Starting off our list at number 10 is Felicity Huffman, known best for starring on The Desperate Housewives. Over the last few months, she has been involved in a scandal that has led to her arrest, and Hollywood is going crazy about it, as well as her fans. A few months ago, she was caught being involved with a college admissions scam. She was accused of paying $15,000 to William Rick Singer's fake charity to help her oldest daughter, Sophia, cheat on her SATs. Paperwork shows the actress was making arrangements to pursue the scheme for a second time for her younger daughter, but decided to back out. Huffman was arrested at gunpoint at her Los Angeles home Tuesday morning. She was later released on a $250,000 bond. Since then, she has been keeping the faith after pleading guilty to her involvement on April 8, 2019, but is prepared to serve time behind bars. Us Weekly recently updated us on the case and said that she is hopeful that she will be able to attend a halfway house instead of prison confinement. Waiting for her trial, she has published a final statement saying, "I am ashamed of the pain I have caused my daughter, my friends, my family, my colleagues, and the educational community. I want to apologize to them, and especially I want to apologize to the students who work hard every day to get into college, and to their parents who make tremendous sacrifices to support their children and do so honestly." Well, at least she has learned her lesson. At number 9 we have CeeLo Green, the singer that came out with that really fun hit Forget You, and also appeared as one of the judges on The Voice. His career took his first big hit back in 2012 when he was accused of and furnishing a controlled substance. Once he cleared his name from the battery charge, his career got somewhat back to normal. But in 2014, he was accused of giving roofies to some females, and he responded to the stories with some inappropriate tweets. His one tweet said, "People who have really been remember, if someone is passed out, they're not even with you consciously, so with implies consent." Immediately after the tweets were sent out, he was basically blacklisted from Hollywood. CBS cancelled his show The Good Life, and concert venues dropped him left and right. He also had to leave his role as a judge on The Voice, which was probably the most painful for everyone. He still continued his music career, but it was just never the same ever since. Just a few months ago, the singer was once again defending a racist tweet he sent out when he defended his pal Big Boy before his Super Bowl performance. On February 4th, 2019, he posted a statement apologizing and also did a live stream video with TMZ to publicly apologize. He is clearly still trying to piece his reputation back together. Taking over the number 7 spot is Stephen Collins. He is known for being a famous TV dad on the show Seventh Heaven. He won the hearts of many people for this role on the show, but apparently he was a different person when he was offset. On the show, he played a minister, but back in 2014, the NYPD got their hands on a tape of Collins admitting that he engaged in with young girls in his past. One of his victims, a 10-year-old girl, reported that he would often expose himself in front of her. His wife at the time, Faye Grant, filed for divorce and later admitted, I quote, "In the presence of his therapist, Stephen admitted that he engaged in a long-term pattern of sexually abusing minor children, including 3 young girls over a decade ago." In 2014, the actor admitted 3 underage girls when he was 25 years old and apologized for his actions. Channels have cancelled plans that they had to rerun the Seventh Heavens TV series, and he had lost his upcoming gig at the time, which was in the comedy movie Ted 2. However, Collins was never arrested for the abuse. He did an interview with ABC News where he not only admitted to all of these incidents, but he even described them. The actor stands firm on saying that he is not a pedophile and said, I quote, "I am absolutely not attracted, physically or sexually attracted to children." I feel like that is just one big contradiction. At number 6 is James Franco. This one is a damn shame because he had a wildly successful career with a solid group of fans to back it up. His career started to crumble back in 2014 when screenshots surfaced of him trying to rent a hotel room for him and a 17-year-old girl. The screenshots on Instagram show her sharing the facts that she is underage and also shows him identifying himself with pictures, confirming that it was really him. Immediately, he was being called a variety of different names online. People were just absolutely disgusted. The press was also on top of him, asking to hear his side of the story, to which he apologized and simply said that he made a mistake. His career continued on after the scandal faded out, but it resurfaced in 2018 after he showed up to the Golden Globe Awards wearing a Time's Up pin. The pin was designed to show support for women who have dealt with harassment or assault, but after wearing it, he was facing a scandal on his own. Twitter blew up with different women making accusations of inappropriate or sexual behavior from the actor. Controversy started the night of the Golden Globes as women just started tweeting accusations in reference to his pin, sharing stories of how he them and hashtagging #CuteTimesUpPin. Interviews with the girls and also Franco started flooding the internet, and we haven't seen him on the big screen ever since. Anything on his IMDb page is funded and produced by him. Since then, he's also deleted social media, which is probably for the best. Halfway through our list at number 5 is Pee Wee Herman, also known as Paul Reubens. The actor was huge for this character during the 80s as he took on 2 feature films and also an Emmy-winning children's TV series. But his image and also his career changed drastically back in 1991. While he was on a trip to visit his parents in Florida, he ended up being arrested for indecent exposure at a movie theater. Turns out someone had spotted him during the movie and called the police. He was 38 years old at the time and pleaded no contest, but agreed to take part in a new anti-drug campaign to avoid a trial on the misdemeanor charge. After the scandal, Pee-wee toys were pulled from shelves across the nations and Reubens hid from the public eye, pretty much disappearing for the remainder of the 90s. He attempted a comeback, but more charges of sexual nature were brought against him, this time relating to officers seized thousands of items from a collection of vintage gay erotica, and he also faced claims of owning sexual images of children. It took yet another decade for him to come back, which he did in the 2016 Netflix film Pee-wee's Big Holiday. He did receive some positive responses from fans, but also received a lot of negative as they didn't agree with the decision to even bring him back. In the last couple of years, he has booked some voiceover work, but nothing that will bring him back to the spotlight that he used to have. Here we are at number 4 with Bill Cosby. I mean, is anyone actually surprised that he's on this list? He made news for being the actor who had over 50 people accuse him of. The allegations began back in 2014 when he was accused of that took place in the mid-1960s. He has been accused by different women for drug-facilitated and as more people started coming forward with allegations, the alleged incident spanned from 1965 to 2018 in the US and one in Canada. After years of battling the accusations, Cosby was first found guilty on April 26, 2018 for 3 counts of aggravated assault. Then on September 25, 2018, he was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in a state prison and fined $25,000 plus the cost of prosecution, which was $43,611. Numerous organizations cut ties with the actor and even revoked honors and titles that were given to him throughout his career. Media organizations pulled reruns of The Cosby Show, and TV Land and NBC both ended relationships with him, along with others like Bounce TV, Hulu, and BET. As for life in prison, he's currently serving a sentence at a state prison near Philadelphia and apparently gets treated like any other prisoner. Alright guys, at number 3 is Kevin Spacey, another not really surprised one on this list. The 2-time Oscar winner is now facing felony assault charges. Before the charges, he was killing it on his Netflix series House of Cards. But then his career started to change in October 2017 when a story was published by actor Anthony Rapp accusing Spacey of making a sexual advance towards him when he was 14. After the story was published, more than 30 people came forward with allegations, accusing him of things ranging from harassment to attempted. The allegations brought a flood of damage control as multiple Hollywood units have distanced themselves from the actor. It was officially announced that he was fired from his Netflix hit House of Cards. Even his representation at Hollywood's prestigious creative arts agency and his publicists have dropped him from their client lists. It was announced just yesterday on June 26, 2019 that Spacey is going to face off in court with one of the sexual assault accusers. William Little, who is now 18, claimed that the actor groped him in a club back in 2016. Spacey was charged with felony assault and battery, so fireworks are expected in the Massachusetts courtroom on July 8th. In our number 2 spot is Allison Mack. The actress is known best for her role in the CW series Smallville. Recently, she was facing the heat when allegations came out that she was involved with the NXIVM Group, a company in New York which is labeled as a pyramid scheme, a sex trafficking operation, and a sex cult. At first, she agreed that she was involved in the program when she was younger, but says she left the group before anything illegal was happening. Reports were made saying that the female followers of the group would have sex with their leader, Keith Raniere, and get branded with his initials. On April 8, 2019, the actress ended up changing her claims and pleaded guilty for her role in the sex slave cult. The story was released sharing that she was sobbing in the Brooklyn courtroom when she faced charges of extortion, and forced labor. In her statement, she said, "I must take full responsibility for my conduct. I am very sorry for my role in this case. I am very sorry to my family and to the good people I hurt through my misguided adherence to Keith Raniere's teachings." She also admitted to being part of the master-slave inner circle and said she kept a female slave who, I quote, "performed services on me." Allison dissected the entire cult for the court and said that it was a slave system designed to make women feel like they would suffer serious harm, like exposing their raunchy sex photos or their darkest secrets. It was basically all for power. Her sentencing hasn't been announced yet, but the 2 counts she pleaded guilty to carries a maximum of up to 20 years in prison. Taking the number 1 spot is Harvey Weinstein. I feel like I don't even have to explain this one. Like, I could just say his name and you guys will just get why he's our number 1 spot. But since this is my job, let me fill you in on how he got blacklisted. If you don't know who he is known for being one of Hollywood's biggest producers. His incredibly successful career began to crumble in October of 2017 when the New York Times reported that dozens of women came out and accused him of over a period of 30+ years. More than 80 women in the film industry have since accused him of these acts. Of course, he immediately denied the allegations, but shortly after was dismissed from the TWC and expelled from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Other associations dropped his name and he disappeared from the public eye. It wasn't until May 25th, 2018 that he was arrested in New York and charged with and other offenses, but was released on bail. Now his lawyers have said the settlement to resolve the lawsuits is worth $44 million. He's expected to go to trial this month, June 2019, so we are still waiting to hear what the outcome will be.
At number 10, Chris Brown. Chris Brown is really no stranger to getting in trouble. He's been in and out of the news over the years for his various incidents, from his assault on ex-girlfriend Rihanna to other instances of fighting, violence, and even violating his probation. Chris has had his share of troubles. Add to this his list of countries he's been banned from as well, because there are quite a few. The first country to make this list is the UK. Chris was denied entry and subsequently banned from the country in 2010 following his violent incident with Rihanna. After trying to enter the country for part of his tour of the UK and Ireland, the UK found that he had, quote, committed a serious criminal offense and therefore he would not be allowed entry into the country, citing that safety is a #1 concern of officials. On top of that, the singer has also been banned from Australia and New Zealand for his violence as well, and he's also been banned from Canada for the same issues. Some bans have been lifted, for example that from the UK has seemingly been resolved as he's been recently seen in the country, but there's no official word from any other places. At number 9, Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus being banned from China is really a case of your past coming back to haunt you and a lesson in insensitivity. Back in 2009, a photo was posted that showed Miley and a group of her friends posing with an Asian man and making incredibly rude and insensitive gestures in the photo. In the photo, Miley and her friends were squinting, pulling back their eyes, and making other mocking gestures. As this photo resurfaced online, it was found by Chinese officials and the singer was banned from the country, with the government's foreign minister saying, quote, Miss Cyrus has made it clear she is no friend of China or anyone of East Asian descent. We have no interest in further polluting our children's minds with her American ignorance, end quote. Since then, Miley has made 2 apologies, one where she said, quote, I've also been told there are some people upset about some pictures taken of me with friends making goofy faces. Well, I'm sorry if those people looked at those pics and took them wrong and out of context. People say that was a pretty half-assed apology, and I can kinda see why. Her second apology was a bit better, where she said that she had learned her lesson from that, but I'm not sure if that was enough to welcome her back into the country. Before I continue, I just want to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video. Your likes really help us out, so if you're enjoying the video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. At number 8, Justin Bieber. To discover that Justin Bieber has been banned from an entire country really doesn't come as much of a surprise. Justin has had a history of trouble, from paparazzi fights to hitting people with his car, and so many cases of assault and other unnecessary acts of deviance. So far in his career, the singer has angered a number of countries like Germany, Canada of all places, Mexico, and a number of others. But the one country that hates the Biebs the most is Argentina. Justin got himself banned from the South American country after, well, a lot of things really. Justin disrespected the country's flag during a concert after kicking and sweeping it off the stage, although he claims that he thought thought it was a shirt, not a flag, and he also allegedly ordered a bodyguard to assault a photographer outside of a nightclub and then stole the photographer's gear. An arrest warrant was issued for the singer, but he never answered the summons. According to Argentinian law, Justin can face prison time for the charges against him for anywhere between 1 month and 6 years. He's now banned from the country until the court case can be resolved. At number 7, O.J. Simpson. Just a few weeks or so after O.J. Simpson was released from prison, he was back on his antics again, which resulted in him getting banned from a Las Vegas hotel. After being involved in an alleged drunken incident, O.J. has been banned from the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas. According to sources, O.J. was seen drinking at the hotel's bar and ended up getting really intoxicated. From then, things started getting out of hand as he became, quote, very unruly and began yelling at members of staff and knocking over glasses, shattering them on the floor. O.J. was removed from the premises and was banned from the hotel. The representatives say that his outburst wasn't too bad, he still caused quite a disturbance, which prompted his ban. Later on, O.J. said that this hotel was damaging his reputation by claiming he was drunk and belligerent, and officials ruled that this story was false after it was discovered that no substances were found in O.J. Simpson, and therefore he did not violate his parole. So who knows what really happened? My problem with the allegations though is the fact that O.J. said that the hotel ruined his reputation, but wouldn't you think the fact that he's been in prison for years would have ruined his career? At number 6, Hugh Grant. You don't really hear too much about Hugh Grant, so when I found out he was banned from somewhere, I was truly shocked. Hugh was banned from The Daily Show after having a bad interview. Jon Stewart, the former host of The Daily Show, said in an interview that Hugh Grant was the worst guest he'd had on the show. He spoke about how when Hugh was on to promote his film Did You Hear About the Morgans, he was making a huge scene backstage and was really mean and annoying to people on set. He was allegedly saying that he had better places to be. He also got really upset about the clip that they played for the film, saying, quote, what is that clip? It's a terrible clip. To which Jon replied telling Hugh to make a better movie. Ouch. Jon went on to say that because of his poor experience with Hugh, he'd never have him back on his show. Halfway through at number 5, Nicki Minaj. Sometimes fans can be a little too much, and Nicki Minaj knows that feeling all too well. The rapper was kicked out of and banned from the Dorchester Hotel in London after her fans, or as she calls them, barbs, became too much for the hotel staff to handle. After arriving at the hotel, Nicki's fans swarmed the place, hoping to catch a glimpse of their music icon. It was reported that though they were asked to leave by hotel staff and security, they just wouldn't budge and even started tagging the hotel elevator with graffiti. There were fans camping outside of the hotel, and it was even reported that a fight broke out, resulting in an ambulance having to be called to the area. Staff were really just fed up with the Barb's antics and asked Nicki and her team to find another venue and banned her from the hotel as a result. Even though Nicki has said that she and her fans are a package deal, I don't think the hotels and venues like that idea very much. At number 4, Lindsay Lohan. Speaking of hotels, it turns out Lindsay Lohan was also banned from a hotel, this time being the Chateau Marmont in West Hollywood. It was reported that the hotel had asked Lindsay to remove her belongings and leave the premises after she was unable to settle her $46,000 hotel bill. Yeah. Lohan, who had been staying at the hotel for 2 months, had racked up a bill totaling $46,350, and she received a letter from the hotel's general manager which said, quote, as we have made repeated attempts to resolve this pressing matter over the last few weeks without any resolution, I regret to inform you that we are no longer able to extend any further credit for you to remain in the hotel. Please have all of your belongings removed from Suite 33 by 12 p.m. Wednesday, August 1st, 2012. They also sent her a list of expenses from the hotel, and let me tell you, that list is long. Like several pages of bills. Over the course of her stay, she racked up thousands of dollars worth of cigarettes, minibar items, and dining expenses as well. She's since been able to settle her debts with the hotel, but she really evaded that one for a while. Over $40,000! My god. Coming in at number 3, Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton, the great-granddaughter of the founder of the Hilton Hotels, has ironically been banned from a hotel that luckily isn't one of her namesakes. In 2010, Paris was banned from 2 Wynn Resort hotels in Las Vegas after an incident occurred which led to police catching the heiress with just under a gram of no snow in her purse. It is said that police caught Hilton red-handed as she was looking through her purse for lip balm, and then that's when the bag of no sugar fell out. As one would, she tried to cover her butt by saying that she borrowed the purse from a friend and that it wasn't actually hers, but police didn't believe her and she was arrested for the felony possession charge. This incident didn't just get her banned from the hotel either. She was was also banned from the country of Japan because of her drug charge. The country's immigration department has a very strict rule against letting anyone with a criminal record in. So guys, just don't do drugs. Just don't. Especially if you want to go to Japan. At number 2, Ariana Grande. Do you guys remember that Ariana Grande donut incident? That one was really buried deep in my brain until I read this story again. For those who have no clue what I'm talking about, in 2015, Ariana Grande was caught licking a donut on display at a donut shop called Wolfie Donuts in Lake Elsinore, California. She and her friends were visiting the shop when they dared the pop star to lick the donut. Seemed harmless enough until the footage of that incident was posted online. She was also captured making some less than friendly remarks about Americans for some reason. Once she was exposed on social media for her behavior, she issued an apology to her fans and to the bakery for her actions. It was also reported that the bakery's owner had originally wanted to press charges but decided against it in the end. But instead, she's been banned from the establishment ever since. Finally, at number 1, Lil Wayne. Turns out Lil Wayne has quite a rocky past when it comes to the NBA. In 2012, he was denied entry to an Oklahoma City Thunder's game after what seemed to have been a ticketing mix-up. And then in 2013, there was an altercation during a Lakers vs Heat game that left him not only banned from the game, but just banned from all NBA events. Apparently, the rapper got into a verbal altercation with a fan in the stands, and this outburst led to him gesturing to the fan that he had a gun. This led to him allegedly leaving the stadium on his own accord and being banned from all NBA events. Just to make matters worse, he then went on a Twitter rampage, as one does, saying some NSFW stuff about the NBA and Chris Bosh's wife. Way to leave things on good terms, dude.
Starting off our list at number 10 is Bella Thorne. She made a name for herself on the Disney dance show called Shake It Up, and since her Disney days she has continued to headline in movies like The Duff and the TV series Famous in Love. Outside of her acting career though, she has also made quite the reputation for herself. Her appearance wouldn't be what you find on Disney. She pierced her septum and rocks different rainbow colored hair all the time. Not only just her physical appearance, but her behavior is not the same as the young girl we saw on the Disney Channel. I mean, she was bound to grow up at some point, but now she's often posting pictures in skimpy bikinis and showing off her nipple piercing. You do you, girl, but obviously Disney won't be taking her back ever again. But Bella is totally okay with that and said she never wanted to be a Disney girl, as she called it. She also exposed Disney, saying that they wanted to fire her when she was 14 because she posted a picture wearing a bikini. During an interview, she said they told her, and I quote, "You're lucky that Bella has such a fan base that we can't afford to fire her at this point in time, but if she does one more thing, we will." Needless to say, she has cut all ties with Disney. Coming up next, number 9 is Madonna. At first it might be shocking to think that someone would ban the Queen of Pop herself, but there is one talk show she is permanently banned from. She too got banned from Piers Morgan, and he made sure that everyone knew about it. Back in 2011, he made a public statement saying that he would never allow her to return to a guest on his CNN show at the time. He called Madonna, I quote, "an irritant in my life for 20 years. So it sounds like they've had some beef for a while then. He said that she would only be invited onto his show if she made an apology to him on live television. There's been different rumor mills on why he dislikes her so much, but his exact reasons are still kind of unclear. He just said that she is responsible for a series of crimes against him, whatever that means. Rolling into the number 8 spot is Gilbert Gottfried. He's a talented comedian but is known for having a dark sense of humor, mainly insult comedy. He's been titled crude, inappropriate, but also hilarious. I think people's personal opinions on him would just vary depending on their sense of humor, which is fair because we all have our own sense of humor. But radio and television personality Howard Stern wasn't a fan of his comedy when he appeared on his talk show. The two of them got pretty heated with one another, and Howard said that he was being talked down to by Gilbert. He also took a joke too far and spit up cupcakes behind the scenes while the cameras were still rolling, and Howard just was kind of frustrated by it. He didn't really get it and he didn't find it funny. He was actually once a regular on his show, but he has never appeared on it since, and Howard does not have plans to bring him back. Moving on to number 7, we have Howard Stern. Well, isn't that just a funny little coincidence? What comes around goes around, I guess. He issued a few different bans on other celebrities, but was on the receiving end for one of them. It all came from his longtime feud with Jay Leno, which all started after Howard accused him of stealing bits from his own show. Not to mention the chaos in 1995 when Howard appeared on his show and brought two nearly naked women on stage and started sucking on their toes when Leno interviewed the next guests. He was so mad with this weird and erratic behavior that he actually ended the show early by walking off the stage. And at number 6 is the Kardashians. I am not going to name the girls off one by one because they all got banned from a show as a family, like a group coupon kind of deal. Like a Groupon. Back in 2012, during an episode of Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, the CNN news anchor Anderson Cooper was asked if there was anyone he would refuse to have on his show at the time. He responded with, "I'd say generally any member of the Kardashian family." There wasn't much of an explanation why, and people were actually confused because just a few hours before that interview, Khloe tweeted about how much she loves the newsman and even referred to him as a silver fox. Which is just awkward, because clearly y'all are not on the same page with one another.
In at number 5, Tomi Lahren. Tomi is one of those right-wing pundits that is constantly saying inflammatory things online just to provoke a reaction from the people. She certainly has her supporters, and all that does is fuel this engine of hatred to keep on going. Again, I'm not against the limiting of speech, but if Lahren took a break from social media, it probably wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Recently, Tomi thought that she would weigh in on the protesting and said, "Brave men and women of law enforcement, these psycho Dems want to defund, dismantle, and destroy you. This is the choice Americans must make in November, lawlessness or law and order. No wonder the Dems are pushing fraud-ridden vote by mail." The problem with this tweet is that protesters against police brutality should not be a bipartisan issue. It's pretty clear that police agencies have been lawless for decades. Got him! In at number 4, Donald Trump. Now, speaking of free speech, you would think that the president would be for that. Unfortunately, he is, unless someone doesn't agree with him. Recently, when one of his tweets was fact-checked by Twitter, he actually threatened to shut down all social media companies. Which definitely seems like he's attempting to limit the speech of everyone, again, only because someone else didn't agree with him. So because of that, no one can say anything. For the amount of hatred that he has for the Chinese government, he sure enjoys taking a few things out of their book of controlling the people. In at number 3, Tekashi 6ix9ine. This one's a fairly easy one for me. 6ix9ine was put in jail for heinous crimes, and before that he was just the most annoying person on social media. Now that he's out and cooped up at home, he's only been continuing to rat on other rappers and stir the pot more than ever before. I can't even keep up with how active this guy is online. He claimed that he needed to be let out of prison for fears of catching COVID, but as soon as he got out, this guy just started flexing hard. He posted this photo of himself holding stacks of cash with the caption, "Describe me in one word," which filled the comment section with the word snitch, and at least he hasn't deactivated his comments so people can continue to expose him and how much they don't like him. It's good karma coming back. In at number 2, Jake Paul. Much like Tekashi, I would have no qualms if social media wanted to ban Jake Paul. While his brother Logan seems to have redeemed himself from his previous adolescent behavior, Jake is kind of stuck in the past. Having a platform as big as he does only seems to fuel more and more erratic behavior. Case in point was him thinking it was a great idea to show up to a mall and film people looting. Thankfully, his actions finally had consequences, and he was arrested and charged for his role in the looting of an Arizona mall. Jake was charged with criminal trespassing and unlawful assembly. Hopefully some time in jail will give him some serious quiet time to focus on rethinking what he says and does for clout. Last but certainly not least, in our number 1 spot, Nicole Arbour. Why this woman is still allowed online after her Dear Fat People video is beyond me. Nicole Arbour doesn't have a political point that's ever even worth listening to, and she only ever falls to the side that supports her the most. During the riots, she fell into the laps of the white supremacists as she spouted some pretty wild things from her Facebook and Twitter pages. Amongst telling people to arm themselves and shoot, she also tweeted that white people were being lynched in broad daylight. Then goes on to say that they don't want change, they want to even a score from a game played by people none of us have even ever met, which is just the most tone-deaf way to look at these protests. Plus, by saying they want to even the score, you're simultaneously admitting that the score is uneven. Someone, please get her off the internet. In fact, I can hear the sirens coming now. In at number 10, Martin Lawrence. On February 19th, 1994, comedian Martin Lawrence was hosting Saturday Night Live. However, unbeknownst to the writers, he had adjusted his opening monologue a bit. As Lawrence went on about feminine hygiene in some very descriptive ways, Lorne Michaels was absolutely fuming. Following that live audible made by Martin, the monologue was then removed from all repeats and replaced with a voiceover instead. He was banned from ever hosting again, and Lorne would make sure that Martin would never even appear on the show, nor have his name mentioned by the cast. So essentially, Martin Lawrence is the Voldemort of Saturday Night Live. In at number 9, PewDiePie. Felix, I think, needs to just stay on YouTube. He's so good on that platform in particular. Recently, he's been using the community section of his channel to spread donation links for people to donate to the George Floyd Memorial Fund. Although when it comes to other social media platforms, PewDiePie has definitely stirred up some controversy in the past. Back in 2016, he was temporarily suspended from Twitter after tweeting out that him and Jacksepticeye were joining ISIS, which also led to him and, well, them both being unverified on the platform. He's also been very vocal about just how much he loathes Twitter. In a video he did, simply titled "I Hate Twitter," Felix explained that the platform has become nothing but a cesspool of opinions. Following that, he temporarily disabled his Twitter account, which is good to see that he at least had some foresight that it wasn't doing him any favors. In at number 8, Kim Kardashian. Other than the fact that she is famous for being famous, people really listen to Kim Kardashian, which isn't necessarily the best thing. I'm sure she could make much more of an impact by not being on social media 24/7. She has such a large following that her DMs must be jam-packed with offers from companies looking for her to advertise their products. I also don't think that she looks deeply into what these products are and simply views them as a payday. The biggest example of this that I can point to is the diet lollipops that she was advertising. She made this post advertising for the Flat Tummy Company's new appetite suppressant, and the problem is that the ingredients in this product haven't even been approved by the FDA, which means it's most likely not safe for people to consume. Although because she has established this unattainable image through plastic surgery and Photoshop, she then influences her audience to consume these toxic products with the hopes of being just like her. It's all around just not good for anyone. In at number 7, Clint Eastwood. Now, there are some celebrities that have admitted that they are just too old to be on social media, and others have maintained that it kind of freaks them out in general. One person who should just stick to doing movies and playing shuffleboard is Clint Eastwood. After Donald Trump was elected, Clint tweeted out, "Thank you, America. I don't have long left to live, but I know the last few years will be great. I can't thank you enough. Hashtag President Trump." Now, there's nothing wrong with expressing joy for your candidate choice getting elected, but Twitter decided to suspend his account. The reason wasn't because Clint tweeted this, but because someone had actually created the account and it wasn't Clint Eastwood. That being said, I still wouldn't trust old man Clint to run his own social media pages, especially after that video of him talking to a chair that he claimed was Invisible Obama.
What do you want me to tell Romney? I can't tell him to do that. Can't do that to himself. You're crazy.
In at number 6, Ellen DeGeneres. Let's face it, ever since the lockdown, Ellen has done nothing good to help her career. First, there were the comments about how her home felt like jail. Then we had her turning her back on crew members that have put up with her for years only to fire them for an independent company. Now she thought that getting herself involved in the Black Lives Matter movement was going to save her. In a since-deleted tweet, Ellen said, "Like so many of you, I am angry and I am sad. People of color in this country have faced injustice for far too long. For things to change, things must change. We must commit ourselves to this change with conviction and with love." Now, while I'm sure that was meant to be a nice sentiment of voicing support, but remember folks, she is BFFs with George W. Bush. Not exactly a political ally to the Black Lives Matter movement.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Halfway through at number 5 is Kathy Griffin, another comedian whose content focuses a lot on dark comedy and controversial subjects like religion, politics, and LGBTQ rights. So there is bound to be a few people that she offends or frustrates. Throughout her career, she's been banned from more talk shows than anyone else on this list, and they include The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, The View, Ellen, and The Late Show with David Letterman. The reasons vary from making derogatory comments all the way to taking her clothes off. True story, video proof is still on YouTube. While she was on the David Letterman's talk show, she decided to take off her clothes on live television during their interview. She literally undid her dress, pulled it down, exposed her entire bra and her stomach, and the fact that she was not wearing underwear. True story, and then she had him zip it back up, and it's very uncomfortable to watch, but I think you should. Sliding into number 4 is Hugh Grant. How could anyone possibly ban the charming actor? I mean, am I right? Well, it is possible, and Jon Stewart banned him from The Daily Show with Jon Stewart back in 2009. He said his decision is justified though, and claimed that Hugh was extremely rude when he appeared on the show. He said he was cursing, complaining about everything, and people around him complained that he was annoying pretty much everyone on set. But down the road, the actor admitted that he was in a bad mood that day, and he tweeted out, "Turns out my inner crab got the better of me with TV producer in 09. Unforgivable. Jay Stewart, correct, give me kicking." At least he admits it, right? I mean, we have all had bad days. I'd be lying if I didn't say I was cranky sometimes. Alright guys, we've made it to number 3 and we have Joan Rivers. The comedian legend was once a permanent guest on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, but she ended up landing a gig to have her very own late night show on Fox, and their friendship soon came to an end because of it. She made history for being the first woman to ever host a late night broadcast talk show, but it turned out to be a flop, and Carson felt betrayed by her because she left, so he banned her from returning to his, which I get. The ban even continued when Jay Leno took over in 1992 because Jay Leno was just trying to respect Carson's wishes. But in 2014, the ban was finally lifted by Jimmy Fallon when he did his premiere episode as the host of The Tonight Show. Taking over the number 2 spot is Adrian Brody. The actor completely shocked the audience with a joke that has gone down in history for being so inappropriate and offensive. Back in 2012, he was hosting SNL and he went onto the stage to introduce the rapper Sean Paul, but he wore a wig of fake dreadlocks and attempted this horrible Jamaican accent. The joke gone wrong was enough for him to get banned from ever returning to the show. Not to mention, the producer Lorne Michaels is said to hate when celebrities go unscripted on his show and do things that haven't first been approved or at least discussed, because I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have approved that joke. Winning the number 1 spot is Sinead O'Connor. The singer-songwriter first rose to fame in the 80s and has always been controversial and open about her political views and beliefs. But she's another person who got banned from SNL for pulling a stunt that went too far and did not have people laughing like the show's intentions are. While she was singing a cover of Bob Marley's War, she took out a picture of Pope John Paul II and started reciting the word evil. And then she went on to rip it in half and say, "Fight the real enemy." The entire studio was shocked and left in complete silence, probably feeling super uncomfortable, not really knowing how to react to something like that. I'm confused. I don't understand. Starting off the list at number 10 is Monique. It has been a year since the actress rocked the industry by going head to head with Netflix, saying that she didn't get paid what other comedians did for her comedy special. Things went as far as Monique demanded a boycott against Netflix and turned down the $500,000 they offered her for the special. I'll take that $500,000. Amy Schumer got $13 million for hers, to put it into some perspective for you. So I guess, yes, that is a big difference. Long story short, she caused a huge controversy saying that she didn't get paid as much because she was black. She then went on to insult about 80% of fellow entertainers in the industry who weren't supportive of her claims. And that is when the queen of daytime TV stepped in, Oprah. The two of them were once like family, pretty much best friends, but had an issue back in 2009 after Oprah brought Mo's family on her show without her consent. She ended up bringing her mom and her brother, who Monique has openly accused of sexually assaulting her, so obviously there was a lot of beef there. They were able to work things out, but when it came to these more recent scandals with Netflix and the rest of Hollywood, Oprah called Monique negative during an interview, and she clapped back at Oprah, calling her a coward. We haven't heard much from her ever since, and she hasn't acted in anything since 2016. So girl, where are you at? Where are you hiding? Next up at number 9 is Jared Fogle. If you don't recognize him by just his name, he was that guy that was pretty much in every Subway commercial. He was literally the pitch man for the entire company, that was his actual job. He got the sweet gig after losing a significant amount of weight with the help of Subway sandwiches. His weight loss story led him to being the spokesperson for all of their advertising campaigns from the years 2000 all the way until 2015. We saw his face everywhere, but then all of a sudden that quickly changed and he basically went into hiding. But once we found out why, it made sense. Some people might have noticed that he was no longer the face of Subway and questioned why, until headlines came out saying that he was charged for child pornography and paying for sex with minors. He pleaded guilty to his charges and was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. His attorneys argued that he should only have a 5-year sentence since the girls he had sex with were 16 and 17 years old, not young children. That did not work in his favor. Jared agreed to pay a total of $1.4 million in restitution to 14 different victims, and on top of that, the judge fined him $175,000. Since then, his disappearance is no longer a mystery, and he is now behind bars. Coming in at number 8 is Stacey Dash. You probably know her as the actress from the iconic movie Clueless. She was blacklisted a few years ago after her political views cost her her entire career. She's a conservative who was clever enough to write a book on her blacklisting experience and called it "There Goes My Social Life, From Clueless to Conservative conservative. It all happened by one simple tweet. During the Barack Obama election, she tweeted out, "Vote for Romney, the only hope for your future." She said she tweeted it out because she didn't want Obama to have another 4 years, they were her beliefs, and she was sticking by them. But when she woke up the next day, everything was different. She spoke about it during an interview in 2016 and said, "I've been blacklisted, my agents have dropped me, I haven't auditioned in over a year because my beliefs and what I stand for." After that, she disappeared from Hollywood basically. We stopped hearing about her, but the mystery of her disappearance ended just 2 days ago. She was back in the headlines, but this time it was because of her mugshot. Turns out she was arrested for domestic battery after an incident with a male. So things are not looking too good for her.
In at number 7, Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen just recently has fired 3 of her most problematic producers that had allegations of abuse against them. However, I highly doubt that this action will end up redeeming her in any way whatsoever. Thanks to that Kevin Porter tweet, thousands upon thousands of people have come to the realization that Ellen certainly has a mean streak. Part of what keeps people working in Hollywood can largely be attributed to how easy they are to work with. Now with Ellen having this long rap sheet of complaints, it's hard to imagine that Hollywood won't keep her off their blacklist of celebrities. That being said, Hollywood's blacklist is more like a timeout until the bad press blows over, and then they usually try to bring these celebrities back into the fold again. I mean, look at how off the rails Mel Gibson went, and he's still acting here and there, right? Mel Gibson's still acting, right? He did some bad stuff.
And at number 6 is Roseanne Barr. The actress once had her own ABC show titled after her, Roseanne, which is why it is such a shame that she lost it all by another single tweet. People are losing their careers over Twitter, maybe it is time to delete your account. Besides her work, she's also known for being a Trump supporter, which of course has caused her some controversy. However, it was a specific tweet back in May 2018 that had her career spiral out of control. Her tweets were about Valerie Jarrett, a senior advisor to the former President Barack Obama. In her tweet, she compared Valerie to the cross between the Muslim Brotherhood and the movie Planet of the Apes. ABC cancelled her show immediately, which was supposed to reboot the same day, coincidentally. As of January of this year, her Twitter was off limits and she moved into her mother's basement in order to get out of LA. She said that she was worried that everyone hated her and just wanted to avoid the public eye. We haven't heard or seen much from her, but the paparazzi is still trying. A more recent image surfaced a few months ago of Roseanne looking all disheveled outside of her home in Salt Lake City, Utah. Apparently she was trying to take a picture of the paparazzi's license plate. She looks like a damn hot mess. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Richard Stanley. Now this man isn't well known to some, but his story of disappearance is really interesting. If you've ever heard of the movie The Island of Dr. Moreau, he was the director and got himself fired just 3 days into production. According to the Telegraph, he was supposed to be escorted onto a flight from the set in Australia and fly back to Los Angeles, but when the plane arrived at LAX, he wasn't on it. Some of the extras from the movie ended up finding him a month later living in the jungle. Turns out he left the airport and made his way through the jungle by living off of coconuts, yams, and his personal marijuana stash. No, this is not a joke. What's even crazier is that he teamed up with the extras to create a plan to get back onto the movie set by dressing up as a mutant dog and blending in with the background actors. Like what? I know this story doesn't sound real, you guys, but it is. I swear. Like the source is down below. Here we are number 4 with Paula Deen. For years you would have seen her face plastered all over the Food Network. This was until a lawsuit was filed against her by Lisa Jackson, accusing the celebrity chef of racial discrimination. Lisa is Paula's former general manager at one of her restaurants, so they were once very close. She claims that Paula was using the N-word when talking about African Americans. She was asked during an interview if she has ever used this word, and her response was, "Yes, of course, it's just what they are, they're jokes. Most jokes are about Jewish people, rednecks, black folks. We can't determine what offends another person." After her statement, networks canceled her TV programs worldwide and stores even stopped selling her products. She disappeared from the public eye for a while, but was recognized once again after making insensitive comments about another Food Network star that passed away. Chef Carl Ruiz died at the age of 44, and many celebrity chefs posted beautiful tributes in his honor. However, while appearing on the Big J show, she was asked about his death, and her response was, "I'm not familiar with him, but I'm sorry to hear that. You know, they say the restaurant business will kill you. No pun intended." She laughed it off, but no one was laughing with her, and just when you thought she might get off the blacklist, she done did it again. Dug herself a deeper hole.
In number 3, Jake Paul. Saying that Jake Paul is a menace to society would be the understatement of the year. This guy was even once crowned as the reality villain for the YouTube generation by the New York Times. To add to his Scarface image, if you will, was the recent raid on his home by the FBI. At just 23 years old, his YouTube channel is just filled with pure stupidity. Paul's early involvement in the Hollywood scene was with the show Bizaardvark, but after he was fired by Disney, his life became pranks, vlogging, and jumping on news vans. The LA Times reported that his house was raided by the feds after he was found to be in direct connection with the looting investigation in Arizona. Although the police didn't come out with any stolen goods, they did find a ton of firearms. Like a ton. Including this assault rifle that was just leaned up against his hot tub. There is no doubt in my mind that Hollywood will never hire this guy again, and on top of that, he has to be blacklisted by now.
Taking second place on our list is Lelaine, the adored Disney star from the hit TV series Lizzie McGuire. Fans started questioning where she went when she didn't show up in the final episodes of the series, and when they didn't see her return for the Lizzie McGuire movie either. In the movie, they said her character was on a family vacation in Mexico, but the real reason she went missing is because she was actually arrested and pled guilty to the possession of crystal meth. Somehow she managed to keep it all hidden during the time that it was going on. It actually wasn't until she had a warrant out for her arrest that it made headlines. She was charged with a felony after not showing up for her court appearance. After her legal issues were all sorted out, she went on to work a regular job in LA where she said it just paid the bills. It was recently announced that Lizzie McGuire was coming back with a reboot, so fans are wondering if maybe she will be making a return. Is she going to be invited? Will she say yes? We're gonna have to wait and see. Taking our number one spot is Richard Simmons. The hilarious exercise guru taught his last exercise class in 2014, and we haven't seen him ever since. Like literally, he walked out of the Beverly Hills studio and wasn't seen publicly for over 3 years. A podcast was created called Missing Richard Simmons, which claimed that he was being held hostage in his Hollywood Hills home by his housekeeper, or that he was possibly transitioning into a woman. Rumors started spreading, but his brother Lenny Simmons came forward with a statement saying, I quote, "He's not sick. These things about him transitioning into a woman are ridiculous. After 40 some odd years, he just decided that he wants to rest, he wants time to himself." The only reason he ever found himself blacklisted was because of his choice to leave and how he went about it, without any explanation at all. Fitness friend Billy Blank said in June 2019 that he thinks Richard will be making a comeback, but Richard's representative declined to comment on it. I mean, he's 70 years old now. Let the man rest. Starting off the list, number 10 is Jaquan. He made a name for himself in the music industry after rapping about everybody in the club getting tipsy. You remember? Everybody in the club get tipsy. What's the next part? Something like that, right? I don't remember, something like that, but you guys remember that was his song. Anyways, his career was on the rise the same way his songs were on the charts, but then he disappeared from the music world and the public eye altogether. His own friend and manager, Dorian Washington, revealed in March 2010 that he kept trying to call and email him and hadn't seen him since August 2009. His label issued a statement asking fans to help locate the rapper. They even set up a special Twitter account called @WhereIsJaquan. After all the chaos, his manager finally wrote a statement saying, "I am very happy to let everyone know that I personally spoke with Jaquan today and he is okay. He was taking some time to himself as he sometimes does, not realizing that people would start to worry after a while." How could you not realize something like that? At least just tell your family. Coming in next at number 9 is Amanda Bynes. It is not a secret that she went off the handlebars back in 2012 with behavior that ended with her on Hollywood's blacklist. Just a few examples to refresh your memory. She was arrested for drunk driving, charged with a hit and run, locked herself in a West Hollywood dressing room for 2 hours, got thrown out of an Equinox after removing her shirt and exercising in a strapless push-up bra, and photographed multiple times smoking unknown substances in her car. These headlines kept her in the limelight for a while before she basically vanished. She was out of the public eye completely, and people wondered what had happened to her. Turns out she ended up getting admitted into a mental institution where she worked on her sobriety and spent some years working out all of her legal issues. Fans were thrilled to see her make a return last year in 2018 with a magazine cover story saying that she is sober and ready to get back into acting. At number 8 is Dave Chappelle. Comedy fans saw him everywhere in the early 2000s when he was starring on his comedy show Chappelle's Show. The entire show was headlined by him, and he had some other comedian guests to help him out. His series was successful, being nominated for an Emmy and catching the eyes of other rival networks. His representatives went to negotiate a contract for season 3 and later reported that Dave, I quote, signed a new development deal with Comedy Central that could have yielded him as much as $50 million. After that headline made news, he went missing. No one knew what happened to him or the show, and how he could just walk away from a $50 million contract. Fans later learned that he was in South Africa attending a spiritual retreat. He continued to remain in hiding and focus on his personal life until he made a successful return back in 2016. Sliding into the number 7 spot is James Franco. The reason why he landed himself on the blacklist is really no surprise anymore. It was in the news for a while, and I have talked about it a handful of times on this channel, but for those who aren't familiar with the story, I will sum it up for you. It all started back in 2014 when screenshots surfaced of him trying to rent a hotel room for him and a 17-year-old girl who he knew was underage, and screenshots show that. Of course, when the screenshots broke the internet, people were disgusted and we thought we would never hear from him again. But surprisingly, his career continued on after the scandal faded out. All was good in the hood until 2018 when he showed up to the Golden Globe Awards wearing a Time's Up pin. The pin was designed to show support for women who are victims of sexual assault and harassment, but a variety of women started tweeting accusations of sexual misconduct and assault in reference to his pin. They literally started tweeting out stories of how he sexually assaulted them and hashtagged it #CuteTimesUpPin. Since then, he's been completely MIA. We haven't seen him on the big screen, and he deleted all of his social media accounts. Anything on his IMDb accounts are small projects that he has produced himself on his own budget. His most recent project, Zeroville, just came out, and it's the first time we are seeing him acting in years. However, it's already been titled the biggest box office flop of 2019, earning just $8,000 on its opening weekend in the US. Yikes. Swiping the number 6 spot is Governor Mark Sanford. I feel like the governor counts as a celebrity. Right? I mean, like, he's really well known. Regardless, he's on this list, and back in 2009, he was the governor of South Carolina. People were completely thrown off when he suddenly disappeared for 6 days without telling anyone where he went. I feel like if you're a governor, you can't do that. After the first 6 days, he started telling people that he was going on a hike on the Appalachian Trail. However, he was really going to Argentina to visit his mistress, a woman named Maria Belen Chapur. Once the story surfaced, he admitted to his secret affair and returned to the US and asked for forgiveness. Well, he kinda begged for it. And for those wondering, after the disappearance mystery was solved, his marriage did fall apart. As it should.
In at number 5, Shane Dawson. I'm sorry for dragging these people through the mud repeatedly. Shane Dawson is a perfect scenario for this, especially for this channel. We talk about Shane Dawson all the time. But if Shane doesn't fit this list, then I don't know who else does. Shane had quite the blow up recently that led to the demise of his career on YouTube and in the world of cosmetics and probably any potential for Hollywood. That door has been shut. After partnering up with Jeffree Star, who was just meant to be another one of his documentary vlogs, the two started causing trouble together. They manipulated Tati Westbrook into fighting with James Charles, and then played the victim when people found out. Then on top of that, tons of Shane's older content had come back to bite him right when all of this beauty drama started. If you want to watch a full top 10 of everything that he did that led to the end of his career, definitely check out our list on the top 10 times Shane Dawson went too far.
Here we are at number 4 with Randy Quaid. He was once an Academy Award nominee actor before he disappeared from the limelight. In 2010, his disappearance started making headlines, revealing that he and his wife, Evie Quaid, fled to Canada to try and make a deal with a group called Hollywood Star Whackers, who allegedly were out to kill them. But on their escape to Canada, they got involved in some illegal activities. They used fake credit cards to pay for hotel bills, and also lived in one of their former homes, which they no longer owned or had rights to. According to CNN, they were granted permission to stay in Canada in 2011. His wife was able to get her Canadian citizenship because her dad was born in Canada, but Randy's request was denied in 2013. The actor was finally detained by Canadian immigration officials in October 2015 and was set to be deported back to the US later that month. However, he and his wife were arrested for trying to sneak back into the US through Vermont. So it's basically just a big show. Everyone always runs off to Canada because we're so nice over here. We'll just let you come in. Taking the number 3 spot on our list is J.D. Salinger. Everyone who went through high school had to read the book The Catcher in the Rye, which was written by a famous author, J.D. Salinger. He sadly passed away in 2010 at the age of 91, but before that, his career took a turn and he went into hiding after being blacklisted, but we never even knew. In 2013, 2 authors named Shane Salerno and David Shields published a book called Salinger, which revealed the author's crazy life and uncovered some very heartbreaking stories stories. Turns out he actually never spoke about his time in the World War II, and he ended up checking himself into a mental institution after leaving to help him deal with what he had witnessed in the war. Once he left the institution, he actually went back into the army and participated in the denazification of Germany. But because of this, there were times that some of his books were turned down. Publishers turned him down because they thought that he was crazy. Jane Salerno said during an interview, "Being told that he was crazy was a great wound to him. In fact, he teared up in the room and was deeply, deeply hurt." They said that the effects of the war and being turned down as a writer sent him into this life of isolation. He disappeared from everyone and went on to live a very private life. Honestly, after hearing this story, I feel like I really underappreciated the whole Catcher in the Rye book. Like, I hated reading that. I'm pretty sure I didn't. I probably did those things where you googled the notes and it like sums it up for you. Taking our number 2 spot on our list is Casey Kasem. The legendary radio host of American Top 40 suddenly went missing, and his children reported it to the police, saying that they could not find him. It was then in May 2014 that the judge ordered that his whereabouts be disclosed. The order was made because his daughter Carrie was named his temporary conservator. She had expressed fear that he was taken by his wife Jean, who had an ongoing battle with the entire family. The radio host was suffering from Lewy body disease, and Carrie thought her mom took him out of the country or to an Indian reservation to seek treatment. A missing persons report was filed with the Santa Monica police, but he was reported to be found in the state of Washington not long after. Sadly, he died a month later at the age of 82, and his family drama continued on long after his death, still making headlines. At number 1 is D.B. Cooper. He only became famous for hijacking an aircraft in the Northwest United States back in 1971. TV show plots, songs, and books have all been based on the legend of this man for many years, including the movie Without a Paddle. The craziest part about the story is that he's actually an unidentified man. His real identity still remains a mystery to this day, so D.B. Cooper is just the name that he's been given. On Thanksgiving Eve back in 1971, he hijacked a plane saying he had explosives in his possession and demanded $200,000 and 4 parachutes in addition to a truck when they landed at the airport. Authorities did pay out the ransom and gave him the parachutes. However, before they got to the airport, he jumped from the plane 10,000 feet near Mount St. Helens in Washington state. He was never found, and in July 2016, the FBI declared that they were no longer pursuing him. So basically, he could be out there walking the streets right now. He could be watching this. Hi DB. Kicking off our list, number 10 is Vivica A. Fox. Back in 2005, the Kill Bill actress appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live to promote her new Lifetime show. Anyone who watches his talk show knows that he is one to make jokes, but some of them did not go over too well with Vivica. Jimmy used this opportunity to make some jokes about her friend, Star Jones, who is a host on The View, and she just didn't like that very much. She was clearly upset, and the interview immediately turned cold. Jimmy tried to smooth things over and continue having the interview, but she just stopped having it and got up and left mid-interview. She never returned back to the stage to finish the show, so Jimmy actually continued it without her and told the crowd that she would never be allowed to come back. However, I think most people can agree that she probably wouldn't want to come back anyways when you making fun of her friend. Up next, number 9 is Sinead O'Connor. I probably said that wrong. I get it wrong every time. She rose to fame in the 80s as a popular singer and has always been known for her controversial views about politics and personal beliefs. So it's not all that surprising that something could happen during an interview that would have her not invited back for another one. She is just another person to have been banned from Saturday Night Live after she pulled a stunt that just went too far. The show is meant to make people laugh, right? But she didn't do that. She went on the show and performed, and while she was singing a cover of Bob Marley's War, she took out a picture of Pope John Paul II and started reciting the word evil, and then went on to rip it in half and say, "Fight the real enemy." Really weird. The entire studio was just shocked and left in complete silence, most likely just feeling super uncomfortable, not knowing how to react to that. After that, she was not invited back, and she was banned from appearing on the show ever again. Especially performing, if anything. Moving on to number 8, we have Bobcat Goldthwait. Goldthwait. The comedian had issues when he appeared on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno back in 1994. Usually when a guest goes on a talk show, they sit on a couch and do an interview. They don't set it on fire. Yeah, Bobcat is not the typical guest that people would normally have on their show, apparently. He went on the show and decided that during the interview, he would pull out a lighter and set his chair on fire. Jay Leno actually put it out with one of the cups of water that he had, but he made the comedian sit back in the chair, which was then burnt and covered in water. Bobcat ended up getting fined over $3,000 for the stunt and was banned from the show for a week. On top of that, he was also forced to record a public service announcement about fire safety. His banishment was only a week long though on the show, and he did reappear after that.
At number 7, Mitchell Musso. Hannah Montana was one of Disney Channel's biggest hit shows. It catapulted Miley Cyrus into stardom, and some of her co-stars felt the bright lights of Hollywood shining down on them as well. One of those stars being Mitchell Musso. Mitchell played one of Miley's best friends, Oliver Oaken, in the show, and all was well, at least until the show's end. Towards his end of the series run, Mitchell changed up his look. He was no longer a shaggy-haired dude who sported layered t-shirts, and he was now a dark-haired rock star. The change happened due to Mitchell's real-life appearance change as he cut his hair shorter, dyed it black, and got a bunch of tattoos. According to Mitchell, the executives freaked out when he showed up on set like this, and so they tried covering it up by including it in the show. After his run on Hannah Montana, Mitchell moved on to other Disney shows, but things were a little rocky for him and the company, as during this time he was in the news for being arrested for a DUI. He was later distanced from the company and hasn't really worked much since, after coming away with a broken image from Disney. At number 6, Jake Paul. You know, sometimes I forget that Jake Paul used to be a Disney star. I mean, you look at the guy post-boxing match, bloody and bruised, and it's hard to imagine that face was on the Disney Channel. But yeah, before 2017, Jake Paul was a member of the cast of Bizaardvark. That is, until he got fired from the show. Though he was a hard-working actor, he was also in the midst of running Team 10, and at this point, it was still fairly new, but uber successful. Jake was frequently in the news during this time because of backyard fires, noise complaints, police calls, and just being a nuisance to his neighbors, something that they complained about often. Well, after all of Jake's bad press, he got a call from the show's executives saying that they were going to start weaning him off the show and eventually just took him off the show completely. Disney didn't need this kind of bad press from someone that the media was calling a YouTube brat. Jake didn't really seem to mind getting let go from his job since it allowed him to grow his YouTube presence even more, and I guess it kind of worked out if you call pestering Conor McGregor at every waking moment on the internet a success, that is. Don't really think so. At number 5, Thora Birch. From Hocus Pocus to American Beauty, Thora Birch was a rising star, but due to a number of reported conflicts, Thora isn't finding the same level of success that she used to, and some say that she's been blacklisted from Hollywood. Much of this has to do with Thora's father and the conflict that he's been involved in. First, it was reported in 2010 that Thora had been fired from an off-Broadway production of Dracula because her father would frequently accompany Thora to set and had physically threatened other actors. Thora was also fired from her next project, Manson Girls, after her father allegedly got into an argument with production. From 2010 to 2018, Thora reportedly booked only one gig, and the actress has said that much of that has to do with her bad rep in the industry. She said that she angered a lot of people over the years, and so this could be the reason that she's blacklisted. At number 4, Isaiah Washington. You may know Isaiah Washington from Grey's Anatomy, but if you wanted to see what he got up to after leaving the show, you might be a little hard-pressed to do so. Isaiah left his role on Grey's for a number of reasons that turned it into scandals. Firstly, he allegedly didn't get along with co-star Patrick Dempsey, and it was alleged that they even got into a physical altercation. But the nail in his coffin, so to speak, was his controversial use of a gay slur when referring to one of his other co-stars, T.R. Knight. As a result, he was let go from the show, and this behavior apparently led him to being blacklisted for a few years. No one wanted to work with him because his homophobic scandal was still fresh in many people's minds. Eventually, he was able to make it back to the screen in Grey's as he took up his character's story once again, and he even got a role on the show The 100. His Hollywood ban was very real, but also very brief. At number 3, Rose McGowan. In 2017, actress Rose McGowan told sources that she was blacklisted from Hollywood because she was a victim of Harvey Weinstein. Rose is one of the individuals who came forward about their unwanted relations with Weinstein, ultimately leading to his conviction. Rose, known for her time on the show Charmed as well as in Scream, says that she was threatened and subsequently blacklisted and banned from Hollywood because of what she endured from an internal level as a way to protect those who knew from being outed. Now Rose is very outspoken about these matters and seeks justice for all victims of these sort of crimes. Her case originally settled out of court and everything was kept quiet, which is why she was no longer welcome in the industry, but this ban says a lot about the characters in Hollywood. Wanting to protect the higher-ups in the business and sacrificing someone's career should never be the answer. Rose lost a lot at that time and it's not fair to her, so this is one ban that went unwarranted. At number 2, Jim Caviezel. It's not always tweets and fights that get you banned from Hollywood. The roles you play and the productions that you're a part of can also take a toll on your career, and this is what happened with actor Jim Caviezel. Coming from some minor success in the 90s, Jim's defining moment came when he played Jesus Christ in Mel Gibson's Passions of the Christ film. The movie itself was a financial success, but the media tore it apart, calling it too violent and controversial. The R-rated film caught a lot of bad press as it was seen as anti-Semitic, and those who worked on the film had a hard time shaking that label, especially Jim. Apparently, before filming began, Mel Gibson warned Jim that he could potentially be shunned from Hollywood for this film, but he went ahead with it anyway. Jim says that he has no regrets starring in the movie, but he's no longer welcome in Hollywood as a result. And finally, at number 1, Mel Gibson. Speaking of the Passion of the Christ, Mel Gibson is someone who is notoriously hated in Hollywood for a number of reasons. He is no longer considered for any Hollywood roles and only seems to make an entrance into the industry when he is directing his own film, but he still holds a bad rep in the film world. He's been the subject of a number of controversies, from that of the Passions of the Christ for being anti-Semitic, to career-damaging freakouts, driving under the influence, and a number of people coming forward to discuss Mel's racist and anti-Semitic views. Though he continues to get canceled in Hollywood, he attempts to make a return every so often, so I guess you could say he's almost like the Trisha Paytas of Hollywood. He's been facing controversy for decades and no one has really forgiven him, and so he remains banned in Hollywood.
Starting off at number 10, we have Adrien Brody. Adrien Brody is a well-respected dramatic actor, winning the Oscar in 2002 for the Best Actor in The Pianist, with him kissing presenter Halle Berry on stage. Then on the heels of his new fame, he was asked to host SNL in 2003. And when he was introducing the musical guest, Jamaican singer Sean Paul, he not only made everyone cringe with embarrassment, but he also broke one of the golden rules of live TV. For the introduction, Brody took it upon himself to grab a dreadlock wig and ramble in a problematic Jamaican accent for way too long before handing things off. And even though the Jamaican accent was offensive and he probably should have been banned for just that, the bit wasn't planned and he ended up wasting a lot of valuable airtime, which caused the ban. Brody spoke about the ban with the Huffington Post and said that he might be banned, but he never heard anything official about it. In at number 9, Sinead O'Connor. Sinead O'Connor was asked to perform on SNL in 1990, in the peak of her fame, but she ended up bailing when she realized comedian Andrew Dice Clay was going to be hosting. And although it put a wrinkle in things, they were still able to manage. O'Connor finally performed on SNL in October of 1992, but SNL was probably wishing that she didn't, because O'Connor ended the performance by holding up a picture of Pope John Paul II, ripping it up and stating, quote, "Fight the real enemy," obviously offending millions of people. The show quickly cut after they saw what happened, but the damage was already done and tons of angry calls came in. One audience member tried to assault O'Connor and had to be removed by security. Unsurprisingly, O'Connor never played SNL again. Wonder why? In at number 8, Kanye West. It's no shock that Kanye's banned. Honestly, I'm shocked he's not banned from everything at this point. Before the ban, West appeared on the show 7 times and always managed to bring an incredibly thought-out performance to the show. West is even held in such high regards that SNL producers allowed him in a rare third performance segment in that particular episode. But they were shocked when instead of playing a song, he made an entire speech praising President Trump while wearing one of his mega hats. NBC cut the speech short for viewers, and the outburst was not received well by the live audience members. Not long after, West claimed on Twitter that SNL producer Lorne Michaels had asked him to return to, quote, host before the year is out. But according to Radar Online, Kanye was actually banned instead, and the latter seems a lot more likely to me.
At number 7, Madonna. It seems like Madonna has a record of being on her phone at inappropriate moments, and this is exactly what's led to getting her banned in a few places. First, let's talk about how the pop singer was sort of banned from the Alamo Drafthouse Theater. Back in 2013, Madonna was called out by a film critic during a screening of the film 12 Years a Slave. The critic wrote about how Madonna was texting during the first half of the film, and when the theater got a hold of this information, they issued a statement saying that she would be banned from the theater until she issues an apology. Now, after the scrutiny that she faced in 2013 at the movies, you'd think that she'd have learned her lesson from that, but oh no. She was also reportedly banned from seeing the Hamilton musical after she was caught by one of the show's stars, Jonathan Groff, for also being on her phone during the production. As a die-hard Hamilton fan, that hurts me to think that she'd disrespect that wonderful musical with her stupid texting. Lin-Manuel Miranda is more important than whoever you're texting, Madonna. Coming in at number 6, Blake Lively. Blake Lively once experienced the wrath of Disney after trying to sneak into Disneyland. In an interview with David Letterman, she revealed that when she was a kid, she and her brother tried sneaking into the theme park. Blake revealed that their plan of action was to take wristbands of people who had left the park and put hairspray on them in order to transfer the barcode onto themselves. They scanned through and got past the gates only to be met with park security. Disney does not play around. The actress said that she and her brother were taken to Disney jail where they were given a 1-year ban from the park. Luckily, after their year ban was up, they were allowed to return to the park with no problem, but I'm sure she never tried to sneak in anywhere again. Halfway through at number 5, Adrien Brody. Actor Adrien Brody was having a lot of success in his career in the 90s and early 2000s, but there was a bit of a hiccup that happened in 2003 while guest hosting Saturday Night Live. On the show, the host was always responsible for introducing the musical guest for the night, and on the night Adrien was hosting, the musical guest happened to be Jamaican artist Sean Paul. Well, Adrien took it upon himself to use his introduction to Sean Paul as a bit, and when he came to announcing Sean's performance, he came out dressed in fake dreadlocks sporting a Jamaican accent. His bit was seen as offensive and uncalled for as he went off script to do it, and no one found it funny. As he performed, the crowd went silent because they already knew deep down that this was going to land Brody in big trouble. He was banned from appearing on the show again. At number 4, John Travolta. John Travolta was allegedly banned from the New York City spa after one of the establishment's masseurs accused the actor of inappropriate behavior. According to workers, when John would come in, he would request only male staff, and they would claim that John had exhibited inappropriate behavior during their sessions. Reports say that during these sessions, John would allegedly grind against the table, remove his towel, and would stick his butt in the air. It came to the point where members of staff began refusing to work with him, and they ran out of people to perform massages on the actor. The details of this alleged ban are a little muddy because others dispute this claim of the actor being banned, but either way, it's noteworthy. At number 3, Justin Bieber. Back in 2013, during what I like to call the problem days, Justin Bieber became the newest member of a Las Vegas indoor skydiving arena's no-fly list because he failed to pay for his time there. Reports say that Justin and his group of friends entered the facility just as it was about to close, looking to do a couple of rounds of skydiving. He agreed to pay the establishment at the end of their time, and so after their round was up, Justin was confronted with the payment. Since he was an A-lister, the company agreed that Justin could either pay monetarily or he could share a selfie on social media and pay in promotion instead. Justin agreed to the selfie, however he never followed through on his promise, and according to sources, Justin even faked posting something on social media, but he never really followed through. On top of that, staff members noted that Justin and his friends were quite unruly while they were there, and they apparently made a mess of the company's facilities. He could have easily paid for himself and his friends, which would have come to a total of about $1,600, but instead he decided to be a little brat and take advantage of the business instead. At number 2, Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse was an absolute icon in her day. Super talented, but she did struggle with substance abuse. She was often seen and photographed by paparazzi in an inebriated state, so it comes as no shock to find out that she's been banned from a few hotels in various locations because of her drunken antics. In one instance, Amy was banned from a hotel in the UK after having staged a drunken and disruptive party in her suite. Another instance where she was banned from a hotel comes from her stay at the Savoy Hotel in London, where she joined forces with one of the hotel's musicians to put on a live performance. Though her impromptu concert of sorts was free, she was kicked out of the establishment because of other guests complaining that she was too loud and disruptive. Lastly, she had a run-in with staff at a hotel in St. Lucia where they banned her from drinking at the hotel's bar after she was caught with scratches and bruises after having fallen into a bush during a night of binge drinking. She was banished to one of the hotel's villas on the other side of the property in an effort to stop her from bothering other guests. At number 1, Ozzy Osbourne. In February 1982, Ozzy Osbourne was arrested in San Antonio, Texas after he was caught peeing on a cenotaph which honored the Alamo. The musician was seen wandering the streets of San Antonio wearing one of Sharon Osbourne's dresses, and after relieving himself on the cenotaph and being picked up by officers, he was charged with public intoxication and was detained. After paying bond, he was released but was promptly banned from the entire city as a result. Luckily for him, he returned to San Antonio in 1992, apologizing for the incident and making a $10,000 donation to the Daughters of the Texas Republic, an organization organization that maintains the property that Ozzy peed on. The lesson here? Don't pee on things.
Starting us off at number 10 is Steven Seagal. If you thought he was the type of guy who wouldn't share his negative opinions about a topic, then you thought wrong. He likes to express these emotions through humor, but one time his jokes did not win him laughs. They actually got him banned from Saturday Night Live. Back in 1991, he hosted the show and received some pretty harsh ratings for his appearance. His jokes rubbed people the wrong way, but apparently there was also reports that he was just difficult to work with. Some crew members said they disliked working with him and that he was the worst host to ever appear on the show. So the actor and martial arts guru got banned from the show altogether. Moving on to number 9, we got Vince Vaughn. Many people would say that he's a great actor, but rumor has it there are less charming things about him when he is not on our screens. Everyone is allowed their own opinion, and apparently the actor made it clear that he doesn't really approve of gay marriage and same-gender relationships in general. And he revealed some of these comments while doing an interview on the Ellen DeGeneres show. As you know, Ellen is happily married to another woman and is a huge influence in the LGBTQ community. Now, there's been no confirmation from the source herself, but reports were made saying that after the interview, he was banned from returning to her show for a few years. Climbing into our number 8 spot is Gary Busey. He's a man full of talent, but his erratic behavior does not always sit well with others ever since his tragic motorcycle accident that ended with severe brain damage back in 1988. Throughout different interviews, he's shown fans that he has multiple personalities, which some people might get a kick out of, but Howard Stern is not one of those people. Gary got banned from the Howard Stern show after one of his interviews where he displayed this wild and bizarre behavior. He picked up Howard's co-host in this weird bear hug stunt, and he also wrestled Howard himself to the floor. Like in the middle of the interview. Just like put him on the floor. Howard has said he felt some guilt banning him from returning to his show, but admits that he just simply cannot handle it. In at number 7 is Chris Brown. The singer flew into a rage on the set of Good Morning America, so it's not all that surprising that they wouldn't want him back on their show. It was back in 2011 when the singer didn't like the question they asked him, so he decided to walk out during the middle of the on-air interview. But he didn't just walk out gracefully, he left the interview, went backstage, ripped off his shirt like the Hulk, and smashed a studio window. Tell me it's not a coincidence that all of this anger came from a question about his felony assault case against his ex-girlfriend Rihanna. I mean, dude, you're really not helping your case here by trying to show the world that you can control your anger. No offense. Cruising into number 6 is Heather Mills. This one runs a lot deeper than just having bad behavior or a bad first impression. She was banned from the Piers Morgan show because she cheated on her husband. You're probably wondering why he would care about her love life so much. Well, her husband is actually his best friend. So you can imagine that would put him in an uncomfortable situation with having her on the show for interviews. So reports say after she cheated on his best friend, he banned her from being a guest on his show. Apparently, he's made some comments about the situation and said that she is just another, I quote, gold digger chasing wealthy gentlemen. Halfway through at number 5 is Kelsey Grammer. It appears as though Piers Morgan might throw bans around like it's no big deal, or maybe he's just a really hard guy to please. He slapped a lifetime ban on the Frasier actor after he appeared on Piers Morgan Live. What happened was, during his appearance, the network showed a photograph of his ex-wife, Camille Grammer, after they promised that the subject of his relationship would not be discussed on air. He responded to the photos by walking off set before he even made his full appearance. So they gave him a lifetime ban. Some people said it was a dramatic reaction, while others say the ban was a little over dramatic. So, what do you guys think? Which was the dramatic part? The reaction to the photos or the lifetime ban? Moving along to number 4, we have Piers Morgan. Yes, the roles have reversed. He throws around these bans on other celebrities, but he himself got one from Rosie O'Donnell. Now, the two of them don't actually have any beef with each other. Rosie banned him from the talk show, The Rosie Show, out of loyalty to one of her friendships. Turns out she's a good friend to Madonna, who got banned from Piers Morgan Live. I shared that story in our part 1 video. And since they are good friends, Rosie lashed back at Piers after finding out that Madonna got banned from his show and said that she was gonna ban him from hers. Rolling into our 3rd spot is Chevy Chase. He was once a big star from the original Saturday Night Live cast back in 1975. Actually, he was one of the first. But he is also the first cast member to ever get banned from the show. The good news is, his ban came long after he had left the show on his own terms. He left the show after 2 successful years and then returned 8 different times to host Saturday Night Live. During his 8th time hosting, though, he got officially banned from ever returning after he hit another cast member in the back of the head. I'm not laughing laughing that he punched someone. I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous. Will Ferrell reported him after he apparently witnessed the physical assault. But over the years, he has gotten on better terms with the creator Lorne Michaels, and although he was banned from hosting, they did allow him back on the show for smaller appearances. Taking over our number 2 spot is Martin Lawrence. It seems like NBC has no problem banning celebrity talent from Saturday Night Live if they are not pleased with their experience. Even the hilarious actor-comedian was banned from the network after he used inappropriate language that they said could risk the show's ratings. In his open monologue back in 1994, he made a reference to the female genitalia and also said some curse words, both things that were obviously not in the original script. He was banned from the show, and fortunately for the network, the inappropriate monologue was edited in a way so that they could take some of that out, so it didn't damage the ratings all that much, but some of it was still left in. Earning the number 1 spot on our list is Bobcat Goldthwait. This one takes the cake. It's honestly pretty crazy, and I'm surprised I didn't know about it before researching for my list. Back in 1994, the comedian went on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and during the interview, he got infuriated when he heard that the Arsenio Hall show was being cancelled. But he took his anger to a whole different level, and during the middle of the interview, he stood up, took out some lighter fluid, soaked his interview chair, and set the chair on fire. Maybe just the slightest bit dramatic, but to no surprise, he was banned appearing on the show ever again. He actually got fined, and he was forced to make a public service announcement in regards to fire safety.
In at number 10, Adele. Although Adele has never really been banned for saying anything obscene or posting something that garnered any negative attention, even Adele knows social media is bad for her. Back in 2017, Adele said that she can get a little too mouthy well on Twitter, and because of this, her management actually banned her, for which then prompted her to create her own private social media account. This is exactly why in 2020 she has gone on regular breaks from social media platforms, because she understands how addicting it can be. Well, that and the fact that she enjoys having a few alcoholic beverages, which doesn't exactly bode well with posting things online, especially considering the size of the platform that she has. In at number 9, the Kardashians. Minutes after Khloe Kardashian tweeted this out, "I love Anderson Cooper, #SilverFox," Cooper said that if he could ban any guest, it would be the entire Kardashian family. While on Andy Cohen's show, Watch What Happens Live, Cohen and Cooper played a game called Plead the Fifth. The question posed to Anderson was, name one person you would ban from your show forever, and as I mentioned, the Kardashians were thrown quickly under the bus. Although Cooper said that it was all in good fun, we still have yet to actually see any of them appear on his show. Not that they have any political opinions they need to be spewing. In at number 8, Hugh Grant. While some accents may sound charming, Hugh Grant's personality canceled out any of that for Jon Stewart at The Daily Show. After appearing on the show, Jon Stewart said he was banning Grant for being a big pain in the ass. Stewart continued saying that he would never grant him back on the show, unintended. During an onstage Q&A, John remarked that they've had dictators on the show, but Hugh Grant was still his least favorite guest. Apparently, Hugh spent most of the day just complaining that he had to be there, and even flat out said that he had better things to be doing, for which the staff of The Daily Show didn't really care to hear, nor did Stewart. So thanks to his high-maintenance attitude, he was banned from the show with zero apologies. In at number 7, Howie Mandel. Now you'd think because these two were co-hosts on the show America's Got Talent that they would have bonded a little bit, but nope. In fact, they probably would have liked each other more if they had never even met. During an interview with Billy Bush and Kit Hoover on Access Hollywood, Pierce said, "I actually want to torture and dismember Howie. He is without a doubt the most annoying man in the history of planet Earth." Those are some harsh words, and after Howie pranked Pierce one too many times, he outright banned Mandel from ever appearing as a guest on his independent live shows. In at number 6, Vince Vaughn. While promoting his new movie The Dilemma, they played a trailer on Ellen to promote the movie, and in the trailer was this line.
"Ladies and gentlemen, electric cars, they're totally gay."
Yeah, he said that on Ellen, live. You gotta imagine the network executives were sweating when that aired. For a long time, Vaughn was banned from ever appearing on the show again. However, after many years had passed and probably a few phone calls apologizing, the pair have made amends, and he did come back on 7 years later.
Halfway through the list, at number 5 is Jake T. Austin. He played the adorable little brother Max on Wizards of Waverly Place. He was living the dream, headlining a huge Disney show and starring alongside a star like Selena Gomez. However, after Disney, he's had a few struggles. It all started in 2013 when the 18-year-old was pulled over for not using his headlights, but then failed a sobriety test after cops said they smelled alcohol in the car. He was arrested and charged with a DUI on the spot. Just 1 month later, he was involved in a hit-and-run accident that involved 4 other vehicles. He fled the scene of the car accident saying that he didn't want to face any more legal trouble, but obviously that made it even worse. Then in 2014, it was reported he had a meltdown at the Teen Choice Awards. Apparently, he yelled and went off because a worker didn't know who he was. Witnesses claim he even threw things at a staff member and then stormed away. He's been able to clean up his act ever since, booking some other roles and voiceover work, but Disney hasn't taken him back. Here we are at number 4 with Demi Lovato. Her career started with acting on Disney Channel's movie Camp Rock and the TV show Sunny with a Chance. After that, she went on to completely dominate the music scene. But she started making headlines like being accused of punching a backup dancer while on tour with the Jonas Brothers. It was reported multiple times that she was checked into rehab and diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Over the years, she has been very open about her battle with eating disorders and a drug addiction. She openly admitted that there was a point when she couldn't go half an hour without wanting more cocaine, and that she'd show up to interviews either drunk or high. In 2018, she had a critical overdose and ended up in rehab once again, where she completely disconnected herself from the outside world and the industry. Now she has returned sober, which we are super grateful for, but she hasn't returned to Disney and probably never will. I just want her to drop some more hits if I'm being honest. I miss her music. Alright guys, at number 3 we have Britney Spears. Before she was dropping bangers, she was actually a Disney star, which happens to be where her career first started. She was on the Mickey Mouse Club alongside Justin Timberlake, Ryan Gosling, and Christina Aguilera. She's now an iconic pop singer and also a mom, but none of us could forget the time when we thought her career would be over for good. Who could forget the breakdown she had when she shaved her head and smashed a car with an umbrella? During that time, she overdosed on amphetamines and was taken to the hospital and put under psychiatric hold. For some time, she was in and out of treatment centers and had some legal issues too. Nowadays, her life has definitely been pieced back together, but Disney will not be a piece of her puzzle, which is fine because ultimately she is Britney, bitch. In spot number 2 is Stoney Westmoreland. He was on the Disney show called Andy Mack, but you might not know that since we often forget that not all Disney stars are kids. Westmoreland took on the role of the grandfather on the hit TV show, and honestly he could probably take our number 1 spot on this list, but whatever. Turns out his Disney career quickly came to an end on December 15th, 2018 when he was arrested for allegedly trying to have sex with a person he believed was just 13 years old. Keep in mind he is 49 years old. While chatting with the teen online, Utah police saw he sent pornographic photos to the minor and asked the young teen to engage in sexual acts with him and also to send nude photos. On his way over to meet the teen, he was in a ride-sharing service where investigators say he planned to bring her to his hotel room, which is when the Salt Lake City Police Department and FBI Child Exploitation Task Force arrested him. He was charged with 4 counts, which are all considered third-degree felonies. Following his arrest, Disney Channel confirmed that his role on the show has been terminated, and we can assume that means for any future projects as well. Taking the number 1 spot on our list is Miley Cyrus, because people were absolutely devastated when she left her role of Hannah Montana. People were so invested in her character that she was judged the absolute hardest when she started to steer away from Disney. Her image changed from what they were used to seeing, and they were mortified when witnessing the whole twerking on Robin Thicke thing at the VMAs. It didn't help her case. She was always very open about her drug use and her sexuality. She was constantly posting videos of herself smoking pot and appearing practically naked in every appearance she made. I mean, she was completely naked and swinging on a giant metal ball for her music video Wrecking Ball. Disney wouldn't accept her back simply for all of those reasons, but also because she has exposed them and accused Disney for taking advantage of her. She told Elle magazine that she was underpaid. She said, "I mean, at one point they'll probably kill me for saying it. I was probably the least paid person on my cast because I didn't know any better. I was just like, I can be on Disney. Yay." I think there are a lot of things Disney would kill her for saying and doing.
At number 10, Roseanne Barr. Roseanne Barr had a pretty good thing going up until 2018. Prior to then, Roseanne was finding a lot of success in the Roseanne sitcom reboot on ABC and was getting ready to usher in a new season. Everything changed after the actress tweeted out an offensive and racist tweet about Barack Obama's former senior advisor, Valerie Jarrett, comparing her to an ape. As a result, Roseanne felt the wrath of Hollywood and her show and career had been cancelled. Though she deleted the tweet and issued an apology for her actions, this couldn't save her career, and she's since been reportedly blacklisted from Hollywood. The actress tried defending her actions by claiming that she thought Valerie Jarrett was white, but that excuse didn't really go over well, and it made things worse for her instead. Recently, we've seen Hollywood taking these kinds of offensive actions more seriously, so many celebs have faced mass scrutiny and cancellations because of past actions or current beliefs. Roseanne has also gone on to say in interviews that Hollywood shunned her because of her political beliefs. At number 9, CeeLo Green. CeeLo Green rose to fame in the mid-90s, but I think most of us know him for his hit song Forget You or F You. CeeLo even got to be a judge on The Voice for a brief time, that is until he began getting caught in scandals. The first came from back in 2011 after he was deemed homophobic after tweeting and using the word gay in a derogatory manner. This scandal blew over eventually until 2014 when a new scandal came about, this time concerning allegations of non-consensual relations with a woman. It was alleged that the singer slipped an illicit substance into a woman's drink and went home with her, but after pleading no contest to the allegations, it was determined that the relationship was consensual. CeeLo then proceeded to defend himself on Twitter, making offensive remarks, and as a result, he lost support. He stepped down from his role on The Voice and was even taken off the lineup for a music festival. He was essentially blacklisted for some time since no one really wanted to work with him. Even though he was later welcomed back to The Voice, this decision came with uproar, which suggests that fans haven't forgotten about CeeLo. If you guys are enjoying the video so far, please consider leaving a like, and also head on over to the Viper Girl channel and hit that subscribe button for some awesome gameplay content featuring yours truly.
And at number 8, Janet Jackson. On the heels of her unforgettable Super Bowl nip slip, it was announced that Janet Jackson was banned from attending the Grammy Awards. Her publicist said that she was unlikely to attend anyway, while the entertainment show Access Hollywood said the invitation had been withdrawn anyways. After the incident where Justin Timberlake ripped her shirt and exposed her breast, she went on TV and apologized, saying, quote, "I'm really sorry if I offended anyone. That was truly not my intention." Jackson was scheduled to introduce the Luther Vandross tribute at the Grammys, but that invitation was canceled in light of the controversial event. After the scandal, CBS also said it would have a 5-minute delay on the award show to prevent anything like that happening again. And at number 7, Guns N' Roses. This is one incident where the band Guns N' Roses probably should have been banned. When the band was accepting multiple awards at the American Music Awards that aired January of 1990, they swore a number of times on stage, appeared drunk, and even encouraged viewers to drink too. The band won 2 awards at the ceremony, and both times Slash and McKagan were called up to the podium, they stumbled and swore on stage, saying things that vaguely made sense, like, quote, "We're a band, man. We go in, we jam, we hang out, and we listen to rap records, and we go dance, you know? Our audience is the only thing that makes this happen." And I'm sure after that, someone from the award show gave their management an earful. And at number 6, Morgan Wallen. Country artist Morgan Wallen has been banned from performing at or receiving any recognition during the upcoming Academy of Country Music Awards after a video of him saying the N-word to friends was leaked. The first round of voting for the award show has already closed, but his name will be taken out for the second round of voting. A tweet from CMT read, quote, "After learning of Morgan Wallen's racial slur last night, we are in the process of removing his appearances from all our platforms. We do not tolerate or condone words or actions that are in direct opposition to our core values that celebrate diversity, equity, and inclusion."
We are halfway through. At number 5, we have Robert Blake. Guess what? Another person banned from Saturday Night Live. It seems like getting banned from the show happens more often than any other talk show on this list. In 2001, Robert's wife, Bonnie Lee Bakley, was tragically killed. Some people knew her from the iconic Little Rascals movie. In 2005, Blake was actually accused of being the one who pulled the trigger. He underwent a very lengthy and controversial trial, but was found not guilty in the end. Many people would think that this might be the reason that he was banned from SNL, but it actually was not. But it kind of goes hand in hand. He actually hosted the show before this scandal back in 1982 and showed off a very vicious temper in the process. Reports say he was insulting cast members, crumpled up a script and threw it at one of the writers, and had a very nasty attitude towards people involved. He ended up getting banned from the show, and a lot of people correlate his angry temper history with the murder trial that happened down the road. I don't know. I ain't trying to point fingers, but like, Rolling into the number 4 spot is Charles Grodin. The deadpan actor is known for being very talented at his craft, so why was his late night comedy sketch so bad to a point where he was banned from returning? Fans expected nothing less than perfection from him when he went on an episode of Saturday Night Live back in 1977. Everyone thought he was gonna crush it, which he really should have. But things did not go to plan. Charles went on to host the show and wanted to play a character rather than himself. He wanted to play Charles Grodin, SNL host who was bad at hosting SNL. He played up this character and deliberately forgot his lines and ad-libbed his way through all of the sketches and basically just bombed the entire thing. He literally kept pretending that he didn't know the show was live. It was a nightmare. Lorne Michaels obviously had enough and he was banned from coming back. Poor Lorne Michaels having to ban all these people. Taking over our third spot is Louise Lasser. She was best known for her 1970s soap opera parody Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. She loved what she was doing at the time, and you could tell with how it came out through her craft and her character. But you could also tell how she had a miserable time hosting Saturday Night Live because it very much showed. She was actually the first person, reports say, to ever get banned from this show. The very first. During her opening monologue, she mentioned that Mary Hartman was in the middle of having a nervous breakdown. She then started to emulate her character and started rambling about how scared she was to be on live television, and she locked herself in her dressing room. Like, she literally locked herself in her dressing room during her opening monologue. Other cast members tried to coax her out of the room, but only Chevy Chase was successful. But even after the show continued on, she kept forgetting her lines, and the episode ended with her sitting on the floor, like the studio floor, talking about her problems and how she was having a mental breakdown. She was banned from the show, but in 2013, she said that she intentionally made it look like she was having a breakdown because she didn't feel comfortable performing the sketches that they had written for her. Just don't go on the show if you don't want to do the sketches. Up next, number 2, we have Heather Mills. She is just another star that was banned from the Piers Morgan show, who has actually released a list in the past of everyone that he is banned from his show. So he's not very shy about the topic, to say the least. Heather is the ex-wife of Paul McCartney and was banned from his show after she and Paul got divorced back in 2008. She was given a $50 million settlement for the divorce, and since Piers was friends with Paul, he didn't feel right having her on his show. In fact, he actually introduced the couple in the first place, so he took his buddy's side and kind of slapped a lifetime ban against her. He has also said it is the least he could do for his friend to make up for the financial and emotional pain that she caused his friend, and he also referred to her as a gold digger. So they're not on good terms. Winning the number 1 spot is Oprah Winfrey. Bet you're a little surprised. She is arguably the biggest name in broadcast television. Who wouldn't want to have her on their show? Talk about ratings. David Letterman, apparently. The two of them had a feud that lasted over 25 years, and Oprah actually refused to go on his show again, which ended up with him saying that she's never allowed. Letterman admitted that he played up the tension between them on his show to get laughs out of the audience, and says it all started when Oprah allegedly snapped at him on the phone when he called her to invite her back on his show. Oprah says she did the appearance on his show and felt very uneasy due to his rowdy audience and just didn't feel comfortable going on again. So she said no. So he banned her. The feud lasted way too long, and once he stopped talking about her, like on his show and making funny shots at her, they were able to make up, and they have been on each other's show ever since. So this one has a happy ending.
At number 10, Charlie Sheen. The Plaza Hotel is one of the most elegant, prestigious, and well-known hotels in New York. Many of you may know it from Home Alone 2, but me, I know it from the 2009 film Bride Wars. If you know, you know. Well, no matter where you know it from, there is one person who will never step foot in there again, and that's Charlie Sheen. The former 2.5 Men star is reportedly banned from the hotel following an incident from 2010. It is said that Charlie had something of a destructive episode while high, where he caused thousands of dollars in damages to his suite. I wasn't able to find the exact monetary amount of damage that Charlie racked up, as there are reports from amounts of $7,000 all the way up to $20,000, but the bottom line here is that he shredded that room to pieces. pieces. He broke mirrors, TVs, and even reportedly had a woman hiding in his room screaming. The situation was so bad that police had to be called to escort the actor from the premises, and he's been permanently banned from the hotel ever since. Coming in at number 9, Kris Jenner. The Kardashian/Jenner clan are amongst the biggest and most famous A-list celebrities in Hollywood. Love them or hate them, they're still some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry, so you'd think that they'd be invited to all of the hottest parties, but no. Turns out there's at least one event that the Kardashians are not welcome to attend, and those are Oscar parties. If you can believe it, the Kardashians have been banned from all Oscar parties, and it's all Kris Jenner's fault. According to reports, Kris Jenner had been invited to an Oscars bash in the past until one event where she reportedly got drunk and was involved in some unacceptable behavior. This made the studio who was hosting the party look bad, so they issued a ban on the Kardashians. The reality family is known for being a little problematic, so the Oscars rep said none of that here, and they just won't welcome them back. But can you really blame them? Now before I get into the rest of the video, I would like to ask you guys to leave a like on this video. It really helps out if you do, so if you're enjoying the video so far, please smash that like. And at number 8, Chris Brown. Chris Brown has a bit of a temper, as a few of you may already know, so it's no surprise that he's been banned from somewhere for being a bit unruly and aggressive. Chris is now banned from the Lifetime Athletic chain of gyms and fitness centers after his encounter with a manager from one of their New York City locations. Reports say that Chris and his friends were in a game of basketball when they started getting loud and unruly and started swearing at each other. As the manager came in to speak to the group and asked them to tone down their voices and music, that's when Chris got angry. According to TMZ, Chris, quote, went ballistic, screaming and swearing at the woman. Chris and his friends were then asked to leave, and Chris reportedly spat on the door on his way out. I mean, dude, all you had to do was stop being so loud and you could have finished your game. Now there is no game to be had. At number 7, Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg is known for two things: his music and his affinity towards the devil's lettuce. One of those two things got him banned from Norway, and here's a hint: it wasn't his music. That's right, Snoop was banned from a country for one of the things dearest to his heart. The rapper was caught trying to sneak 8 grams of La Ganja Estranja, if you will, into Norway back in 2012 and was arrested at the airport after Dogg sniffed out the illegal substances from his luggage. On top of that, he was also fined for carrying more cash than legally allowed in the country. As a result of these charges and fines, Snoop was issued a 2-year ban from the country. Though being the laid-back guy that he is, he didn't really seem to mind too much. He apparently had no plans to dispute the ban and instead paid his $8,600 fine and carried on his merry way. Man, what I wouldn't give to be as carefree as Snoop. At number 6, Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton has had her share of run-ins with the law in the past for DUI charges and drug charges. As one of the biggest names in Hollywood and being one of the wealthiest women in Hollywood, her previous felonies haven't affected her life too much, other than the fact that she isn't welcome in Japan. The heiress has been banned from Japan because of her past criminal offenses. Paris had plans to begin her tour of Asia to promote her fashion and fragrance line in 2010, but was stopped at the Tokyo airport after being denied entry into the country. The country has a strict rule against allowing visitors from other countries who have a record of drug offenses, and so after being denied entry, she was forced to cancel her tour and return to LA. It seems that money can't buy you everything.
Halfway at number 5, Schitt's Creek. It's impossible to think that this lovable group of Canadian icons was almost left out of an award show because of the show's name. But that's actually what happened. At the Emmy Awards, they were so adamant about the rule that there would be no swearing in their broadcast that they almost banned the name Schitt's Creek from the show. When host Jimmy Kimmel mentioned Schitt's Creek, which was nominated for 15 Emmy Awards, the show's logo appeared on the screen, all this so nobody would mistake for, you know, shit. Like, honestly, we might have had to bleep out Schitt's Creek too, the way that I'm saying it does. I mean, it's meant to sound like that. Jimmy Kimmel even found it so ridiculous that he even made a joke that this kind of censorship is why network TV is dying. And at number 4, The Weeknd. Even though The Weeknd had a phenomenal year and his album After Hours got commercial and critical success, he was noticeably absent from Grammy nominations. People have a lot of theories as to why they think that this happened, but most of them think the Grammys blacklisted the star because he went against them. Even though his past Grammy recognition has been stellar, with him having 3 wins and 10 nominations in total. One reason is that The Weeknd was very critical of the Grammys in an interview for the Rolling Stone, talking about their category changes, saying, quote, R&B and black music is such a wide variety. If they pull us all into one category, I still think it's not fair. We'll see how it goes. Maybe his comments were why he wasn't included. Another theory is surrounding the Super Bowl, as the star was picked to perform at both the Grammys and the Super Bowl. A massive honor, obviously. But people think that the Grammys didn't like the way it was negotiated, and decided to shaft the singer for choosing the Super Bowl over the Grammys, essentially. And at number 3, Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany Haddish called out the Grammys big time after she was asked to host the Grammy Awards premiere ceremony, but turned down the offer after being told that she would have to pay her own way there. After this was brought up in the media, Recording Academy interim chief Harvey Mason Jr. posted a public apology on social media, saying he was unaware of that offer, saying in the Instagram video, quote, "It's just been brought to my attention that the Recording Academy invited Tiffany Haddish to host this year's premiere ceremony. Unfortunately, and without my knowing, the talent booker working the Academy told Miss Haddish that we wouldn't even cover her costs while she hosted this event for us, adding that it's wrong and he's ashamed of that decision." Haddish commented back later saying, quote, "All of that would have to come out of my pocket. I don't know if this might mean I might not get nominated ever again, but I think it's disrespectful." Based on the way it played out with public support being on Tiffany's side, I think she'll still be good in the graces of the award show, but hey, they might take the embarrassment out on her instead. Who really knows? And at number 2, PricewaterhouseCoopers accountants. Back in 2017, the Oscars had one of their worst blunders to date, when the Oscar award for Best Picture temporarily went to the wrong film, which was the fault of the accountants who were supposed to ensure the winners were announced correctly. After the embarrassing mistake, the Oscars banned the 2 accountants who were backstage at the Oscars for not rectifying the situation soon enough. Brian Cullinan was the accountant that gave the card to the presenter, causing the whole situation. But the other accountant, Martha Ruiz, did not directly cause the situation, but she didn't do enough to fix it after it happened. When talking about the ban, the Academy said, quote, "I'm sure they're very lovely people, but they just didn't have the disposition for this. You need someone who's going to be confident and unafraid," one of those sources told the Wrap, explaining that Martha failed to react to the drama fast enough. And that was, of course, La La Land getting the award instead of Moonlight that actually won that year. And finally, at number 1, Ricky Gervais. Ricky Gervais is probably banned from hosting any more award shows ever after his shocking monologue at the Golden Globe Awards in January of 2020. In the monologue, he starts off by saying it's his 5th time hosting, and he really doesn't care anymore, which he made very clear by saying he didn't care like every few minutes of the monologue. Starting off saying, quote, "You'll be pleased to know that this is my last time hosting these awards. I don't care anymore." I'm joking, I never did. NBC clearly didn't either, 5th time. In the monologue, he took shots at basically all the people in attendance, even calling the Hollywood Foreign Press Association racist, and saying that Netflix is taking over Hollywood. Saying at one point the show is going to be doing a quote in memoriam this year, but when I saw the list of who died, it wasn't diverse enough. Then going on to trash action movies, saying, quote, "They wear masks and capes and really tight costumes. Their job isn't acting anymore. It's going to the gym twice a day and taking steroids." And yeah, after calling the people that hired you racist, I don't think he's expecting a call back.
Beginning the countdown, number 10 is Howie Mandel. Although he's a very successful comedian and a lot of people would defend his humor, there will naturally be people out there who just don't find him funny. He's also known for his rowdy and loud personality, and one person who isn't a fan of it is Piers Morgan. Turns out he didn't care for Howie's cheerful attitude and silly jokes, so he banned him from returning to his talk show. The comedian never really did anything to personally upset him, and there isn't some big drama to the story. He simply just didn't like him on the show. Pierce said that Howie was too irritating to have on his show, and even went as far as calling him the most annoying man in the history of planet Earth. That makes it crystal clear, Piers Morgan. Clear as glass. You do not like Howie Mandel. At number 9 is Orlando Brown. He played the lovable character Eddie on That's So Raven. While his other co-stars are now back on the reunion show Raven's Home, he wasn't even asked to be on the show. That is probably because he's too busy getting arrested and spending most of his time in and out of court. In 2014, he was charged with public intoxication and then a disturbing the peace charge after he threatened to kill a woman. Only 2 years later, he was charged with battery and drug possession. He allegedly hit his girlfriend, and he was found carrying meth at the time. The only pictures he has in magazines now are his various mugshots where he's looking a little crazy and rocking a Raven Simone tattoo. Yes, he tattooed his co-star's face on his upper chest, and we're not really sure why. Clearly Disney isn't interested in being associated with any of the above legal charges, so I guess Brown has traded in his headshots for mugshots. Taking over the number 8 spot is Lelaine Vergara. We know her as Miranda on Lizzie McGuire, who was the best friend that everyone wanted. She took on the headline headlining role as Hilary Duff's best friend, but after the series ended, she kept a low profile and she recently opened up, calling that time of her life her dark years. She also starred on the Disney Channel original film called You Wish and even tried to launch a music career in 2003, but her album was never released. Things went south for her when she caught an addiction to crystal meth. Back in 2007, she opened up and admitted the possession of the drug and her felony charge that went with it. She explained that she didn't show up for a court appearance and the judge issued a $50,000 bench warrant for her arrest. She ended up pleading guilty for her charge and she had to complete a drug treatment program, but her charge will remain on her record regardless. The actress says she now works a regular job to pay the bills and she does random projects on the side. Unfortunately, because of her charge, Disney jobs won't be one of them. Sliding into number 7 is Shia LaBeouf. A lot of people know him from his Transformer movies, but he was also one of the stars on a Disney show called Even Stevens from 2000 to 2003. Only hardcore Disney fans will know him from Disney rather than Transformers. He took on the role of Louis Stevens, that mischievous little brother. However, since growing into adulthood, he's had some very interesting and very questionable moments. He's had multiple issues with both alcohol and anger and has been arrested on multiple occasions. He's been involved with trespassing, disorderly conduct, assault, and drunk driving. And how could we forget the very weird moment where he showed up on the red carpet with a bag over his head that read, "I am not famous anymore." When asked why he was wearing it, his response was, "I am a bag. Ask me a question." That was so weird. It is safe to say his legal issues and erratic behavior is not wanted at Disney by any means. And at number 6 is Debbie Ryan. She first stole our hearts when she joined the Disney cast on The Sweet Life of Deck and became the newest Disney darling. She starred alongside the Sprouse twins until that series ended, and then she landed the lead role in her own Disney Channel series called Jessie. For years she was holding that innocent and clean image that Disney had, but that quickly went out the window when she was arrested. Back in 2016, TMZ reported that the 22-year-old actress was driving in LA around 11 p.m. when she made a left turn and slammed into a Mercedes. The driver in the other car claims they got hurt, which made cops arrest Ryan for a felony DUI. This immediately broke the internet, which completely shattered her Disney star reputation that everyone knew her for. Her police report also confirmed that her blood alcohol level was 0.11, which was over the legal limit, proving that she was in fact driving under the influence when she hit the other car. She was charged with 2 criminal offenses and tried to save her career by taking it to Twitter, apologizing for her actions and saying she hopes she can make things better. The actress has been able to continue a career booking roles in various movies and TV series, but none that are linked to Disney.
In at number 5, Gilbert Gottfried. With the way Gottfried performs, you would think this rude dude would be a repeat guest on the Howard Stern show. And the funny thing is, no one actually knows why Gilbert was banned from the show in the first place. Some believe that it was from an interaction with Stern's wife, while others think that Howard got sick of having him on. Although Gilbert didn't really seem to care, as you can see from his Instagram post. He also then would team up with fellow band guest Artie Lang to make this video trolling Howard Stern.
Artie and me on with Howard tomorrow. Oh, no. No, you know what? You can cut.
In at number 4, Jay Leno. Believe it or not, for our next celebrity live TV band, there's a Wikipedia page for it. It's called the 2010 Tonight Show Conflict, and man, oh man, is it jam-packed with late-night talk show drama. Jay Leno had been the host of The Tonight Show since 1992, and Conan had hosted Late Night since 1993. Those shows had excellent ratings, but when Conan's contract was ending, NBC promised him that they would make O'Brien the host of The Tonight Show, which was huge because it was in a much better time slot, and it's obviously a dream for most talk show hosts to do that. However, they neglected to tell Leno about any of this. So when Jay's contract ended, they shifted Conan into The Tonight Show spot, and Jay ended up going before primetime news. Unfortunately, both shows started to tank in the ratings, causing the networks to get nervous. After watching their views decline, they panic and ask the host to switch back. Leno was for it, Conan O'Brien, not so much. He instead took another offer and started his own show simply called Conan. And the first rule he put in order, Jay Leno was banned. In at number 3, Steven Seagal. Back in 1991, Steven Seagal wasn't chomping on carrots and using too much Just for Men in his beard. He was a big action star. So needless to say, most people were excited to see him hosting Saturday Night Live. Unfortunately, the cast found him extremely difficult to work with. Norm Macdonald even said that he told them he didn't want to be in any of the sketches, which is typically something that every host just does. He did eventually oblige their request, but the cast was so fed up with him that they almost did the show with no host at all. Seagal was then banned by Lorne Michaels immediately after for being, as he so eloquently put it, the worst host ever. In fact, in 2014, Michaels told New York Magazine that when Nicolas Cage was hosting, he worried that he wasn't doing well and said during his monologue that he hopes he wasn't the worst host ever. Without missing a beat, Lorne walked on stage to reassure him that no, that was Steve Seagal. In at number 2, Joan Rivers. The late great Joan Rivers was always a recurring and outstanding guest on The Tonight Show's Johnny Carson. His show was without a doubt what launched her career, and the two bonded over the years, with Rivers even getting the coveted spot on the couch next to Carson. However, when Joan was approached by several big television networks to start her own show, she did so without telling Johnny Carson. Many other guests had followed a similar trajectory, but each had asked for Johnny's blessing. Putting that on a shirt, they asked for Johnny Carson's approval, essentially. Johnny was devastated when Joan did this without telling him, namely because her show ran opposite him as competition. Carson then had NBC ban Joan Rivers from ever appearing on the show again, a rule that both Jay Leno and Conan O'Brien adhered to well after Johnny had passed away. Last but not least, at our number 1 spot, Kathy Griffin. Although the photo shoot had nothing to do with the live-to-air show, Kathy Griffin was blacklisted hard when this photo appeared online. In 2017, the comedian became a magnet for controversy after posting a photo of herself holding a ketchup-covered head that looked eerily similar to Donald Trump. I suppose the networks were frightened of this PR disaster, and so Leno, Conan, Ellen, The View, Live with Regis and Kelly, The Today Show, and Letterman all banned Kathy Griffin from coming on live TV. CNN would also go on to announce that they relieved Griffin of her New Year's Eve coverage duties, a job that she had with the network for close to a decade. President Donald Trump even responded to the graphic imagery when he tweeted this out. Kathy Griffin should be ashamed of herself. My children, especially my 11-year-old son, Barron, are having a hard time with this. Sick. Griffin did end up apologizing and said that even as a comedian, she knows that she crossed the line, adding, "The image is too disturbing. I understand how it offends people. It was not funny. I get it."
At number 10, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin is known for being pretty outspoken and controversial at times, and it's because of that she's been banned from just about every talk show. Because of her unpredictable antics and use of crude language, as well as her problematic past, she isn't welcome on shows like The View, The Today Show, Ellen, Regis and Kelly, and all of those other people on that same show, Jay Leno, Letterman, and more. She's racked up a lot of these bans over the years, but some of the new ones, like being fired from CNN, come from the backlash she gained after the Donald Trump incident, where she posed with a fake and bloodied model of Donald Trump's head. She's been known to ruffle feathers on live TV and pull stunts that are inappropriate for broadcast. For example, during her time hosting the New Year's Eve broadcast with Anders and Cooper on CNN, she used profanity and even removed some of her clothing on TV. On top of that, she's offended people during award shows while making speeches. Though she's been banned from certain TV shows, I'm pretty sure people just want her banned from the media in general because of her actions. At number 9, the Kardashians. In part 1 of this video, I told you guys about how Kris Jenner and the Kardashians aren't welcome at Oscar parties. Well, there are a bunch more places that the Kardashians have been banned from, one of those surprisingly being the Met Gala. Though they are welcome there now, that's only because they got the plug from Kanye. Anna Wintour, the editor-in-chief of Vogue, apparently had something against the Kardashians and even went so far as to call them the quote, antithesis of fashion and class. Ouch. She had allegedly banned them from attending the Met, and being a prominent trustee and financial holder at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where the function is held annually, her ruling stuck. At least until Kanye came into the picture. Apparently Anna and Kanye are good pals, so once Kanye came into the Kardashian family, Anna just couldn't refuse them and allowed the Kardashians entry. It's crazy to think that even the head of Vogue dislikes the Kardashians so much to the point of banning them from one of the biggest Hollywood events. If you guys are liking the video so far, please do consider leaving a like. It really helps out the channel and it shows us that you like our content, so please go ahead and hit that like button. At number 8, Gene Simmons. Gene Simmons is known for being pretty outlandish. I mean, have you seen the guy in Kiss without makeup? He's a pretty over-the-top guy, so it's no surprise that he'd get in trouble for being a little too out there and offending people. Turns out that his antics got so bad to the point that he was banned from all Fox programming. At one point he was a Fox favorite and was a frequent guest on their programming until he took took things too far during an office meeting. It was his thoughts on the Weinstein case and his actions that followed that caused him to be banned. Apparently, on top of his comments about Weinstein, he made crude comments about the women at Fox. He took off his shirt yelling, quote, "Hey chicks, sue me," made inappropriate jokes about Michael Jackson, and hit 2 staffers on the head with his book. Now he's not even allowed into the building, and there's even a picture of him in the security office, so they know not to let him in.
In at number 7, David Bowie. In 1997, David Bowie was banned, and from what happened, he totally deserved it. Basically, he was asked to be the musical guest, and he was gonna act in a sketch too, but they made a sketch where Bowie would sing parodies of his own songs. Bowie told Post, quote, "One of the things they came up with was a version of my song, Watch That Man, but instead in the chorus I would sing Try Our Flan." Apparently the writers and Bowie fought over the pronunciation of the word flan though. Flan? Flan? I could be messing it up right now. And literally during the broadcast, Bowie said he wasn't gonna do the skit anymore, and he wanted to change the song he was performing. Instead of performing, quote, Telling Lies as rehearsed, Bowie played his 1980 track Scary Monsters and Super Creeps. And the reason is really awful. Apparently Lorne Michaels told Bowie that the song reminded him of a very dark time in his life, and I guess the reason Bowie played it was out of spite. Apparently, as soon as the song was over, Bowie claimed he was escorted from the building and banned from SNL. However, in late 1999, he was back as a musical guest after apparently smoothing things over with Michaels, saying, quote, "We're mates. He knows now that I was just trying to get a rise out of him." And at number 6, Martin Lawrence. Martin Lawrence's monologue on SNL was so bad that a section of it was actually removed from the live broadcast because the network wouldn't let it air. And if you're wondering what kind of stuff is so bad it won't get aired on television, well, his monologue was talking about genital hygiene of intimate areas, specifically of female intimate areas. And the whole thing was just really crass and explicit. When the episode aired later that night for West Coast viewers, NBC cut out the portion of the monologue and replaced it with text explaining the gist of Lawrence's commentary and how, quote, network policy prevents any rebroadcasting of that routine. The rest of the show went on as usual, but Lawrence was obviously banned from the show right after.
At number 5, Akon. R&B singer Akon isn't really known for starting drama or being part of public controversies. In fact, recently he's been focused on building a city in Senegal called Akon City, so really I'd call him unproblematic. But surprisingly, he became a little problematic for people in Sri Lanka after the music video for the song Sexy Chick, which featured the singer, was dropped. His music as well as music videos often include some kind of sexual message, theme, or is just filled with beautiful half-naked people. I don't mind the content, but others do, especially when the religion becomes involved. You see, with the Sexy Chick video, there was a brief shot where some girls in bikinis were dancing around and a Buddha statue was in the shot. The country of Sri Lanka took great offense to this because they are a primarily Buddhist country, and seeing the statue in a sexualized setting was very offensive to them. Whether or not this was intentional was besides the point, and so the country issued a ban on Akon. Additionally, this backlash caused violent protests towards an American talent agency. In response to everything, Akon issued a statement saying, quote, "I'm a spiritual man, so I can understand why they are offended, but violence is never the answer, and I'm disheartened to hear about what happened in Sri Lanka. Akon is no longer welcome in the country, but that's okay since he's got an entire city to worry about now." At number 4, Beyonce. It doesn't seem like she can do anything wrong, but apparently she has, and it's gotten her permanently banned in Malaysia. In a lot of cases, as we've come to learn through a number of people on this list, a lot of people get banned from countries because of their crimes, but Beyonce's case here is different, and it's her wardrobe that's gotten her banned from the country. Because of the country's Muslim leadership, they've deemed Beyonce too provocative for their culture, and so the singer is not welcome to perform, tour, or even simply enter the country. This all came from back in 2007 when Beyonce was scheduled to perform at a concert in Malaysia, but after officials deemed her costumes to be too revealing, they cancelled the show and issued the ban. It is said that, quote, "Female performers at Malaysian concerts are required by government rules to cover up from the shoulders to the knees with no cleavage showing, and so since Beyonce is known for her body positivity and empowerment, she's often seen in more revealing clothing, so it's understandable that this ban would be issued." It's kinda crazy that a celebrity as big as Beyonce would be the subject of a ban, but hey, that's just show business. At number 3, Selena Gomez. One celebrity that I never thought would be banned from a country is Selena Gomez, but here we are. Luckily, her ban isn't the result of any kind of crime, but either way, the singer is not welcome in Russia. The reason for the ban is reportedly because of Selena's views on the LGBT community. Selena was planning planning the Eastern European part of one of her tours, and she was applying for a visa in order to work and perform in Russia, but was later denied, causing her to cancel that portion of her tour. Though no specific reason was given, it is alleged that she was denied entry because she supports LGBT rights and views. It is said that after having been advised by a US gay rights activist to use her platform in Russia to speak out about gay rights, the Russian government became afraid of what Selena might do or say, and so in order to prevent her actions, they banned her from entering the country and performing. This all came about after the country's new anti-gay law was put into place, and there being resistance, the government wanted to prevent people from speaking out about it. Singers like Madonna and Lady Gaga have also been banned from the country for speaking out about their support for the gay community, so Selena isn't really alone in this. At number 2, Lady Gaga. Speaking of Lady Gaga, she's not welcome in Indonesia, it seems. After having planned a concert in Jakarta, the country's capital, the singer was banned from performing in the country 3 weeks before the scheduled gig because she was deemed a quote corrupting influence. As she and her team were looking to secure the concert permit to perform in Jakarta, Indonesian law enforcement refused to issue the permit. On top of that, FBI Chairman Salim Alatas warned her against trying anything or any funny business. The singer was receiving threats from extremists, and after all the threats and hate being thrown her way, she eventually decided to back out of the concert. The chairman issued a statement regarding the singer's concert where he said, quote, FBI is grateful that she has decided not to come. Indonesians will be protected from sin brought about this mother monster, the destroyer of morals. Lady Gaga fans, stop complaining, repent and stop worshipping the devil. Do you want your lives taken away by God as infidels? End quote. Because of this, she's not welcome in the country, and because of security reasons, maybe it's a good thing she can't return. At number 1, the Beatles. Though the Beatles are a world-renowned group, it seems like one place that isn't the most welcoming of the band is the Philippines. An incident took place in 1966 that turned the entire country against the band, and it all had to do with the country's first lady. While in the Philippines as part of their world tour, the band was given an invitation to have breakfast with the first lady in Manila. They politely declined the invitation, saying that they don't normally accept such formal invitations. Well, news broke of this snubbing, and it turned the people against the boys to the point where they didn't know where to turn for help. The band started getting attacked by angry fans, and they tried to get to the airport to leave the country, and as they walked up to the terminal, people were shouting, pushing, kicking, and spitting at them. Even some police officers joined in on the tyranny. The band was able to sneak away and hide amongst a group of monks until the coast was clear and they got onto their flight, but after that moment, they were not welcome in the country after that.
And at number 10, we have Sacha Baron Cohen. Sacha Baron Cohen, who is known for his outrageous comedic stunts, actually got banned from the Oscars because they were too afraid that he would do something crazy on the red carpet. It was reported that a few days before the 84th Academy Awards, Baron Cohen's tickets were pulled, meaning that he was banned from the show, even though he's an Academy member and was one of the stars of Hugo, one movie up for Best Picture. With the statement from the Oscars reading, quote, unless they're assured that nothing entertaining is going to happen on the red carpet, the Academy is not admitting Sacha Baron Cohen to the show. This came after rumors were swirling that Baron Cohen would show up in a costume on the red carpet. So I mean, maybe that was a little valid, you know, they need to protect their show. And at number 9, Kanye West. So as we know, Kanye West is famous for his incident interrupting Taylor Swift on stage at the MTV VMAs, and embarrassing both of them. So after a crazy event like that, it's not hard to assume that he was banned from award shows for a long time after. It's such a common theory that a satire site, the Adobe Chronicles, even published an article saying that he was banned from all award shows after he interrupted someone yet again on stage at the 2015 Grammy Awards, with them saying in the article that all the TV networks have joined the quote West boycott. And even though banning Kanye would make a lot of sense, it hasn't officially happened, but after having incidents in 2009 and 2015, I'm sure networks are hesitant to invite West to any awards, and I would assume he's banned from ever presenting, that's for sure. And at number 8, Richard Gere. Richard Gere was not only banned from the Oscars, but also China after he made a controversial speech at the awards ceremony. In 1993, Gere was presenting on stage, but he took the time to criticize the Chinese government and speak in support of Tibet. After this speech, Gere was banned from the Oscars for years, until he was allowed to return in 2013 to present an award with his castmate from Chicago. During that period of exile, he continued to speak out on behalf of Tibet and other international causes. So I guess the ban didn't change much about him being vocal, just not on the Oscars stage. And at number 7, Carmine Caridi. Actor Carmine Caridi was actually the first person to ever be kicked out of the Academy. He was expelled in 2004 because the Academy learned that he was sharing movie screeners with other people, which are obviously very against the rules. Caridi spoke to The Hollywood Reporter about the incident, saying in the interview, quote, let me tell you something. Everybody does it, okay? I was doing a guy a favor and he screwed me. And this was actually starting to become a real issue in the industry, with the former MPAA chief imposing a ban on all screeners to combat piracy, with the Academy members being the only people allowed screeners. Apparently Caridi gave them to a man that would copy them for himself and then send them back to Caridi. Caridi was also sued by all major studios for the action, so clearly if you're ever in that position, just follow the rules. I mean, it's really not that hard. And at number 6, Miley Cyrus. When the 2020 Grammy Awards went down, tons of fans were wondering why Miley Cyrus wasn't in attendance, although she wasn't nominated, performing, or presenting, so there could have been a host of reasons. But Miley decided to call out all award shows when she posted a video of her on stage presenting at the MTV VMAs, lighting up a smoke on stage during the performance, with that obviously being a throwback picture, with the caption reading, quote, "And we wonder why I'm not invited to award shows anymore." But of course, tons of celebrities loved the subtle shade and commented their support on her Instagram post, with Alexander Wang writing, quote, "Don't ever change," and Lisa Rinna writing, "I'd have you at mine if I had one." Halfway number 5, Marvel. Netflix axed Marvel's The Punisher and Jessica Jones after announcing they had already scrapped other Marvel projects that were in development with the streaming service. All the cancellations mark the end of Marvel's partnership with Netflix. However, that was the plan all along, as the public would later learn that Disney would be starting its own streaming service with Marvel projects on its roster, called Disney+. In a statement on the matter, Netflix said, quote, "We are grateful to Marvel for 5 years of our fruitful partnership and thank the passionate fans who have followed these series from the beginning." Marvel's TV head Jeff Lubb also made a statement, quote, "Our network partner may have decided they no longer want to continue telling the tales of these great characters, but you know Marvel better than that. As Matthew Murdock's dad once said, the measure of a man is not how he gets knocked to the mat, it's how he gets back up." To be continued. And it's strange in that statement he made it seem like Netflix's decision, when we know they wanted their products off of Netflix to put on Disney+. And of course, after Disney Plus's launch, all Disney products were taken off the platform and will never be returning. In at number 4, Louis C.K. Louis C.K. is another actor who saw backlash from Netflix after accusations of inappropriate conduct came out against him. This came in the form of the streaming service halting the production of his second stand-up special with them. A Netflix spokesperson said, quote, "The allegations made by several women in the New York Times about Louis C.K.'s behavior are disturbing. Louis' unprofessional and inappropriate behavior with female colleagues has led us to decide not to produce a second stand-up special, as had been planned." The streaming service still has his old comedy specials up for some reason, but they definitely will not be working with him ever again. In at number 3, The Weinstein Company. Netflix decided to cut ties with The Weinstein Company after allegations against Harvey Weinstein came to light. The decision was made in court, where Netflix won approval from a US bankruptcy court to end its deal with the Weinstein Company. Before that, Netflix was in a long-term contract with the Weinstein Company that would bring its new movies onto Netflix. But not everything was taken off. According to Deadline, Netflix decided to keep Spy Kids series as part of the negotiations, as well as the hit show Peaky Blinders after they withheld payment of licensing fees, according to the report. This is licensing from the Weinstein Company to the company's new owners, Lantern Entertainment. And at number 2, Johnny Depp. This one is extremely unfortunate, but Netflix very recently removed all films starring Johnny Depp from their catalog. However, there was no statement made about the removal, probably because they know there will be backlash from Johnny Depp fans. But fans noticed when they were no longer finding movies from him on the platform. It's assumed that the removal took place after Depp lost his high-profile libel case in the UK last month, with the loss for Johnny allowing news publications to call him a wife-beater. Of course, related to allegations from his ex-wife Amber Heard. But Johnny Depp fans are not happy and are considering boycotting the service to show their support for the actor. One fan wrote online, quote, "Netflix has movies by Mel Gibson, Sean Penn, Amber Heard, and Kevin Spacey on there. They have some nerve removing Johnny Depp's stuff." Which is absolutely true. I really could not have said that comment better myself. And finally at number 1, the royal family. If you've seen The Crown, then you know why the royal family absolutely hates Netflix. Usually the royal family is pretty quiet about these types of things, but the 4th season, which focuses on Diana, has caused such a stir that the family has commented. The Daily Mail wrote, quote, "Friends of Prince Charles launched a blistering attack on The Crown last night, accusing producers of the hit Netflix drama of trolling on a Hollywood budget and presenting fiction as facts." Apparently those with ties to the royal family think that Netflix is exploiting the family for monetary gain, as well as presenting a twisted version of events. As a way to fight back, the family urged Netflix to add a warning before the show that stated that the show is a work of fiction. However, Netflix did not do this and claims that audiences know it's loosely based on a true story. But I get why the family is mad, because I mean, The show makes them look really bad. Alright everyone, that's all for the list. Let me know your thoughts below. Also, do you think Netflix is good or bad for the movie industry? Honestly, I'm not too sure of my opinion as of now. And at number 10, Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf was quietly cut by Netflix after his ex-girlfriend FK Twigs made allegations against him that he was harmful to her both mentally and physically during their relationship. This all took place right as LaBeouf's film with Netflix, Pieces of a Woman, was set to be released on January 7th. But Netflix is taking a firm stance of support for FK Twigs and the other women who've spoken out by distancing themselves from Shia and removing his name from their awards consideration campaign. LaBeouf is due to appear alongside Vanessa Kirby in Pieces of a Woman, with the pair playing a couple who lose their first child in a home birth. The film focuses on Kirby's Martha as she grieves and tries to repair her relationship with LaBeouf's Sean and her mother. The movie so far is getting tons of award season hype, already coming out strong at the Venice Film Festival, where the lead actress scored a Best Actress award, and the film was up for Movie of the Year. And this means that Netflix knows they need to publicly cut the actor, but they want the film to do well at festivals. So for now, they're just gonna cut him from the awards nominations, and we're assuming after this they won't work with him again. And also make sure to like if you're liking the video so far. And at number 9, Steven Spielberg. The legendary director has made his firm stance against Netflix very clear, and he's outspoken that the streaming platform is ruining the movie industry. Spielberg has been outspoken about his desire to keep Netflix from taking home the big trophies at award shows. After the Oscars, he came out saying that Netflix productions aren't actual movies, and because of this, they shouldn't be considered in major categories. And he's doing whatever he can to make this the case, as he's working with the Academy to ensure all films nominated for future awards have had theatrical runs, making it impossible for the streaming service to win. However, now that Warner Bros. Has made the shocking move to have all their movies released exclusively on streaming services in the new year, this rule definitely will not be put into place. And at number 8, Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan is another director firmly against Netflix and streaming services in general. According to GQ, Nolan questions the streaming-only model for failing to try and enter the theatrical area. Nolan believes that the concept of streaming movies takes away from the experience and theatrics of it all, adding that a movie will never feel as lifelike or look as good on a laptop screen, and I guess he does have a point there. For his latest film, Tenet, it will obviously not be on streaming services, only pay-per-view. The film was one of the only major releases during the coronavirus, and it might have been a mistake, as the film vastly underperformed and only brought in $29.5 million in its first 2 weeks, although it performed much better overseas. So it seems like he might be forced to change his tune about streaming services soon. And at number 7, Kevin Spacey. Back in 2017, in light of allegations against Spacey, Netflix acted quickly to cut ties with the star, which included booting him off of the Netflix original House of Cards, which was one of the service's most successful shows at the time. A statement on the matter read, quote, "Netflix will not be involved in any further production of House of Cards that includes Kevin Spacey. We will continue to work with MRC during this hiatus time to evaluate our path forward as it relates to the show," MRC referring to the production company. The spokesperson also said that Netflix will not be moving forward with the release of the film Gore, which starred and was produced by Spacey and which was in post-production. And honestly, it was nice to see a big company doing the right thing for once. And obviously, they will never work with him again, but sadly, they did keep his old material on the platform for some reason. Not sure why their stance was like only halfway on that one. And at number 6, Avatar: The Last Airbender creators. The Avatar series gained a second life when it started streaming on Netflix, but the relationship turned sour quickly, with the co-creators of the popular cartoon series cutting ties with Netflix. Producers of the original show announced their departure online, with DiMartino writing in his statement, quote, "Many of you have been asking me for updates about the Avatar live-action Netflix series. I can finally tell you that I'm no longer involved with the project. In June of this year, after 2 years of developmental work, Brian Konzenko and I made the difficult decision to leave the production," adding that the reason they left was because they were not given the creative freedom they needed to guide the show that they saw fit. Adding, quote, "Though Netflix promised to support their vision, there was no follow-through on that promise." Netflix later made a statement that they were going forward with the show without the men.
Halfway through our list, number 5 is Piers Morgan. Once again, the roles are reversed, and the talk show host who is used to banning other people was the one being banned. Rosie O'Donnell was the one who banned him from her talk show, The Rosie Show, to show her loyalty to one of her friends. Turns out she was a good friend of Madonna's at the time when Piers banned her from his show. So, since Rosie was her friend, she lashed back at Piers and said that she was banning him from her show. So that is just some serious girl code. Those are the type of friends you want in your life. Rolling into number 4, we have Andy Kaufman. The actor got himself banned from Saturday Night Live back in 1983. The show's producer at the time, Dick Ebersol, banned him in a very dramatic way. Andy had appeared on the show many times during the first season, being a huge contribution to the early days of SNL. But his jokes and acting were unpredictable and a lot of the times inappropriate. Improvisation is a huge part of SNL, which can either be a success or a complete risk. In 1983, the producer had enough and decided to make a show of it by asking the audience whether Andy should stay or leave the show. The final tally was $195,000 for removing him from the show and $169,000 for keeping him on. So obviously he was kicked off the show and was not allowed to return. Sadly though, he passed away just 1 year after this event. In our third spot is Adrian Brody. He was another celebrity who was banned from Saturday Night Live. He was removed from the list of potential future hosts after his appearance back in 2003. During his appearance, he walked on stage to introduce Sean Paul, the Jamaican reggae musician, and wore fake dreadlocks and talking with a fake Jamaican accent. For obvious reasons, people were not thrilled about how offensive it was for cultural appropriation, but the producer at the time, Lorne Michaels, was not happy either. It's been said that he actually hates when celebrities go unscripted while hosting the show, so he actually banned him from ever coming back. But despite him getting banned, the network had no problem allowing other celebrity members to impersonate Brody on SNL back in 2012. Winning our number 2 spot is Chevy Chase. He was one of the first stars in the original Saturday Night Live cast back in 1975. He also was the first cast member to get banned from the show. Man, a lot of people get banned from SNL. Although the ban came long after he left on his own terms. So, he left the show after 2 successful years and then returned 8 different times to host Saturday Night Live. During his 8th time hosting, he got officially banned from ever returning after he hit another cast member in the back of the head. Yes, that'll do it. Will Ferrell reported him after he apparently witnessed the physical assault. But over the years, he has gotten on better terms with the creator Lorne Michaels, and although he was banned from hosting, they have allowed him on to do smaller appearances. So it seems like his ban has been officially retracted, but only for the hosting part. I don't really know. In our number 1 spot is David Bowie. Who on earth would ban David Bowie? He is the rock and roll legend, and it's hard to imagine that anyone would not want him as a guest on their show. So what happened? Back in 1997, he went on SNL and did not make the producer Lorne Michaels very happy. Lorne had booked him to come on the show and perform his song Telling Lies, which was his most recent single at the time. He also asked specifically that he not perform his song Scary Monsters and Super Creeps, as it allegedly reminded him of some dark times. But he did not listen and he ended up performing the song anyways. After that, he banned him from the show for 3 years.
And at number 10, Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart got the opportunity of a lifetime when he was asked to host the Oscars in 2018, but it was promptly taken away after old tweets of his resurfaced that were offensive to the LGBTQ community. Kevin responded to the backlash in a video on Instagram, where he said the Academy asked him to apologize and he would still be able to host. But Hart refused and did not want to apologize again, saying in the video that he had addressed all the tweets prior and has apologized multiple times for them, and he didn't want to apologize again and let the trolls win. After that fiasco, the Academy decided to not have a host, and since they haven't had a host since, it seems this controversy made them completely rethink the way the awards are hosted, and this means Kevin will most likely never host the show. And at number 9, 50 Cent. 50 Cent almost pulled a Kanye at the 2004 Grammy Awards. 50 Cent along with Evanescence were up for the Best New Artist award. Evanescence ended up winning, and when they came on stage to accept the award, 50 walked on stage right behind them. Thankfully, he didn't stay on the stage for long. He basically just walked on the stage and then walked straight off. But obviously that kind of act is not tolerated. But it seems 50 Cent doesn't care about being blacklisted by the award show, as he actually spoke about the event recently when accepting his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He said at the ceremony, quote, "I got the largest first album, debut album and hip hop album, but you don't got no Best New Artist trophy. The Best New Artist, they gave that to Evanescence. Can you find Evanescence? Mike, I haven't seen Evanescence since that night." So definitely throwing a lot of shade there.
At number 8, Monique. Actress and comedian Monique became notable in Hollywood for her stand-up and her role on The Packers, but things escalated for her career when she was cast in the 2009 Oscar-nominated film Precious. Monique played an abusive mother in the film, and as a result of her talent, she was awarded an Oscar for Best Actress in a Supporting Role. This should have catapulted Monique's career, but instead it did quite the opposite. Because she, quote, refused to campaign for her award, director Lee Daniels pegged her as being difficult to work with and a tacky actress, and she's since lost out on a number of roles as a result. With this new label, no one in Hollywood wanted to work with her after that, over fears that she would be troublesome on set and when promoting her work. Monique rose so high and fell so fast, and her career is no longer the same. At number 7, Stacey Dash. Known for her role as Dion in the 90s film Clueless, Stacey Dash had risen to fame in the 90s, but recently she's hit rock bottom and is no longer welcome in the entertainment industry. Nowadays, the actress is known for being quite outspoken when it comes to her political views, and this is what led Hollywood to lock her out. Speaking out about her take on women's rights, Black History Month, segregation, and the quote-unquote bathroom bill, the actress has proven herself to be too much for even the likes of Fox News, for which she used to be a part of. Stacey would often come on air on Fox News to talk about whatever issues were being discussed, but in a turn of events, Fox News let her go for having gone too far with her words, especially in reference to the abolishment of Black History Month. Some people have said that her extreme beliefs are what stopped Stacey from receiving any roles, and have said that she was even dropped by her agent for being too problematic. Her views on gay and trans rights, as well as opinions on race in Hollywood, have ultimately ended her career as an actress. At number 6, Kirk Cameron. Another celebrity who's been dropped by Hollywood is actor Kirk Cameron. Kirk rose to fame on the show Growing Pains, but has subsequently been banned from Hollywood in recent years because of his personal and religious views, especially those pertaining to the LGBT community. Though he seemingly doesn't care about Hollywood thinks about him, it still doesn't take away from the fact that he's no longer welcome in the industry. In recent weeks, Kirk was in the news for his anti-COVID protests, posting photos of him and large groups of maskless people caroling during the holiday season. This, combined with his controversial views on same-sex marriage and his harsh religious views, which he often preaches, Hollywood doesn't want anything to do with the actor because he has a reputation for being problematic.
Halfway number 5, Charles Grodin. Charles Grodin was banned for a very strange reason, and that was apparently because he wasn't cool and didn't mesh well with the cast. And he also didn't seem to care much about the show in general. He apparently skipped rehearsals, which are crucial for a live show, and also improvised lines, which is another huge no-no for live TV. But along with this, his lame attitude rubbed the cast the wrong way. John Belushi once said of Grogan, quote, "He doesn't smoke dope. He's not one of us." And I definitely don't agree that someone not smoking should make you dislike them, but I would assume it's probably a mix of everything that got him banned. And at number 4, Louise Lasser. Louise Lasser was actually the first person who was ever banned off SNL. Lasser was the ex-wife of Woody Allen, who appeared in Bananas and other early features in Allen's filmography. And she was pegged to host a 1976 episode. But less than an hour before the episode went on, Lasser decided to lock herself in a dressing room. And this is live TV, people. You cannot have that before a show. And since she didn't seem like she was going to come out, the cast decided to last minute divide her parts of the show up to themselves. Eventually, she did come out and ended up doing one sketch, but was never let back because they could not risk that ever happening again. And at number 3, Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase was a huge success on SNL and leveraged his success on the show to branch out to other things. But he ended up being the only SNL member banned from the show. Apparently, Chase was a handful from the start and insulted plenty of guests that came on the show, like Robert Downey Jr. and Terry Sweeney. But the last straw came in 1997 after it was revealed that he had been harassing women of the show, like one woman who he allegedly hit on the back of the head. But it seems like the ban only applied to hosting, as he did participate in some sketches down the line. And at number 2, Jenny Slate. Jenny Slate had a very unfortunate mishap that caused her time on SNL to be cut short. On September 26th of 2009, she made her SNL debut in a Biker Babes sketch alongside Kristen Wiig and actress Megan Fox. And in the sketch, the women repeatedly used the word frickin' because they can't say the actual F word, on network TV. But in one instance, Slate accidentally said the real F word instead, which was heard live across the country. It was dubbed over for the recorded viewings, but at that point the damage was done. Slate was pulled back in subsequent episode and fired from the show at the end of the season as a result. And finally at number 1, Shane Gillis. Comedian Shane Gillis is the most recent person to get the boot from SNL. And he was actually cut from the show before he was even able to appear on an episode. After it was announced that Shane, along with 2 other new cast members, were going to be on the upcoming season of SNL, past tweets were revealed that showed Gillis using racist and homophobic slurs. A spokesperson gave a statement on the show's decision to pull Gillis. Quote, after talking with Shane Gillis, we have decided that he will not be joining SNL. We want SNL to have a variety of voices and points of view within the show. The language he used is offensive, hurtful, and unacceptable. We are sorry that we did not see the clips earlier and that our vetting process was not up to our standard.
Beginning our countdown list at number 10 is Madonna. This one surprised me because I couldn't believe who would ban the Queen of Pop and what she could have done to make someone that angry. Back in 2011, Piers Morgan made a public statement saying that he would never allow her to return as a guest on his CNN show at the time. During CNN's Television Critics Association winter session, he referred to Madonna as, I quote, an irritant in my life for 20 years. He never truly revealed why he has so much hate for her, but said that there has been a series of incidents throughout the years. He called them a series of crimes, which has me believe that it's not as serious as he is making it seem. But regardless of what I think, he added that she would not be allowed on his show unless she made a public apology to CNN. After she got banned, there were a bunch of rumors going around on what the true reasoning could be, but nothing has ever been confirmed. There still seems to be bad blood between them because in September of 2020, he went on a rant about her and said she acts like she's 62 going on 20 and said that she doesn't know how to age gracefully. So he is clearly still butthurt over whatever happened, and I want to know what it is. Next up at number 9, we have Gary Busey. He is a talented man who got into a tragic motorcycle accident back in 1988, which ended up giving him severe brain damage. Ever since that moment, his life changed forever as his behavior got more erratic and uncontrollable. Throughout different interviews, he's shown fans that he has multiple personalities, which some people might get a kick out of, but Howard Stern is not one of those people. Gary actually got banned from the Howard Stern show after one of his interviews where he displayed wild and bizarre behavior. He picked up Howard's co-host in a wild bear hug stunt and also wrestled Howard to the floor in the middle of the interview. Howard has said that he feels some guilt banning him to return from the show, but admits that he simply just cannot handle him. While some people argued that this decision was very insensitive, obviously to his brain damage, others agreed with him and said that everyone handles things differently. But I want to know what you guys think of this. Do you think it's fair that he banned him? Because obviously he can't control his behavior sometimes. It's a tricky situation. Speak of the devil, coming in at number 8, we have Howard Stern. Throughout his career as a talk show host, he has issued a few different bans on other celebrities. The ban came from a longtime feud he had with Jay Leno, which started after Howard accused him of stealing bits from his show. I feel like this would happen often with talk shows since they are all so similar and they are trying to make their shows stand out among the rest. But that was not the only reason. There was also some chaos between them back in 1995 when Howard appeared on a show and brought 2 nearly naked women on stage and started sucking on their toes. It was super random, awkward, and uncomfortable, and Leno was so mad with his crazy behavior that he just ended the show early and walked off during the middle of it, which I would have done too, because that's absolutely disgusting. Taking the number 7 spot is Kelsey Grammer. He too was banned from Piers Morgan Live, which has me wonder if Piers just kind of throws bans around like it's no big deal. But he slapped a lifetime ban on the Frasier actor after he appeared on the show. The reasoning? Well, during the interview, the network showed a photograph of his ex-wife, Camille Grammer, after they promised that their relationship would not be discussed during that interview. He was so angry about it getting brought up that he walked off the set during the middle of the appearance and did not come back to finish his interview. Obviously, this would not be a good look on the show, but it also came across as really dramatic on Kelsey's side. At the end of the day though, Kelsey stated that he does not care about being banned from the show and said that he doesn't even think about it. Moving on to number 6, we have Bill Hicks. Back in 1993, David Letterman banned the comedian from the show after he did a stand-up set which was filled with some controversial content. He ended up getting banned from the show and the network never aired his comedy because of the alleged offensive content that was in it. David Letterman later talked about it and said he felt pressure from the network executives who said the content would be offensive and bad for the show. Bill Hicks ended up passing away in 1994, and years down the road, Letterman wanted to make it right. In 2009, he brought Bill's mother on the show and finally aired his original comedy set from his interview back in 1993. He apologized on the show and said it was an error in judgment and a mistake to not show his set. He also apologized and talked to his mother on the show, and they watched his set together with the rest of the audience. David said that it was his way to try and fix his mistake.
Halfway number 5, Cypress Hill. The group Cypress Hill was known for a lot of things back in the day. One in particular was their love of smoking weed. And apparently, even though they were told not to touch the substance the night they were on the show, they of course did. Member DJ Muggs said he quote felt like he needed to make a statement with his performance, and that came in the form of him smoking on live TV. And this was back in 1993 when TV was a whole lot different than it is now. Muggs asked Sen Dog to light the joint, but he refused, so Muggs just did it himself. The group claims that the SNL cast came up to them right after and told them how cool they thought the stunt was, but obviously this is live TV people and the network was not happy, resulting in a lifelong ban from the show. And at number 4, The Replacements. The band The Replacements made fools out of themselves during their performance on SNL, and that was because the band was totally sloshed while performing. Apparently it was a pre-show ritual for them to drink before performing, but SNL has a dry set, so they don't allow alcohol beforehand. Apparently the band got around this by having their sound guy sneak in booze after a pre-show sound check, and by the time they went on, they were hammered. And it was very easy to tell from the footage of the performance. The lead singer wandered away from the mic, the bassist was stumbling, and the guitarist was late to start his solo. So the lead singer actually yelled kind of into the mic, "Come on, effer," to cue him, which was picked up by the mic. And just when it couldn't get any worse, one of the guys ripped their pants at the very end with their rear end out for the world to see. The guys even trashed their hotel room after, that was paid for by SNL. So, I mean, yeah, obviously they were banned after that. That's like 4 strikes against them. In at number 3, Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa was a special type of musician that often infused humor into his music, which made him a great fit for Saturday Night Live, where he was asked to host and be the musical guest in October of 1978. But his performance was so bad, SNL writer and performer Don Novello called it, quote, one of the worst ever. Apparently the final dress rehearsal before the show went so bad that Zappa tried to change his entire approach to the show, but he didn't tell anyone else. And apparently his strategy was to somewhat make fun of the show itself and made the audience aware when things were scripted, with someone from the cast saying, quote, he read the cue cards like he was reading the cards, like he made a point of it. That was his approach to the humor. No one else in the sketches knew it. SNL producer Lorne Michaels did not like the unapproved take on their material and never let him come back. And at number 2, Elvis Costello. Elvis Costello broke one of the major rules of SNL, and that is going against Lorne Michaels. And he paid the price by getting banned. A December 1977 episode featured Elvis Costello as the musical guest, and he played Watching the Detectives in his first slot. Then in his second slot, he started playing Less Than Zero, but then decided to change his mind midway through the song. He told the band to stop playing and told the audience, quote, I'm sorry ladies and gentlemen, there's no reason to do this song here. He then decided to play Radio Radio, which is one song he was told not to play because of how critical of mass media the song is. And because he stopped the show and changed the song, he was banned. However, it wasn't lifelong, and Michaels let him back in 1989. And even joked about getting banned on SNL's 25th anniversary show, so it seems like it all ended well. And finally, number 1, Andy Kaufman. This is a crazy one because Andy got himself banned. So the situation here was that he was put on the show back in 1975 and he managed to gain an audience off of the show. So SNL had him back many times over the years, with him appearing 10 times in the late 70s and early 80s. But one of his bits went south when it had lifelong consequences. Basically, in one skit, he told an SNL producer to read a statement on air in 1982 explaining that Kaufman's scheduled appearance had been cancelled because, quote, Andy Kaufman is not funny anymore. Then the viewers were told to decide Andy's fate, with them able to vote on if he would be banned from the show or not. And sadly for Andy, they voted to ban him for life. The self-imposed ban was never lifted, and he never performed again until he passed away in 1984.
In at number 10, Chris D'Elia. Actor and comedian Chris D'Elia just recently was part of the Netflix show called You. In the show, he played a comedian that was also grooming underage girls. Turns out he had just been method acting the whole time. D'Elia has been accused of grooming and attempting to solicit nude photographs from underage women. Girls, I guess. A woman named Simone tweeted out a screenshot of her alleged interactions with Chris, which began a thread of other women sharing their interactions with him as well. The stories are all pretty horrific considering that these girls were all underage at the time that Chris had sent messages to them, and then on top of that, people close to him like Whitney Cummings have even spoken out against him. With the Me Too movement in full force, you'll be hard pressed to have any female actor or anyone for that matter wanting to work alongside him ever again. In at number 9, Danny Masterson. Danny, who is best known for his role as Hyde on That 70s Show, is recently charged with 3 counts of I don't even know if I can say that. The R word. So far, there have been 3 victims that have stepped forward with separate incidents that occurred between 2001 and 2003. All the alleged crimes are believed to have taken place at his home in the Hollywood Hills. If convicted, he's looking at a sentence of 45 years to life in a state prison. For those of you who don't know, Danny is also involved with the Church of Scientology. After the charges were laid against him, Liam Remini took to Twitter with joy that the victims of Scientology were finally being heard. This is most definitely an insinuation that the church had previously covered up what Danny had been doing in order to protect their image. Although we cannot confirm these claims, it does seem like something that they would do. Back in 2017, he was fired from the Netflix show called The Ranch amid these allegations, and he is still denying any of the claims made by these women, but with that much heat on him, it's unlikely that his acting career will ever continue. In number 8, Jeffree Star. Jeffree Star has always been considered a bit of a controversial figure, but when he took over the world of cosmetics, the stakes were even higher. Although he has had plenty of feuds in the past, it was his beef with Laura Lee that became the most dramatic. To make matters worse for his career, Star wore cornrows on one of his Jeffree Star cosmetic campaigns, and the general public was less than amused. Not too long after that, fellow YouTuber Thomas Halbert made a video about racism in the beauty community and alluded to Star's involvement without mentioning his name directly. Jeffree then responded with text messages that he believed would clear his name, but in return Thomas exposed Star for blackmailing his friends, which just completely flipped the table and made it a whole new conversation about the kind of dirt that Jeffree might have on certain people. Apparently he had actually made a compilation video of YouTubers being problematic behind the scenes and would threaten to expose them if things didn't go his way. Well, now things are definitely not going his way, and he's for sure ending up on Hollywood's blacklist.
Next up at number 7 is Fan Bingbing. She is one of China's highest paid stars and was in the Hollywood spotlight in 2014 after she starred in X-Men Days of Future Past. Her face was everywhere and she was walking every red carpet to promote the film, but before we knew it, the media was reporting that she suddenly disappeared. Rumors started and were later confirmed that she was busted for committing tax evasion. The Global Times revealed that Fan reported an income of $1.5 million in a small contract and $7.5 million in a larger contract, which was illegally filed as tax-free income. She was placed in secret detention, which explains why she mysteriously disappeared out of nowhere, but she was eventually released after her company agreed to pay $130 million back in taxes and fines. Once she emerged back in the spotlight, she issued an apology saying, "I am deeply ashamed and guilty about what I have done. My sincere apologies to you."
In at number 6, Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett used to be known as the musician Jamal Lyon on the Fox drama series called Empire. At the start of January, he had gone to the Chicago police to report that he had been assaulted in the early morning hours. He claimed that 2 white men wearing MAGA hats attacked him in the middle of a polar vortex, I should mention that, and uttered racial and homophobic slurs at him. He then claimed that they poured bleach on him and tied a rope around his neck. Although after the police investigated the case, they found that Jussie had actually paid 2 Nigerian American brothers who worked as extras on Empire to help him stage this attack. Near the end of February, he was indicted for disorderly conduct for allegedly paying those brothers to stage the fake hate crime and therefore filing a false police report as a result. This scandal, however, ruined his chances with acting. In June of 2019, it was announced that Smollett would not be returning to the show even after his charges were dropped. Well, they reached a deal with the prosecutors, I should say. He had to pay his $10,000 bond and just do some community service, but he's on that Hollywood blacklist for sure.
Halfway through the list at number 5 is Brendan Fraser. 10 years ago, he was one of Hollywood's biggest stars, but then he suddenly disappeared. For 90s babies like me, you would know him from the Mummy franchise, George of the Jungle, and the Looney Tunes. After 2008, he disappeared from starring in big movie roles, and people started saying it was due to a drug addiction. But he finally came out with the truth years later, admitting that it had to do with an incident of sexual assault. He claimed that he was once physically groped by Philip Burke, a former president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. Burke called the allegation a, I quote, total fabrication, but still sent Brendan an apology letter after the actor complained to the HFPA. Since coming out with his story, he has slowly been returning to some acting roles, but for the most part, he just lays low at his home in New York. He actually bought a big house that overlooks a farm and has spent the last year going back and forth between home and Toronto. He loves spending time with his horses and relaxing down his little dirt road. Definitely a big step back from the Hollywood lifestyle.
In number 4, Chrissy Teigen. Chrissy Teigen has been branded as the queen of cancel culture. She's become well known in the Twitterverse as always taking shots at Trump and siding with far left politics. That being said, no one is perfect and Chrissy Teigen is no exception from this rule of being a human being. Despite being married to John Legend, Chrissy has largely been cast on that new Quibi app that is just leaking money. I mean, they are bleeding money right now. That app is brutal and it's not going to be around for very long. Nonetheless, her reason for being sort of shadow banned or blacklisted from Hollywood flicks could be attributed to the more than 60,000 tweets that she deleted. Seems a little fishy. fishy, doesn't it? I mean, flight logs showed that Chrissy had flown on Epstein's private jet to Little St. James, so as a result, the Twitterati came for her and her past tweets. People on Twitter connected her inappropriate tweets about the show Toddlers and Tiaras to the new evidence that she had visited Epstein's Island. In a bizarre series of tweets from 2011 to 2014, Chrissy tweeted about pizza, going to jail over pizza, and how she really loves watching children, specifically little girls, doing the splits. Really, really deplorable stuff right there. And I hope she's on Hollywood's blacklist.
Alright guys, at number 3 is Margot Kidder. She was a huge star back in 1978 after starring as Lois Lane in the Superman movie, but a missing persons report was filed after she disappeared for 4 days back in April 1996. No one knew what was going on until police found her hiding out in the bushes of a suburban California home. Police say that she was, I quote, dirty, frightened, and paranoid with bruises and scratches all over her body. She ended up being taken to the hospital for a psychiatric evaluation. Once she was discovered, it was reported that she'd actually cut off all of her own hair with a razor blade to try and alter her appearance so that people wouldn't recognize her. She later spoke on the incident, saying that she suffered from manic depression and spent years working on it. Sadly, she did pass away on May 2018 at 69 years old as a result of drug overdose. This one didn't have a happy ending.
In number 2, Nick Cannon. After a recent episode of Nick Cannon's podcast called Cannon's Class, Viacom CBS decided to fire him after he promoted hateful speech and spread anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. In response, Nick said that he doesn't condone hate speech and his words were meant for the oppressive and racist infrastructure in America. Nick Cannon, best known for his marriage to Mariah Carey, also created the show Wild 'N Out. However, that show will be coming to an end after 15 seasons. You can tell that Nick is going to be blacklisted by Hollywood though after Viacom released this statement. While we support ongoing education and dialogue in the fight against bigotry, we are deeply troubled that Nick has failed to acknowledge or apologize for perpetuating anti-Semitism, and we are terminating our relationship with him.
At number 10, Taylor Lautner. Taylor Lautner has been having a rough time lately. He's pretty much disappeared from the media and people want to know what's up. Well, essentially he's been blacklisted from Hollywood because no one really wants to hire him. Since finishing up his time in the Twilight Saga, Taylor hasn't seen very much success. After the franchise ended, Taylor went looking for work, and at first people were ready to offer him some good Hollywood parts, and he was still a big name in the industry after he got so much fame playing his character Jacob Black in the Twilight movies, but soon Hollywood executives realized that he just wasn't the powerhouse that they were expecting. The first few movies he starred in tanked at the box office, and between this and his high asking salary, no one was really keen on taking a chance on the actor. In the years since, he's appeared on some TV shows like Scream Queens, but other than that, we haven't really heard much from him. Taylor has pretty much disappeared into the abyss, and there's no telling whether or not he will ever return. At number 9, Lea Michele. TV and Broadway actress Lea Michele had a tough time last year as she was on the receiving end of a lot of backlash. The criticism she faced last year came from her on-set behavior and the allegation made against her of bullying her co-stars. The first to come forward about Lea's bad attitude was her former Glee co-star Samantha Ware, who responded to her message about George Floyd in the Black Lives Matter movement. Samantha tweeted saying, quote, "Remember when you made my first television gig a living hell? Cause I'll never forget. I believe you told everyone that if you had the opportunity, you would in my wig. Amongst other traumatic microaggressions that made me question a career in Hollywood," end quote. This prompted other people who have worked with her to come forward about their experiences working with Lea, and because of all the backlash she got, she was subsequently dropped by her sponsor HelloFresh because they didn't want to support her past actions and didn't want to align themselves with her. Now Hollywood knows about Lea's poor behavior and will probably disappear from the spotlight soon because of it. Now before I continue on with the video, I'd just like to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video because we would really appreciate your support. At number 8, Hartley Sawyer. After all the scandals we've seen in the past, I'm sure we all know that sometimes your tweets can come back to bite you, and for actor Hartley Sawyer, his past tweets really went to town on him. After some of his past racist, sexist, and plain offensive tweets came to light earlier last year, Hartley was fired from his role as Ralph Dibny on the CW show The Flash. This comes after the Black Lives Matter movement began to gain traction last year, and so in a show of accountability and respect for those he offended, the showrunners released a statement informing fans of the show of their decision to let Hartley go, where they said, quote, "In regards to Mr. Sawyer's post on social media, we do not tolerate derogatory remarks that target any race, ethnicity, national origin, gender, or sexual orientation. Such remarks go against our values and policies, which strive and evolve myself to promote a safe, inclusive, and productive environment for our workplace," end quote. Since being fired from the show, Hartley's career has taken a huge hit since his actions have been brought to light, and he will definitely have a hard time finding work since he's considered blacklisted. We haven't heard much from him since this scandal happened, and that's probably because he's already disappeared.
In at number 7 is Chris Brown. The singer flew into a rage on the set of Good Morning America, so it's not all that surprising that they wouldn't want him back on their show. It was back in 2011 when the singer didn't like the question they asked him, so he decided to walk out during the middle of the on-air interview. But he didn't just walk out gracefully, he left the interview, went backstage, ripped off his shirt like the Hulk, and smashed a studio window. Tell me it's not a coincidence that all of this anger came from a question about his felony assault case against his ex-girlfriend Rihanna. I mean, dude, you're really not helping your case here by trying to show the world that you can control your anger. No offense.
At number 6, Stassi Schroeder. After facing accusations of racist actions, reality star Stassi Schroeder, one of the cast members of the Vanderpump Rules, has been blacklisted from reality TV and has already begun facing the consequences. This all started after Stassi was part of a fake police report that alleged that one of her fellow cast members, Faith Stowers, was guilty of a crime that she didn't commit. Faith, being the only black cast member on the show, was accused of robbing men in LA. Stassi accused Faith of this crime after seeing a picture of the alleged criminal and saying that this person in question looked like Faith because they were both black. Stassi was later removed from the show for her actions, and as a result of her blacklisting and tarnished reputation, her podcast Straight Up was removed from all platforms. Looks like Stassi's already disappearing, and it might not be too long before she's gone for good.
In at number 5, Gilbert Gottfried. With the way Gottfried performs, you would think this rude dude would be a repeat guest on the Howard Stern show. And the funny thing is, no one actually knows why Gilbert was banned from the show in the first place. Some believe that it was from an interaction with Stern's wife, while others think that Howard got sick of having him on. Although Gilbert didn't really seem to care, as you can see from his Instagram post. He also then would team up with fellow band guest Artie Lang to make this video trolling Howard Stern.
Artie and me on with Howard tomorrow. Oh, no. Now, you know what? You can cut.
At number 4, Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry made headlines last year after they announced that they were stepping away from royal duties and would be splitting their time between the US and the UK. Meghan already faced a lot of backlash and scrutiny by the British people and members of the royal family, so in a way she was blacklisted from this society. Her relationship with the royals and her presence in the media, as well as details from her past, made a lot of people hold aggressions towards her. As a result of these circumstances, she and Harry, as well as their son Archie, took a step back from the public eye and their senior duties as members of the royal family. Meghan sort of disappeared from the public as a result, and though this is exactly the outcome that she hoped for, I'm sure it isn't easy being watched the way that she and the rest of the royal family is, so I applaud her for doing what is best for her and her family.
Rolling into our 3rd spot is Chevy Chase. He was once a big star from the original Saturday Night Live cast back in 1975. Actually, he was one of the first, but he is also the first cast member to ever get banned from the show. The good news is his ban came long after he had left the show on his own terms. He left the show after 2 successful years and then returned 8 different times to host Saturday Night Live. During his 8th time hosting though, he got officially banned from ever returning after he hit another cast member in the back of the head. I'm not laughing that he punched someone, I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous. Will Ferrell reported him after he apparently witnessed the physical assault. But over the years, he has gotten on better terms with the creator Lorne Michaels, and although he was banned from hosting, they did allow him back on the show for smaller appearances.
At number 2, Tekashi 6ix9ine. Rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine was seen as a snitch and a snake for a while after testifying against gang members and supportedly throwing people under the bus in order to get a lighter jail sentence. Well, now that he's out and making music again, he's feeling the repercussions of his tattered name in the media, as well as his time behind bars. Tekashi is now saying that he's been blacklisted by the music industry after his new music wasn't promoted on any streaming platforms and wasn't featured in any playlists. After dropping his album Tattletales, he wasn't met with the same praise that he would have expected, and so after realizing that his music has been in a way shadow banned, he disappeared from the spotlight temporarily since his career wasn't doing so well. Tekashi is known for trolling online, so when fans noticed the rapper had gone MIA, they were a little bit concerned, but none more concerned than the rapper himself because he was afraid for his career. He seems to be slowly bouncing back now, but he still has a little ways to go yet before he can really pick up to where he was before his stay in prison. And finally, at number 1, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp had quite the year in 2020 and not in a good way. As you may all know, Johnny and his ex Amber Heard were all over the news last year concerning Johnny's libel case with the Sun publication and their labeling of Johnny as a wife beater. After the verdict, came through on this case, awarding the victory to the son, Johnny started feeling the repercussions of this loss. Though the world found out that Johnny was in fact a victim of violence rather than the one who was inflicting the violence, movie studios and executives still started letting Johnny go regardless. First, he was let go from his role as Grindelwald in the Fantastic Beasts films, and then we learned that he'd been blacklisted from Disney for a while as they refused to cast him in future productions. Now Johnny is susceptible to disappearing from Hollywood because of a loss of work. Though many of his fans are looking to keep his career alive and advocate for him, as far as Hollywood is concerned, he's too much of a risk, so unfortunately it's not looking good for the actor. But I, as well as many others, are optimistic that he will definitely come out on top in the end. At number 10, Bella Thorne. If there's one thing that Disney hates, it's when people talk badly about them. They like keeping their brand as clean, drama-free, and as family-friendly as possible, so when people, especially former stars, come out with their stories about working with Disney and having negative attention thrown their way, Disney does the best that they can to shut that person out and cut ties with them to save them from the drama. This is true for Bella Thorne, as she's done multiple interviews talking about her bad experience working for Disney. Bella has told sources about how they used to force her to speak in a higher pitched voice to seem more cute and wholesome, and she caused some scandal amongst executives when she was a young teenager because she was photographed in a bikini, and Disney wanted to fire her over it. Later on, after leaving Disney after the end of Shake It Up, Bella went on a journey of self-expression, dyeing her hair bright colors, lowering her voice to its natural register, and branching out into more mature acting roles. Disney wanted to distance themselves from her bad press as she began adopting the stereotype of the Disney kid gone bad. And especially after later scandals that she's been in, I'm sure they're definitely thinking, Bella who? At number 9, Johnny Depp. Out of all Disney's movie franchises, Pirates of the Caribbean films were surely amongst its best and most memorable collections. Johnny Depp in the starring role of Captain Jack Sparrow catapulted the films to great heights and defined pirate roles for sure. But after the initial drama between him and his ex-wife Amber Heard back in 2016, Disney started to pull away from the actor after he was labeled as an abuser by the tabloids. This wasn't good press for Johnny, nor was it for Disney, since his name was so firmly attached to the company and its Pirates films. Johnny lost a lot of respect from Hollywood during this time, though now we know that it was unwarranted since the reports that Johnny was an abuser was a lie. Disney actually ended up barring him from ever being part of any future productions, including those from the Pirates of the Caribbean, and have pulled away from the actor for good. Even though 2020 saw the truth come out about Johnny and Amber's situation, this still hasn't changed Disney's mind about the actor, and unfortunately we may never see the company rescind their ban. If you guys are enjoying the list so far, please consider leaving a like on this video or even share it with your friends too. It really helps our channel to grow and we would love your support. At number 8, Lindsay Lohan. There have been a number of former child stars that the media has dubbed child star gone bad, many of them being former Disney stars. When one thinks about these disgraced child stars, one of the first that might pop into your head might be Lindsay Lohan. There was a time when Lindsay was one of the most sought after young actresses in the industry. From starring in films like The Parent Trap, Freaky Friday, and Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, Disney loved Lindsay, and this catapulted her career through her childhood and teenage years. But there came a time when Lindsay sort of burned out and she went down a dark path. Soon she was in the media for misdemeanor arrests, drug charges, substance abuse, rehab, jail sentences, probation, and a number of other unfortunate happenings in her life. Since her time working for Disney, Lindsay has been in her share of scandals, and as we know, Disney does not like scandal. Though she will forever be linked with the company since that's where she got her big break, they will no doubt forego hiring her for anything they're producing because of her tarnished reputation.
In spot number 7 is Kim Burrell. Ellen DeGeneres seems like a pretty accepting person. You would think it would take a lot to get banned from her show. Well, one thing she will not tolerate is homophobic people or homophobic behavior. She was supposed to have gospel singer Kim Burrell on the show, but then she went on Facebook Live and made some homophobic comments. Reports say she was banned from the show before she even went on. Turns out that she was scheduled to go on Ellen's show and promote the film Hidden Figures with Pharrell, but Ellen confirmed that she did not want Kim on the show. She explained what happened and said, her name is Kim Burrell. She made a statement she was doing a Facebook Live and she said some very not nice things about homosexuals. So I didn't feel that it was good of me to have her on the show to give her a platform after she was saying these things about me. Do you agree with Ellen's decision? I want to know. Let me know in the comments. If I was a homosexual, I probably would not want a homophobic person on my show, or someone who makes homophobic comments. Coming up next, number 6 is Milton Berle. To say he is important to television is an understatement. His nickname is literally Mr. Television. Many people say that he is actually the reason people take TV comedy so seriously. He even invented the idea of celebrity roast thanks to his founding of the Friars Club. So having him on to host Saturday Night Live made a lot of sense at the time. The only problem was he wanted to take more control over the episode than the creator Lorne Michaels wanted him to have. Turns out he added some old comedy bits to the sketches totally unannounced and without approval. Reports say he didn't take any directions that he was given and took it upon himself to give directions to the lighting crew and the stagehands. He insisted on using inappropriate jokes and dialogues in his scripts and even arranged a standing ovation from family and friends without warning the producers. Lorne Michaels was obviously not thrilled about this, and he was banned from the show.
Halfway, number 5, Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman turned heads at the 2018 SAG Awards for multiple reasons. Firstly, he wore a black cap on stage while accepting his award, which I'm sure many people with the Academy thought was disrespectful. His friend who presented the award to him, Rita Moreno, even called him out on stage for wearing the hat, with her bluntly telling him to raise his baseball cap so people could see his eyes. And then at the end of his acceptance speech, he criticized the award shows for being gender specific, saying, quote, "I wasn't gonna do this. I'm gonna tell you what's wrong with this statue." He said, "It works from the back, but from the front it's gender specific. Maybe I started something." And obviously it's safe to say award shows do not like to be called out by their winners on stage. And at number 4, Tommy Wiseau. Tommy Wiseau is the larger-than-life star and creator of the movie The Room, which developed a cult following over the years and is well known as one of the worst movies ever made. Years later, James Franco played Wiseau in a Hollywood adaptation of the movie and ended up winning a Golden Globe for his performance. And when Franco went up to accept the award, he decided to call up Wiseau onto the stage to honor his part in the movie's success. But a shockwave was sent through viewers when Franco was giving his award speech, and Wiseau went in to grab the mic, but Franco blocked it and went on to give his speech. Some people found it disrespectful of Franco, however Wiseau is known as a wild card who has said very controversial things in the past, so I'm sure the network was happy that he was not given time on air. And since he has talked badly about the Golden Globes in the past, he will surely not be invited back.
At number 3, Miley Cyrus. Much like High School Musical was my childhood, so was Hannah Montana. Watching Miley Stewart live a double life as a pop star was my jam, but it turns out that it was Miley Cyrus's nightmare. Over the years since leaving Disney, she's been very outspoken about her time on set, as well as being a child star on the Disney Channel and how it really hurt her. In interviews, she's told sources about scandals that she was a part of as a Disney star, like how she got in trouble for taking specific photos because they weren't deemed Disney safe, and how she felt pressured to work through even the toughest moments of her life. As we know, the mouse hates bad press, and so they pulled away from Miley, but when the 2013 Bangers era hit for Miley, they just banned her after that. The Bangers era saw hits like We Can't Stop, Wrecking Ball, and that cringy Dancing with Robin Thicke and that tongue thing that became popular for a short time. On top of that, Miley was caught drinking and doing drugs on stage and being very open about her substance use. Though that era has definitely ended, those things will stick with Miley and Disney will never forget it, hence her ban. At number 2, Stoney Westmoreland. In 2018, Salt Lake City police were conducting an investigation to uncover identities of known predators in the area, and through this investigation, they discovered that former Disney actor Stoney Westmoreland was guilty of luring underage people. The police were able to apprehend the actor by using a fake profile on a dating site, and he was arrested and charged with 6 felony counts. As a result of his arrest and his crimes, he was promptly fired from his role as a grandfather from the Disney Channel series Andy Mack. Disney has since banned him from not only working, but from being broadcast on TV. Reruns of the show, as well as episodes available to viewers on the Disney Plus streaming service, have removed episodes that include Stoney from the roster. Stoney will not be working ever again. At number 1, Shia LaBeouf. Some Disney stars are able to continue having a pretty decent career even after their time working for the company has ended. Even though they may not work for the mouse, sometimes these stars are able to hold their own for the most part. This was seemingly the idea for Shia LaBeouf, since he continued to hold his own in the industry after leaving his role on Even Stevens, but in recent years his trouble with the law and substance abuse has called down the Disney ban hammer, and now he makes the list of those who are unwelcome at Disney. Shia has had multiple run-ins with police, being arrested multiple times over the years, and one of those times resulted in a racism scandal as he hurled racially charged remarks and disrespect towards a black police officer. He has also had scandals involving public intoxication and violence, and his most recent scandal involves his ex-girlfriend FKA Twigs and her lawsuit against him, where she alleges that he abused her during their time that they were together. With all of this bad press, Disney is no doubt wanting to scrub themselves clean of their affiliations with the actor because of his bad place in the media.
Starting off our list at number 10 is Dane Cook. He first made a name for himself through his stand-up comedy, but like most comedians, over time he started to get into acting. He made his first on-screen appearance in the movie Employee of the Month, where he starred alongside blonde bombshell Jessica Simpson. Unfortunately, his first major role was a complete flop, and the movie received 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. He tried to redeem himself when he took on a major role in the movie Good Luck Chuck. The movie also received terrible reviews and got just 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, so even worse than the first one. People were starting to think he should pass on the whole acting thing and just stick to his stand-up comedy. Not only were his movies a flop, but his comedy career also took a hit after he made an inappropriate joke back in 2012 about a mass shooting. He made a joke referencing the shooting that happened in Colorado during the screening of The Dark Knight Rises. The actor later apologized for his jokes, but some people weren't so forgiving on such a sensitive and serious topic. His personal life has also landed him being caught up in another controversy by dating a girl who is only 19 years old. They began dating when she was just 18 years old and he was 45 at the time, and the two of them have continued dating for over a year now. People have had no problem voicing their opinion on the 26-year age gap. Dane is trying to make a comeback through comedy though by doing a comedy tour this year. He admits that he will be sticking to comedy and that acting is in his past. So I guess let's see if he can still make people laugh. At number 9 is Carmen Electra. At age 47, she still remains as one of the world's biggest sex symbols, claiming the title through her work in the iconic Baywatch series and Playboy. Throughout her career, she has done it all. She has a successful acting resume, a modeling portfolio, and also a music career. But over the last handful of years, her career just kinda seemed to fizzle out. After her split with Simon Cowell in 2013, she turned away from films and focused on her musical dreams. Unfortunately, that really didn't take off the way that she had hoped. We haven't seen much of her lately. She is no longer acting on our big screens or landing her songs on the Billboard charts. She did find herself in the spotlight back in January of this year, 2019, but it wasn't for anything that would benefit her career in any way. Turns out she's actually involved in a scandal and is trying to sue 5 Las Vegas strip clubs for using her photos as advertisement without permission or payment. With that being the only type of attention she is getting from the media, her career seems to have come to a dead end. Sliding into the number 8 spot is Rob Schneider. The hilarious actor is well known for his work in mostly comedy films. At one point in time, he was taking on big roles starring in multiple movies next to other big stars like Adam Sandler. In the 1990s and early 2000s, he was basically everywhere in the industry. But nowadays, you don't really see much of him. A lot of people have said that his time just has simply passed. Some even say that the actor was always playing the same comedic role each time, and let's face it, casting directors are probably looking for something fresh and new at this point. It doesn't help that some of his movies received really bad reviews, and he was even sued for one of them. Back in 2010, investors sued him for his straight-to-DVD movie called The Chosen One because they wanted to recoup their investment since the movie didn't do so well. That doesn't really paint a pretty picture for other casting directors wanting to really work with him. It's been a few years since we even saw him on a screen as Rob in the TV series Real Rob. Now his movies are mainly found in the Walmart discount movie bins, but hey, some of them are still funny and I am all about a cheap deal. So who's the real winner here? Next up at number 7 is Abby Lee Miller. You will know her as the very strict dance teacher on the hit TV series Dance Moms. She built her own dance studio in Pittsburgh and created a reality type TV show called Dance Moms, which has now turned into a world sensation. Pretty impressive, we gotta admit. The show blew up and then expanded into Los Angeles, where they continued filming at a new studio there. One of the world's biggest dancers, Maddie Ziegler, was one of Abby's dancers on the show since she was a toddler. So basically she can give all of her dancing skills to Abby. However, out of nowhere, while they were filming the show, we started to see that Abby was in some kind of trouble with the law. Turns out the news headlines weren't just rumors, and Abby was actually arrested for fraud. She was caught hiding $775 worth of money that was income from the show when claiming her taxes. She was sentenced to 1 year in prison, which she was able to get down to just 8 months. After she completed her sentence, she was given 2 years probation and can only live in certain areas approved by her probation officer. Sadly, once out of jail, she was diagnosed with cancer in April 2008 2018 and has faced 10 rounds of chemo and 2 major spine surgeries. Abby is currently in a wheelchair and is learning how to walk all over again. The good news is though, even if Hollywood won't hire her, she can still be her own boss. A brand new season of her reality show Dance Moms is out right now and her true fans are thrilled about it still. At number 6 is Macaulay Culkin. If you're a Home Alone fan, then this one is probably a little bit upsetting for you. The child star had a career that was off to a very strong start. After watching him kill it in the Home Alone series, he did book roles after that, but none that really put him on the map the way Home Alone did. In 2005, he had drug charges against him, which he pleaded guilty to possession of marijuana and medication without a prescription. The 24-year-old at the time was given a 1-year deferred jail sentence and was ordered to pay his fees. This was just a few weeks after he appeared in court to defend the case that was going on against Michael Jackson at the time, who had charges against him. Culkin faced a lot of criticism for defending the man who was being accused young children. Now in 2019, at 38 years old, he still faces the heat defending the recent documentary that came out about the Michael Jackson allegations. Culkin has no problem admitting that he spent a lot of alone time with Jackson, but nothing inappropriate ever took place. He claims that the two of them were just best friends. The two actually remained close friends over the years, and to a point where Culkin is actually the godfather to Michael Jackson's daughter, Paris Jackson. He has stayed out of Hollywood movies for years and has turned to live comedy acts instead, where he often makes jokes about the Michael Jackson allegations. You can imagine these jokes don't really go over too well with some people. Rumor has it though that you can find him in a movie called Changeland, taking on a smaller role of a character named Ian. Could this be another breakthrough moment for him? Do we even care? Let me know what you guys think. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Nikki Blonsky, also known as Tracy Turnblad from Hairspray, where she starred alongside Zac Efron and John Travolta. The fun musical movie came out back in 2008 and put her on the map as a talented actress. After that, you might have watched her in the short-lived ABC Family series Huge, but that is about it. It seemed like she was going to be the next up-and-coming actor, but her high didn't last very long. And to be honest, there's not really much reason for it. It's not like she has been involved in some awful celebrity scandal. She's just struggled to book some roles. Since then, she booked smaller roles here and there, but it wouldn't be enough to support someone as a full-time income. They do not say starving artist for nothing. In 2011, the actress did an interview with E! And said that she works at a shoe store in New York City and was later hired as a cosmetologist at a hair salon. Apparently, she went on to get her cosmetology license and she began working part-time as a hairstylist and makeup artist in between auditions. She's kept a fairly low profile and tweeted out recently that she works these jobs to pay her bills, but she will not lose sight of her dreams. She's still hoping to get another breakthrough moment sometime soon. Here we are at number 4 with Dustin Diamond. The actor has made a name for himself playing Samuel Powers, aka Screech, on the classic TV series Saved by the Bell. In later years, he went into reality television starring on Celebrity Fit Club. The show follows 8 overweight celebrities on their journey to weight loss. However, while on the reality show, they didn't shine him in the brightest of lights. We all know that reality TV has the bad guy or the villain, and he was basically that. But after facing a ton of backlash and criticism, he threw the show under the bus and claimed and admitted that the whole thing was scripted. This is like the one thing you're never supposed to say about reality TV. Like, we know that it's kind of scripted, but like we don't actually want to know that it was scripted. If that wasn't enough, 2 years later in 2009, he wrote a book called Behind the Bell, where he talked about everything behind the scenes throughout his journey on the show Saved by the Bell. He faced a lot of heat for some of the things written in the book, like when he was saying some of the co-stars were often called to the office. The audience took that as a sexual theme, but the actor blamed the editor, saying his words were twisted. So it really just depends if you believe him or not, but it doesn't appear that Hollywood does. He hasn't had any credits to his name in the past few years. In spot number 3 is Taylor Lautner. We all know him as the hunky werewolf Jacob in the Twilight series, but once that came to an end, he had to create a career outside of that role. We were so used to seeing him with his shirt off that seeing him take on any other kind of role was a little bit weird, let's be honest. In 2011, he booked a lead role in the action thriller movie called Abduction, which should have been the next big thing for his career. However, the movie received mixed critics and didn't do as well as they thought it would at the box office. Since then, he hasn't really booked anything that would land him on our big screen again in a franchise like Twilight. He's still booking smaller roles like the 10 episodes as Dr. Cassidy Casade on the TV series Scream Queens, but that was back in 2016. And he also booked Dale on the TV series Cuckoo. But his last TV show ended in 2018 and there's been nothing to his name yet this year. Not really sure what he's up to these days. A lot of people kind of just forgot about him. And by people, I mean me. Alright guys, at number 2 is Logan Paul. He has been one of the most popular YouTubers for some time now, but his YouTube career took a hit when he made headlines in 2018 for a video that caused a lot of controversy. People were pissed. Him and a group of friends were traveling in Japan and they went to the famously known forest. He decided to vlog his journey through the forest where they happened to actually come across a on their hike. In the video you can see Logan and his friends react to the dead body, which is actually shown on camera. Not only was showing the dead body disrespectful, but they also started laughing and making uncomfortable jokes about it. He posted the video and titled it, "We found a dead body in the Japanese." During the video, Logan says, I quote, "I think this definitely marks a moment in YouTube history because I'm pretty sure this has never happened to anyone on YouTube ever." Fans were outraged and so were other celebrities who all bashed his names, calling him disgusting and saying he is a horrible influence on his young fan base and viewers. He was dropped by Google's preferred ad program that enables companies to sell ads on the top 5% of YouTube's most popular creators. He told The Hollywood Reporter that it cost him over $5 million. Since then, there are a number of brands and companies that refuse to work with him. Luckily, he is successful enough that he has gone on to fund and create his own podcast, Impulsive, which is actually a huge hit. Take our number 1 spot is Steven Seagal. Back in the early 1990s, he was one of the top box office attractions when it came to Hollywood movies. He was also a martial arts action figure, which is pretty freaking cool. He's mostly known for his early career with movies like Above the Law and Under Siege, killing it at the box office with his 6'5" muscular frame and good looks. He was the leading man in action adventure movies at the time. But over time his career started sinking and it seemed like audiences were just kind of getting bored with his limited acting abilities. Not only did his acting career take a hit, but in more recent years so did his personal life and reputation. Last year in 2018 he was accused of sexual assault and rape by 2 different females. In January a report was made by actress Regina Simons who claimed that when she was 18 she was an extra on his 1994 movie On Deadly Ground when he allegedly raped her. Another former model named Fabiola Datis came forward after saying that he groped her during an audition back in 2002. His attorney made a statement saying that the claims were completely made up, but that didn't stop people from having their own opinions about it. The 2002 case was dropped because apparently the evidence didn't meet the requirements. He still denies everything from the 1994 case and has walked out of interviews when asked about it. He is still trying to remain in the acting world by booking smaller roles in anything that he can pretty much get his hands on, which just is not much.
In at number 10, Martin Lawrence. On February 19, 1994, comedian Martin Lawrence was hosting Saturday Night Live. However, unbeknownst to the writers, he had adjusted his opening monologue a bit. As Lawrence went on about feminine hygiene in some very descriptive ways, Lorne Michaels was absolutely fuming. Following that live audible made by Martin, the monologue was then removed from all repeats and replaced with a voiceover instead. He was banned from ever hosting again, and Lorne would make sure that Martin would never even appear on the show, nor have his name mentioned by the cast. So essentially, Martin Lawrence is the Voldemort of Saturday Night Live. In at number 9, the Kardashians. Minutes after Khloe Kardashian tweeted this out, "I love Anderson Cooper, #SilverFox." Cooper said that if he could ban any guest, it would be the entire Kardashian family. While on Andy Cohen's show, Watch What Happens Live, Cohen and Cooper played a game called Plead the Fifth. The question posed to Anderson was, name one person you would ban from your show forever, and as I mentioned, the Kardashians were thrown quickly under the bus. Although Cooper said that it was all in good fun, we still have yet to actually see any of them appear on his show. Not that they have any political opinions they need to be spewing. In at number 8, Hugh Grant. While some accents may sound charming, Hugh Grant's personality canceled out any of that for Jon Stewart at The Daily Show. After appearing on the show, Jon Stewart said he was banning Grant for being a big pain in the ass. Stewart continued saying that he would never grant him back on the show, unintended. During an onstage Q&A, John remarked that they've had dictators on the show, but Hugh Grant was still his least favorite guest. Apparently, Hugh spent most of the day just complaining that he had to be there and even flat out said that he had better things to be doing, for which the staff of The Daily Show didn't really care to hear, nor did Stewart. So thanks to his high maintenance attitude, he was banned from the show with 0 apologies.
At number 7, Lori Loughlin. Actress Lori Loughlin is known for her roles on Full House and Fuller House, but now she's known as yet another celebrity who's been blacklisted from Hollywood. Lori was involved in a college admissions scandal where she bribed college recruiters in order to get her daughter Olivia Jade into a good college. Well, after investigations unfolded and court proceedings went on, Lori was subsequently sentenced to 2 months in jail for her crimes. For a few months, she disappeared from Hollywood and the news as she spent her time behind bars. She began her sentence in late October, whereas her husband was sentenced to 5 months in jail. Now, coming out of the scandal, Lori will be hard-pressed to find work ever again. We already got a taste of Lori disappearing for a while serving her time, so I'm sure she'll stay gone from Hollywood for the foreseeable future.
In at number 6, Vince Vaughn. While promoting his new movie The Dilemma, they played a trailer on Ellen to promote the movie, and in the trailer was this line.
Ladies and gentlemen, electric cars, they're totally gay.
Yeah, he said that on Ellen, live. You gotta imagine the network executives were sweating when that aired. For a long time, Vaughn was banned from ever appearing on the show again. However, after many years had passed and probably a few phone calls apologizing, the pair have made amends, and he did come back on 7 years later.
Halfway through at number 5 is Kelsey Grammer. It appears as though Piers Morgan might throw bands around like it's no big deal, or maybe he's just a really hard guy to please. He slapped a lifetime ban on the Frasier actor after he appeared on Piers Morgan Live. What happened was, during his appearance, the network showed a photograph of his ex-wife, Camille Grammer, after they promised that the subject of his relationship would not be discussed on air. He responded to the photos by walking off set before he even made his full appearance. So they gave him a lifetime ban. Some people said it was a dramatic reaction, while others say the ban was a little over dramatic. So, what do you guys think? Which was the dramatic part? The reaction to the photos or the lifetime ban?
In at number 4, Jay Leno. Believe it or not, for our next celebrity live TV ban, there's a Wikipedia page for it. It's called the 2010 Tonight Show Conflict, and man, oh man, is it jam-packed with late-night talk show drama. Jay Leno had been the host of The Tonight Show since 1992, and Conan had hosted Late Night since 1993. Both shows had excellent ratings, but when Conan's contract was ending, NBC promised him that they would make O'Brien the host of The Tonight Show, which was huge because it was in a much better time slot, and it's obviously a dream for most talk show hosts to do that. However, they neglected to tell Leno about any of this. So when Jay's contract ended, they shifted Conan into The Tonight Show spot, and Jay ended up going before primetime news. Unfortunately, both shows started to tank in the ratings, causing the networks to get nervous. After watching their views decline, they panic and ask the host to switch back. Leno was for it, Conan O'Brien, not so much. He instead took another offer and started his own show simply called Conan. And the first rule he put in order, Jay Leno was banned.
At number 3, Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson has been blacklisted in Hollywood for a while now because of his racist and anti-Semitic remarks, as well as other allegations of misconduct that he's faced. Mel has mostly been out of the Hollywood spotlight in recent years, but last year he faced more allegations of discrimination by actress Winona Ryder. She spoke out in an interview about an encounter that she had with him where he called her a, quote, oven dodger, and made more insensitive remarks. In the interview, she went into more detail about some of the offensive things that Mel has said in regards to the LGBT community and people of Jewish faith. This prompted Mel to get cancelled again, though it really didn't make much difference since he's already so hated in Hollywood. These allegations are really nothing new for Mel, and so he stayed away from the spotlight, but I'm sure he won't be coming back because things like this just keep on happening.
In at number 2, Joan Rivers. The late great Joan Rivers was always a recurring and outstanding guest on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. His show was without a doubt what launched her career, and the two bonded over the years, with Rivers even getting the coveted spot on the couch next to Carson. However, when Joan was approached by several big television networks to start her own show, she did so without telling Johnny Carson. Many other guests had followed a similar trajectory, but each had asked for Johnny's blessing. Putting that on a shirt, they asked for Johnny Carson's approval, essentially. Johnny was devastated when Joan did this without telling him, namely because her show ran opposite him as competition. Carson then had NBC ban Joan Rivers from ever appearing on the show again, a rule that both Jay Leno and Conan O'Brien adhered to well after Johnny had passed away. Last but not least, in our number 1 spot, Kathy Griffin. Although the photo shoot had nothing to do with the live-to-air show, Kathy Griffin was blacklisted hard when this photo appeared online. In 2017, the comedian became a magnet for controversy after posting a photo of herself holding a ketchup-covered head that looked eerily similar to Donald Trump. I suppose the networks were frightened of this PR disaster, and so Leno, Conan, Ellen, The View, Live with Regis and Kelly, The Today Show, and Letterman all banned Kathy Griffin from coming on live TV. CNN would also go on to announce that they relieved Griffin of her New Year's Eve coverage duties, a job that she had with the network for close to a decade. President Donald Trump even responded to the graphic imagery when he tweeted this out. Kathy Griffin should be ashamed of herself. My children, especially my 11-year-old son, Barron, are having a hard time with this. sick. Griffin did end up apologizing and said that even as a comedian, she knows that she crossed the line, adding, "The image is too disturbing. I understand how it offends people. It was not funny. I get it."
Starting us off at number 10 is Steven Seagal. If you thought he was the type of guy who wouldn't share his negative opinions about a topic, then you thought wrong. He likes to express these emotions through humor, but one time his jokes did not win him laughs. They actually got him banned from Saturday Night Live. Back in 1991, he hosted the show and received some pretty harsh ratings for his appearance. His jokes rubbed people the wrong way, but apparently there was also reports that he was just difficult to work with. Some crew members said they disliked working with him and that he was the worst host to ever appear on the show. So the actor and martial arts guru got banned from the show altogether. Moving on to number 9, we got Vince Vaughn. Many people would say that he's a great actor, but rumor has it there are less charming things about him when he is not on our screens. Everyone is allowed their own opinion, and apparently the actor made it clear that he doesn't really approve of gay marriage and same-gender relationships in general. And he revealed some of these comments while doing an interview on the Ellen DeGeneres show. As you know, Ellen is happily married to another woman and is a huge influence in the LGBTQ community. Now, there's been no confirmation from the source herself, but reports were made saying that after the interview, he was banned from returning to her show for a few years. Climbing into our number 8 spot is Gary Busey. He's a man full of talent, but his erratic behavior does not always sit well with others ever since his tragic motorcycle accident that ended with severe brain damage back in 1988. Throughout different interviews, he's shown fans that he has multiple personalities, which some people might get a kick out of, but Howard Stern is not one of those people. Gary got banned from the Howard Stern show after one of his interviews where he displayed this wild and bizarre behavior. He picked up Howard's co-host in this weird bear hug stunt, and he also wrestled Howard himself to the floor. Like in the middle of the interview. Just like put him on the floor. Howard has said he felt some guilt banning him from returning to his show, but admits that he just simply cannot handle it.
In at number 7, Howie Mandel. Now you'd think because these two were co-hosts on the show America's Got Talent that they would have bonded a little bit, but nope. In fact, they probably would have liked each other more if they had never even met. During an interview with Billy Bush and Kit Hoover on Access Hollywood, Pierce said, "I actually want to torture and dismember Howie. He is without a doubt the most annoying man in the history of planet Earth." Those are some harsh words, and after Howie pranked Pierce one too many times, he outright banned Mandel from ever appearing as a guest on his independent live shows.
Cruising into number 6 is Heather Mills. This one runs a lot deeper than just having bad behavior or a bad first impression. She was banned from the Piers Morgan show because she cheated on her husband. You're probably wondering why he would care about her love life so much. Well, her husband is actually his best friend. So you can imagine that would put him in an uncomfortable situation with having her on the show for interviews. So reports say after she cheated on his best friend, he banned her from being a guest on his show. Apparently, he's made some comments about the situation and said that she's just another, I quote, gold digger chasing wealthy gentlemen.
At number 5, Jussie Smollett. Former Empire actor Jussie Smollett has been in some hot water for a while following his scandal after he was caught making false police statements about an alleged hate crime against him. In January 2019, Jussie, who was openly gay, claimed that he was attacked by a group of people wearing masks who put a noose around his neck and shouted, "This is MAGA country." Well, after a police investigation ensued, they found that the claim was fake and that Jussie did all of this because he was unhappy about his salary from Empire. The charges against him for making a false report were eventually dropped, but similar charges emerged last year, and Jussie was indicted. As a result of the scandal and his crimes, Jussie was fired from Empire and has struggled to make things work for him in the industry since then. There was even a call to blacklist him from the entire industry, but maybe that formality isn't necessary since no one wants to work with him right now over fears of bad publicity.
Moving along to number 4, we have Piers Morgan. Yes, the roles have reversed. He throws around these bans on other celebrities, but he himself got one from Rosie O'Donnell. Now, the two of them don't actually have any beef with each other. Rosie banned him from the talk show, The Rosie Show, out of loyalty to one of her friendships. Turns out she's a good friend to Madonna, who got banned from Piers Morgan Live. I shared that story in our part 1 video. And since they are good friends, Rosie lashed back at Piers after finding out that Madonna got banned from his show and said that she was gonna ban him from hers.
In at number 3, Steven Seagal. Back in 1991, Steven Seagal wasn't chomping on carrots and using too much Just for Men in his beard. He was a big action star. So needless to say, most people were excited to see him hosting Saturday Night Live. Unfortunately, the cast found him extremely difficult to work with. Norm Macdonald even said that he told them he didn't want to be in any of the sketches, which is typically something that every host just does. He did eventually oblige their request, but the cast was so fed up with him that they almost did the show with no host at all. Seagal was then banned by Lorne Michaels immediately after for being, as he so eloquently put it, the worst host ever. In fact, in 2014, Michaels told New York Magazine that when Nicolas Cage was hosting, he worried that he wasn't doing well and said during his monologue that he hopes he wasn't the worst host ever. Without missing a beat, Lorne walked on stage to reassure him that no, that was Steve Seagal.
Taking over our number 2 spot is Martin Lawrence. It seems like NBC has no problem banning celebrity talent from Saturday Night Live if they are not pleased with their experience. Even the hilarious actor-comedian was banned from the network after he used inappropriate language that they said could risk the show's ratings. In his open monologue back in 1994, he made a reference to the female genitalia and also said some curse words, both things that were obviously not in the original script. He was banned from the show, and fortunately for the network, the inappropriate monologue was edited in a way so that they could take some of that out, so it didn't damage the ratings all that much, but some of it was still left in. Earning the number 1 spot on our list is Bobcat Goldthwait. This one takes the cake. It's honestly pretty crazy, and I'm surprised I didn't know about it before researching for my list. Back in 1994, the comedian went on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and during the interview, he got infuriated when he heard that the Arsenio Hall show was being cancelled. But he took his anger to a whole different level, and during the middle of the interview, he stood up, took out some lighter fluid, soaked his interview chair, and set the chair on fire. Maybe just the slightest bit dramatic, but to no surprise, he was banned appearing on the show ever again. He actually got fined, and he was forced to make a public service announcement in regards to fire safety.
And at number 10, we have Caitlyn Jenner. If you watched the last interview Ellen did with Caitlyn shortly after her transition, you definitely know why Ellen will not be having her back on the show. And apparently Ellen actually told Caitlyn that she was blacklisted. In her memoir, The Secrets of My Life, Caitlyn took the time to call out Ellen specifically for, quote, alienating her from the LGBTQ community by not allowing Caitlyn to come on her show. But it seems Caitlyn alienated herself from the community after her 2015 Ellen interview. In that interview, Ellen asked about Caitlyn's stance on gay marriage. She replied, quote, I have to admit that I remember 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whenever it was that whole gay marriage issue came up, I was not for it. But Caitlyn added later, quote, if that word marriage is important to you, I can go with it. But Caitlyn still seemed apprehensive in her support of same-sex marriage and was pressed by Ellen on the issue. And at number 9, Leah Thompson. Leah Thompson, best known for her roles in the Back to the Future franchise, publicly agreed with Brad Garrett's sentiments on Ellen. On July 31st, after Garrett had made his statements against Ellen, People magazine wrote an article about it. Thompson then replied to a tweet about that article and simply added on, quote, true story, it is. And this tweet is actually still up, and the replies are all agreeing that Ellen is definitely not what she seems, with many saying they always felt Ellen was two-faced. And at number 8, Nikki DeJagger. Nikki DeJagger, aka Nikki Tutorials, famously appeared on The Ellen Show after her coming out video went viral on YouTube. But although she said it was an honor to be on The Ellen Show, Nikki admitted later in a Dutch television interview the experience wasn't what she thought it would be. Sebastian Williams found that clip and translated it. And our girl Nikki spilled some serious tea and really did not hold back. She called Ellen distant and cold, saying Ellen didn't even come and say hi before the show. Nikki even said in another interview that Ellen did not let her use the bathroom. Apparently the Jonas Brothers were on the show the same day and Ellen didn't have enough for everyone. And after exposing Ellen like that, obviously she will not be asked on the show again. And at number 7, Brad Garrett. The Everybody Loves Raymond star called out Ellen in a tweet in the midst of her scandal. He wrote on Twitter that her behavior was not a shock to him, or anyone else in the industry for that matter. He replied to a tweet about the Ellen scandal and added, quote, sorry but it comes from the top at The Ellen Show. No more than one who were treated horribly by her. Common knowledge. DeGeneres sends emotional apology to Staff Variety. Garrett had appeared on the show multiple times before he made his statements, so we know whatever you heard was definitely true. However, since he was one of the few celebrities that publicly called out Ellen, I would assume that he will not be asked back, but considering his statements, it seems like he probably didn't want to be anyway. And at number 6, Sherri Shepherd. The former The View panelist is allegedly blacklisted from Ellen's show because of comments she made on The View that were against same-sex marriage.
A source close to the situation said, quote, "When Sherry was on The View, she used to get booked on The Ellen Show all the time. After she came out on The View taking a stance against gay marriage, The Ellen Show refused to book Sherry. Adding a reason was never given, but it was easy to put it together." The source added that Ellen is a hypocrite. Quote, "She said she can be friends with people who have different views from hers, yet she won't give those people her platform and block them from appearing on her show." Halfway number 5, Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn was allegedly banned from being on the show for a short time, but they were able to work out their issues, and Vince is now on the show from time to time. The blacklisting took place after Vaughn made a joke about being gay in the trailer of the 2011 film The Dilemma. Ellen refused to have Vaughn on the show after Anderson Cooper came on and expressed his anger towards that joke. However, everyone was able to make amends later on. But some people think it's not true that he was ever actually banned, that he simply just had no movies to promote during that time. I'll let you guys be the judge. And at number 4, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin has beef with a lot of people, and unsurprisingly, Ellen is one of them. Sources say that Ellen didn't allow Katie to come on the show because of their feud. According to Griffin, it all started when Ellen opened her show with a monologue about how, quote, mean Griffin could be. Apparently Griffin heard it from her dressing room and said, quote, "I was in the dressing room like, you're another woman comic, come on." Apparently they also butted heads over Joan Rivers. Kathy was a huge fan while Ellen was not. Griffin exposed later how she was banned from the show, but Ellen replied in W Magazine saying, quote, "She did a whole thing that I banned her from the show. I didn't ban her from the show, because first you have to be on the show to be banned." Ouch. And at number 3, Kim Burnell. Gospel singer Kim Burnell was set to appear on The Ellen Show with Pharrell to promote their collaboration. But Ellen banned her before that because she had made homophobic comments in the past. Ellen commented on the situation, saying, quote, "She made a statement she was doing a Facebook Live and she said some very not nice things about gay people. So I didn't feel that it was good of me to have her on the show to give her a platform after she was saying things about me." Pharrell commented that he disagreed with the statements Pharrell made, but said that we should all love each other regardless. Even adding that, quote, "Sometimes the divisive stuff works in life." And at number 2, Neil Breen. Neil Breen is an Australian radio host who has a popular radio show called 4BC Breakfast. And while the reports about Ellen were surfacing, he decided to speak about his experience with her. And spoiler alert, it was not good. He says he met Ellen in 2013 while he was a producer on the Australian Today Show, as his team was doing a sit-down interview with her. Breen exposed that he received a very detailed set of rules on how to guide the interview and how to act around her. He said that her team basically took over the whole interview and controlled practically every aspect of it. Allegedly, one of her producers even said, quote, "You don't talk to Ellen, you don't approach her, you don't look at her." He was never able to have an interaction with Ellen herself, but added, quote, "The people who worked with Ellen walked on eggshells the whole time." And in at number 1, Dakota Johnson. I doubt that Dakota will actually be blacklisted from Ellen's show because Dakota is a successful actress that will need to promote her movies on the show. However, considering Ellen's spat with Dakota on her show is really what started Ellen's downfall in the first place, she will probably avoid it as long as possible. The spat between them, of course, was about Dakota's birthday party. Basically, Ellen called Dakota out for not inviting her to the party, but Dakota clapped back that she actually did invite Ellen. She later awkwardly called Tig Notaro her favorite comedian, which was kind of a dig to Ellen. And there's also this gem of a quote from the interview where Dakota flat out says, quote, "I didn't even know you liked me," to Ellen. Honestly, I still cannot watch this interview without cringing.
Starting off our list at number 10 is Roseanne Barr. The actress and comedian is known for her work, but also known for being a supporter of Donald Trump being president. Other Trump fans will back her up, but she has been one of Hollywood's most controversial figures who went one step too far back in May 2018 when she sent out some racist tweets. Her tweets were about Valerie Jarrett, a senior advisor to the former president Barack Obama. In her tweet, she compared Valerie to a cross between the Muslim Brotherhood and the movie Planet of the Apes. After seeing the backlash she received for the racist tweet, it was immediately deleted and she issued an apology. However, it was already way too late for that, and she was just trying to save her career. ABC canceled her show called Roseanne, which was supposed to reboot the same day. ABC's president called Roseanne's tweets, and I quote, "abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values." Since then, as of January of this year, 2019, her Twitter was off limits and she moved into her mother's basement in order to get out of LA. She said she has a fear that everyone hates her and she blames ABC for ruining her life rather than having her back. Apparently her tweet was just a joke, she's a comedian, but Hollywood's blacklist isn't seeing it the same way. At number 9 is Martin Lawrence. The comedian hasn't been completely blacklisted from all of Hollywood, but he has been banned from one of the most popular comedy shows on television, SNL. You can imagine what kind of damage that would do to a comedian's career, and you can also imagine what he had to have done to be completely banned from the show. Apparently back in 1994 when he hosted SNL, he decided to go a little bit off topic in his opening monologue. We don't know what he originally had planned, but we are all still hoping it wasn't what actually came out of his mouth. In his monologue, he went on a rant making disgusting remarks about the importance of female hygiene. I can't go into too much detail with this one, but let's just say he went as far as bringing up the term douching. His hosting gig was so brutal that the comedian was banned for life, and he still remains at the top of their blacklist. Swiping the number 8 spot on our list is Katherine Heigl. It's been 11 years since the actress's career crumbled, or as she described it, her career betrayed her. In 2008, her career was at its peak, starring in rom-coms like 27 Dresses, which proved she was a very bankable movie star. But at the time, she was also making headlines for her work on the hit TV series Grey's Anatomy, where she took on the role of Dr. Stevens for 5 years. She was described in the media as being difficult because she made statements saying she was withdrawing herself from the 2008 Emmy Awards since she didn't consider the show worthy. In her statement, she said that the Grey's Anatomy material that Shonda Rhimes had given her wasn't enough, I quote, to warrant an Emmy nomination. She got a lot of backlash for her comments and found herself on the blacklist. She stopped booking major roles for years to come, but luckily has found herself as a working actress again, even if they aren't like the big movies that she was once making. Many companies in the industry will no longer work with her, and she tried to defend herself almost a decade later. Back in 2016, she went on the Howard Stern show to discuss what actually happened and explain that she didn't feel good about her own performance and didn't mean for it to come out as an attack on the show. Reports were made that she wanted out of the contract on multiple occasions, and she ended up leaving the show in 2010 due to her feelings being hurt. Taking over our number 7 spot is Kirk Cameron. The actor got introduced into Hollywood at a very young age. He was known to be a child star, appearing in many different TV shows and films at the time. He is mostly known for his role in the sitcom Growing Pains, which he starred in for 7 seasons, but also starred in movies like Listen to Me and Like Father Like Son. However, his personal life began to affect his career because of his religious Christian views. He speaks all day long about his beliefs towards religion, homosexuals, culture, and more, which has landed him on Hollywood's blacklist. His religious views erupted everywhere from Twitter to his CNN interview with Piers Morgan, where he spoke about homosexuality, saying that it was unnatural and destructive. His comments have kept him from Prime TV, and his personal documentary called Unstoppable was banned from both Facebook and YouTube, and we haven't seen him in anything for years. And at number 6 is Monique. The actress and comedian first gained popularity for her stand-up shows and for playing Nikki Parker in the UPN series The Parkers, which ran from 1999 to 2004. However, her biggest break came in 2009 when she played the abusive mother in Lee Daniels' film Precious. She earned tons of critical praise and even an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. After her big win, her resume has slumped, and she says it is because of how she handled the 2010 Oscar campaign for the movie Precious. She said that the director called her saying that Hollywood blackballed her because she didn't play the game. He confirmed this in an interview by saying, I quote, "Her demands through Precious were not always in line with the campaign. This soured her relationship with the Hollywood community." The actress said she was blacklisted by powerful people because she didn't want to campaign for the movie without receiving additional pay. Fast forward to 2018, Monique stirred the pot by urging her fans to boycott Netflix for gender and racial bias, saying that they offered her a low-balling $500,000 for a comedy special, which is significantly less than the millions that Amy Schumer and other male comedians made, such as Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle. Honestly, at this point, we're all kind of just waiting to see whose list she ends up on next. Halfway through at number 5 is Natalie Maines, also known as 1/3 of the Dixie Chicks band. The musician took her political views a bit too far when she decided to bash the President of the United States at the time, President Bush. While performing a concert in London, she went on a rant about his plans for the war in Iraq, which caused an outburst of rage and a ton of backlash on her career. Following her concert rant, country stations across the US decided to pull their songs from the their playlist after calls from listeners came in and said that their political views weren't patriotic. Not only did they pull songs, but they also banned future songs from playing on their stations. Other country artists even got involved, like Reba McEntire and Toby Keith, who spoke out against the band. Keith and Natalie actually publicly bashed each other and their music to the media. This completely ended their careers, and they began to receive death threats and other threats of physical harm. In 2016, Natalie admits that them making a return to mainstream country music is highly unlikely. She said, I quote, "I feel like we are all tainted. I don't know if we put a tour up if people would come. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like all that backlash was just a little unnecessary. I mean, everyone has their opinions about the president no matter who it is." Here we are at number 4 with Brendan Fraser. He is best known for his roles in Bedazzled and The Mummy. He was once a very popular actor that many fans adored, but during the 2000s his career started to fade out and a lot of people were wondering why. Just last year, Brendan opened up to GQ for an exclusive interview talking about what has happened over all of his absent years. He opened up about depression after his mother's death, which led to an unhealthy lifestyle and weight gain. It wasn't until this interview that he opened up about a sexual assault incident he faced with the former HFPA president Philip Burke back in 2003. He said he held it in for all of these years but felt inspired by the current Me Too movement that is going on right now. Brendan said that the HFPA has never invited him back to the Golden Globes ever since the incident surfaced. He also says no major productions are willing to hire him either. He has no problem admitting that he has found himself blacklisted in Hollywood, but also wants to voice that the reasoning is incredibly wrong and unfair. He is still booking whatever roles he can, like some episodes on the TV series The Professionals and Doom Patrol. Alright guys, at number 3 is Stacey Dash. The actress and talk show host rose to fame after her role in Clueless and on the Fox News show Outnumbered. Nowadays she is mostly known for her very controversial views. Go figure. Back in 2008, the actress openly voted for Barack Obama for president, but then somehow made a big shift in her views between 2008 to 2012. Which is fine, everyone has the right to their political views, but she just went a little too far when she started calling for an end to Black History Month. In her statement to get rid of Black History Month, she explained why, saying, and I quote, "We're Americans, period. That's it." People were completely outraged, mainly because this comment was followed by many other outrageous and offensive comments from the actress, like speaking on the topic of transgendered people. She ended up getting fired from Fox News and since then has not been able to book any big roles because she just can't seem to keep her opinions to herself. At number 2 is Isaiah Washington, the actor who is known for his role on the famous TV show Grey's Anatomy. He found himself on Hollywood's blacklist after he made some homophobic comments at the 2007 Golden Globe Awards. This is what made his career come crashing down because he was already on thin ice for insulting his co-star TR Knight with homophobic language just a year earlier. Clearly a lesson not learned. After the incident at the Golden Globes, he was put in executive counseling, but not too long into it, Grey's Anatomy decided that he was going to be fired and his contract would not be renewed. After being fired, the actor was asked about it and his response was, I quote, "After the incident at the Golden Globes, everything just fell apart. I lost everything. I couldn't afford to have an agent, I couldn't afford to have a publicist, I couldn't afford to continue." The former television star has found a way to continue on by starring in B-list movies and any projects that he can still get his hands on. Taking the number 1 spot on our list is Mel Gibson, because how could he not be? There was a time when Mel Gibson's career was in its prime when he starred in the Lethal Weapon franchise and Braveheart, but it seems like his time in big movies like those have come to an end. He is a solid example that one wrong move can take a person down, although he has had a few wrong moves. They all started back in 2006 when Gibson was arrested for a DUI in Malibu, California. The actor at the time said, I quote, "I was loaded and angry and arrested. I guess I'm not allowed to have a nervous breakdown ever." Oh come on Mel, that's not true. We let you have another one in 2010. Who could forget his horrific fall from grace in 2010 when a series of taped phone conversations between him and his then girlfriend were released. You could hear the actor verbally attacking her with profanity, threats, and racial slurs. For example, he called her an effing pig in heat and told her that he hopes she gets raped. When doing interviews about the phone meltdown, he had no problem continuing to offend people based on race, sexual orientation, gender, and immigration status. Hollywood began to lose respect for the actor, and so did his fans. He has continued to book some smaller films, and he even finances and produces his own movies, but it's been a long time since we've seen him star in a big Hollywood hit. Don't get me me wrong, he's probably incredibly well off at this point, but it would have been nice to end things with Hollywood on better terms.
And at number 10, Rage Against the Machine. The band Rage Against the Machine was banned from SNL after they performed in 1996, which, fun fact, is the year that I was born. And probably a big part of why was because they decided to pair the band with billionaire and former presidential candidate Steve Forbes. And having an extremely wealthy businessman perform with an anti-capitalist band probably isn't a recipe for success. And the band decided to rebel against Forbes and make their anti-capitalist stance known by hanging American flags upside down on the stage. But after a spectacle like that, they were promptly kicked off the show. Right after they finished the set, producers told the band to leave the premises, no second song. And at number 9, Steven Seagal. Actor Steven Seagal was banned off SNL in 1991. He didn't do anything bad on live TV, which is good, but he just had an all-around bad vibe that the cast did not want to have to deal with ever again. Sources with the show said that his ideas were not only not funny, but he didn't get what made other sketches work. And instead of getting help with his sketches and leaning on the pros, he decided to get nasty instead. Former cast member Tim Meadows explained, quote, "He just wasn't funny and was very critical of the cast and the writing staff. He didn't realize that you can't tell someone they're stupid on Wednesday and expect them to continue writing for you on Saturday." And obviously getting on the bad side of the people that are supposed to help you be funny and look good on TV is a terrible idea, and hopefully he learned his lesson. And at number 8, Robert Blake. Robert Blake was banned off SNL in 1982, apparently because the star was a menace on set and started drama with tons of the cast members. At one point, he even allegedly assaulted a writer. Former writer Dave Sheffield remembers the incident, and when talking about the worst host, he said, quote, "My vote for worst host is Robert Blake. He was sitting in a room and a sketch was handed to him by Gary Kroeger, who was a writer and actor. It was a sketch called Breezy Philosopher, a one-premise sketch about a lofty teacher who's kind of a biker tough guy talking about Kierkegaard. Students kept asking questions while he combed his hair, and he'd say, quote, 'Hey, I don't know.' Blake sat there and read that with his glasses down his nose, then crumpled it up, turned to Kroeger and said, 'I hope you got a tough a-hole, pal, because you're gonna have to wipe your ass with that one,' and then threw it off Gary's face." So a very interesting story that basically just proves that he was not very good to work with. And at number 7, Fear. The band Fear was banned in 1981. The only reason the band was even given the honor to perform on SNL was because former cast member John Belushi lobbied for the band to be on the show. And although Lorne Michaels was reluctant, the band was able to get a spot. One big reason was because Belushi promised to appear in a small role in the episode as an extra incentive. But after their performance, the extra incentives were definitely not worth it. The band decided to bring along a bunch of slam dancers that caused so much damage to the set, was estimated to cost around $200,000 to fix it all. And I doubt John Belushi had much say at SNL after that incident. And at number 6, Milton Berle. Milton Berle was banned off the show in 1979, and the reason for this was because he was incredibly entitled and acted better than the show itself, which is never a good vibe for a collaborative environment. Apparently when he pitched a sketch, he told the cast, quote, "Now this might go over your heads," and things, didn't get any better on air. He tried to take all the camera time he could, shamelessly plugged his own products, and made his groupies lead a standing ovation. One of the show's writers, Rosie Schuster, described the rehearsal for the Berle SNL show and the telecast as, quote, "watching a comedy train accident in slow motion on a loop." Yikes!
At number 5, Armie Hammer. Do you guys remember the 2013 film The Lone Ranger? You probably don't. That's because it was a Disney flop, and it's actually one of its worst grossing films ever, as it barely made back enough money to cover their over $200 million movie budget. When the movie tanked, the blame was being shifted around, and some landed on the film's star, Armie Hammer. As the Lone Ranger himself, his performance was given the blame for how poorly the film had done. Since the movie tanked so badly, Disney never really took a chance on him again, but even if he was still in their good books, he certainly has been removed from them now. Armie has now been caught in a new scandal involving leaked DMs that paint him as something of a cannibal? The messages that have been leaked to the internet include him saying that he wants to take a bite out of his partner and wants to drink their blood. Reports came out recently that one of his ex-girlfriends said that Armie once carved an A into her flesh, adding to the disturbing reports surrounding Armie. Disney must have issued a ban for him now, just in case there was ever a possibility for a Lone Ranger sequel. At number 4, Zac Efron. I want to know just how many people watching this have seen the High School Musical movies. I lived off those. They were my entire childhood, and Zac Efron was very present in my life as his face decorated many a school bag or t-shirt. Zac was Disney's golden boy because of the success of the High School Musical movies and everything that came with it. They really milked every last drop of Disney magic out of that guy, and after the films wrapped, Zac just left the scene, and he was very outspoken about his time working for the mouse. We know that Disney doesn't like being badmouthed, and they especially don't like being made fun of in the media, but this is exactly what Zac did when he was a guest on SNL back in 2009. This took place just after the third High School Musical movie came out, and he did a skit on SNL where his character, Troy Bolton, returned to East High to talk to the newest graduating class and tell them that life is very different after high school and that his life is over because he decided to grow up. It was all fine until they brought in someone who played a thawed-out Walt Disney who warned Zac about Disney stars' futures. They joked about the fact that Disney stars always crash and burn after leaving Disney, and the company doesn't appreciate that, and so now they make a point of not working with Zac anymore.
And at number 3, Nicki Minaj. Of course, the queen of rap, Nicki Minaj, is never going to be actually banned from an award show, but I'm sure she had the VMAs very nervous in 2015 when she used an acceptance speech to publicly call out Miley Cyrus after Miley made some negative comments about her in the press. While accepting the award for Best Hip Hop Video at the MTV Video Music Awards, Nicki Minaj finished off her acceptance speech saying, quote, "And now back to this beat that had a lot to say about me the other day in the press," adding, "Miley, what's good?" Miley handled it very well and quickly congratulated Nicki on the win and said that the media twisted her words. And since I know you all want to hear the comments that Miley said, Miley did an interview speaking about Minaj's Twitter spat with Taylor Swift over nominations, where Miley said, quote, "What I read sounded very Nicki Minaj," which, if you know Nicki Minaj, is not too kind. It's not very polite. I think there's a way you speak to people with openness and love. You don't have to start this pop star against pop star war. I know you can make it seem like, oh, I just don't understand because I'm a white pop star. I know the statistics, but I know what's going on in the world. But to be honest, I don't think MTV did that on purpose. And at number 2, James Franco. James Franco is 1,000,000% banned from hosting the Oscars ever again. And his performance hosting with Anne Hathaway was so bad, I wouldn't be surprised if he's secretly banned from presenting awards too. If you don't already know about this legendary night, James Franco and Anne Hathaway hosted the 2011 awards, but it was universally regarded as a train wreck. Most people found it terrible because of how different the hosts were acting. Anne was trying to be very upbeat and keep the energy high, while James acted like he just didn't even want to be there and acted incredibly uninterested with the whole thing. And I think it's safe to say that Franco is the one that made it a little hard to watch, while Anne was just trying to keep things afloat. Hathaway admitted that she initially tried to turn down the gig, but eventually came around, saying, quote, "Your first instinct is usually the right one." And now because the hosting was so bad, the Oscars has not done 2 co-hosts ever since. Also, apparently the whole thing was Franco's idea, which just makes everything even worse. And finally, number 1, Ryan Seacrest. Ryan Seacrest is beloved in Hollywood, so again, there's no official ban here, but he was definitely shunned at the 2018 Oscars, and people definitely noticed. After sexual allegation happened shortly before the Oscars, big stars decided not to get swept up in any drama and avoided being interviewed by him on the red carpet. Seacrest strongly denied the accusations, saying that they were an attempt to extort him. And E! backed up their star, saying they investigated and found no evidence of indecent behavior. And although most stars shunned him, Taraji P. Henson decided to support him. Taraji said during an interview with Seacrest, quote, "The universe has a way of taking care of good people," while touching his chin. Adding, quote, "You know what I mean?" When talking about the statement later, she said, quote, "I did it to keep his chin up. It's an awkward position to be in. He's been cleared, but anyone can say anything."